10. By Ashenafi. Int. Buddhist temple, crime scene, morning. We see the body of a young Buddhist monk lying naked inside a painted pentagram, lit with candles at each point of the star. There is an iron bar that enters through one end of his ear and exits out of the other. Across his chest is written "Thou shalt not have another god" in Hebrew with a branding iron. His eyes are removed. There are stitches on his stomach and around his cranium. Blood is everywhere. Homicide from New York Police Department and Forensics, Luke Levitt, Jody Page, collect evidence. A forensic photographer, Toby McGuire, takes photos of the body. At the entrance, Detective Jake Smith, 48, enters. He has a look about him as if the years have busted his balls. He also has a kind of well-aged attractiveness and a Cary Grant-like charisma. He walks toward Detective Kevin Anderson, who is standing far away from the crime scene out of disgust. "Jake, what you got?" "Kevin, a young Shaolin monk. Take a look for yourself." Jake comes up to the crime scene and looks at the victim. He has never seen anything so vile in his 20-odd years as a NYPD cop. But he acts calm as if he had seen it all. "Jake, what's that on his chest?" "Jody, it's Hebrew, 'Thou shalt not have another god before me.'" Jake puts a pair of latex gloves, gazes at the corpse for a long second, then kneels, and slowly examines the body. Jake, softly to himself, "Fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." To Jody and Luke. "What are we dealing with?" Luke, "Some sick motherfucker who thinks he's Beethoven." Jake looks at the iron bar. It has the Nazi swastika. Jake, "What's that sign on the iron bar? Is that Nazi thing?" Jody, "It is swastika, the seal on Buddha's heart." Nazi adopted swastika after its brief surge of popularity in Western culture. And when Adolf Hitler rose to power in the 1930s, swastika was assimilated into the Nazi party flag, which was made the state flag of Germany, and remained there till the fall of the Third Reich in 1945. Luke, imitating Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction, "Check out the big brain on Jody. You are one smart son of a gun." Jody, "I had a moment." Jake looks at the stitches around the monk's head and down on his stomach. Jake, "What about those stitches around his head, and on his stomach? It doesn't look like the work of Hitler and his Nazi party. Looks like it was done by someone who has a good medical background." Jody, under her breath, "It is possible." There is a silent moment. Jake looks at the corpse, examining. He then gets up. Jake, "Anyway, I want you guys to collect every fingerprint in this room and give me the result before sundown." They nod and continue to work on the crime scene, dusting evidence and collecting hair sample. Jake walks towards the camera, blacking the screen. Fade in. Title card. 10. Fade out. Int. New York PD, Captain Carter, office, day. Captain James Carter, 52, sits behind his desk. He is looking at the pictures of the victim. There is a file that's open on his desk. It's Detective Reno's file. We haven't met Detective Reno yet. But we can see the photo on the file and tell he's quite handsome. Mickey Reno, 26, knocks on the captain's door. Captain Carter looks over at Mickey. "Captain Carter, come in." Mickey enters. "Captain Carter, have seat." Mickey sits. Captain Carter puts the photos of the monk aside and looks at Mickey's file. "Captain Carter, I looked at your record. I was very impressed that you aced the bar exam. They told me that you got the highest score ever recorded. But something tells me you're only book smart. You wouldn't last a day in the street. Am I wrong?" "Captain." Mickey doesn't respond. "Captain Carter, tell me about yourself." Mickey, "There is nothing to tell. I just want to go out and solve crimes that need to be solved." Captain Carter scans the victim photos, the Buddhist monk. He looks at Mickey's file again. For some reason the captain doesn't really want to ask him a lot of questions. Even though Mickey is too young to be a detective, the captain likes Mickey's style, cool and tranquil. "Captain Carter, sardonically, do you believe in the old-fashioned going door to door and asking witnesses questions that you thought could lead to the suspects and eventually offset the chain of crime, and busting teeth of the bad guys, or you're just thinking about becoming a crime scene investigator? You know, sitting behind a computer and putting pieces together like the new breeds of detectives that you watch on the TV these days?" Mickey, "It doesn't matter. I just want to go out and give my best." Captain Carter is simply satisfied with that answer. Int. Autopsy room, day. We're at the autopsy room with Jake and Dr. Russell Grant, who is standing over the corpse and working on the autopsy. There is a Holy Bible in the plastic bag inside the victim's stomach. Toby is in the room, photographing the autopsy. "Dr. Grant, the suspect must have placed it after he removed his entire gut cavity. I didn't want to touch it till you guys come down and look at it." Jake, "Where are the rest of his organs?" Dr. Grant, "That's what I've been asking the angels in heaven. You guys were supposed to bring me the whole package. Maybe some fingers and ear missing. But not without his heart, spleen, liver. The whole damn set of internal organs is gone." Dr. Grant slowly takes the Bible from the victim's body cavity and places it on the table. Toby photographs the Bible. Jake gloves up, picks up the Bible, and looks at it. Jake, "King James Version." Dr. Grant, "No kidding." He puts it back. Toby continues to photograph the evidence. Jake, "I don't suppose you know what cause of his death is yet?" Dr. Grant, "It could be anything, the punctuation of his lung, cutting the blood flow to his brain. Here you wouldn't believe this. Dr. Grant slowly opens the victim's skull and shows Jake what's inside the victim's head. There is an envelope sealed in a plastic bag where his brain used to be. Dr. Grant takes the envelope from the skull. Dr. Grant, sardonically his last paycheck. Dr. Grant puts the envelope next to the Bible. Toby photographs the new evidence. Jake takes the envelope. He couldn't wait to find out what's inside the envelope. He carefully opens the plastic bag and pulls out the envelope with a clean scissor. The envelope is unsealed. Jake opens it. There are 2 letters. He retrieves both and looks at them. One is a Bible code. The other one is a verse in Hebrew. Dr. Grant, what's it? Jake, they look like the same Hebrew letters that's written on his chest. Give me new plastic bags. To Toby, take photos of these. Jake puts the letters on the table. Toby photographs them as Dr. Grant puts a new pair of gloves on. Dr. Grant grabs a couple of plastic bags from the table and gives Jake the bags. Jake takes the bags. He puts the letters in 2 separate plastic bags and places the Bible in a new plastic bag as well. Jake turns around and walks towards the camera, exiting as the screen turns black. Int. New York PD, main room, day. It's a typical police station. We see police officers, detectives, and staff members sitting behind their desks, writing reports, moving around, talking on the phones, chatting, etc. Jake comes up from evidence room to the main office with the Bible and the letters and his eyes searching around the room. Jake, does anybody see where Jody is? They must have heard nothing. No one says a word. Jake, loudly, ladies and gentlemen. Any one of you speaks Hebrew? They stop what they are doing and look at him. Jake, we just recovered this Bible from the victim's stomach and these letters from his skull. I need someone who can translate Hebrew into English. No one says anything. Jake, does anyone speak Hebrew? No response. Jake looks at Jody, who is returning to her desk with a cup of coffee. Jake, Jody. She looks at him like, what is it? Jake, walking up to her, you speak Hebrew, don't you? Jody, humorously, better than Moses. Jake, can you look at these, and tell me what they say? He gives her the file. She looks at the copies of the letters. Jody, first letter translating from Hebrew into English, and there will be strange events in the skies, signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Narrator, and down here on earth the nations will be in turmoil, perplexed by the roaring seas and strange tides. Flashback. Int. House, garage, night. It's somewhere we are not aware of it. It looks like a garage. There are all kind of medical cutting device. We see the monk lying on the table, naked. The suspect, wearing KKK hood over his head, is cutting him up and removing his organs one by one like a butcher. Narrator, the courage of many people will falter because of the fearful fate they see coming upon the earth, because the stability of the very heavens will be broken up. Then everyone will see the Son of Man arrive on the clouds with power and great glory. Int. NYPD, main room, day. Close up, Judy. Jody, so, when all these things begin to happen, stand straight and look up, for your salvation is near. Luke 21:25-33, this is a code. It will lead you to the next victim. Jake, what about the second letter? Jody, translating from Hebrew to English, opened the Bible and read Exodus 20:2-17 and Deuteronomy 5:6-21, it will tell you, who I am. And what I'm all about. Jake takes out the Bible from the bag. He is not sure if he should open it. Or wait for fingerprint technician to examine it first. Fuck it. He opens it and finds Exodus 20:2-17. It's the 10 Commandments. They are selectively highlighted with yellow marker. Starting from do not have any other gods before me, to you shall not covet. Jake, reading do not have any other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol. It's the 10 Commandments. He flips thought the Bible and finds Deuteronomy 5:6-21. They are selectively highlighted, you shall have no other gods before me, etc. The 10 Commandments. By now the whole police unit stand around him, wanting to know what's next. Captain Carter and Mickey exit the office. Captain Carter goes to Jake. Captain Carter, what is it? Jake, we just retrieved this Bible from the victim's stomach, and these letters from his skull. Holding the letters separately. This one is a Bible code, talking about disaster, the end of the world, the arrival of Christ. Apocalypse, the whole 9 yard. These are verses. Jody just translated them. Exodus 20:2-17 and Deuteronomy 5:6-21. Shows the verse to the captain. They are highlighted with yellow markers. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an idol, and so on. The 10 Commandments. Captain Carter, that's some piece of work. To officers who are standing around. Okay guys. I want all of you to go back to your seat and continue to do what you were doing before these words of wisdom get into your system and drive you crazy. Jake and I will look through it. The crowd scatters, they all return to their seat and continue to do what they were doing in the background. Captain Carter looks at Mickey. Captain Carter, this is Jake. To Jake. Mickey. Meet your new partner. Mickey gives Jake his hand to shake. Mickey, how do you do? Jake takes his hand, greeting. Jake, what's up? Jake looks at him like what this kid is doing here, I could be his father. Captain Carter, to Jake, come on. Let's talk in private. Jake and Captain Carter walk toward the captain's office. Int. Captain Carter's office, day. Captain Carter and Jake enter. Jake closes the door. Captain Carter sits on the edge of his desk. Captain Carter, I want to talk to you about Harry. Jake, wait. What you mean that kid is my new partner? I am not going out there and conduct any kind of investigation with a high school dropout. This is not fairy tale. Captain Carter, relax. Don't judge a book by its cover. This kid actually aced the bar exam. He got every single question right. I don't know how he did it. But this department needs a man like him. Jake, you're not telling me sitting behind the computer and answering questions and going out and solving crime are the same thing? Captain Carter, no. I'm not. Jake, how old is he? 16, 17. Captain Carter, he's 26. Jake, I didn't make detective till I was 30. Even then everybody thought I was too young to carry a badge. Captain Carter, I looked at his background. He skipped grade twice, academic acceleration. He has a law degree, could have been a rocket scientist if he wanted to, but chose to be a detective for some unknown reason. Jake, we are not here to count stars. We are here to solve crimes. Captain Carter, Jake, time is change. This day kids grow fast. Don't take it personal. But I had to let Henry go. He gave up on you. He gave up on us. He gave up on the department. He can't overcome his addiction. Jake, Harry lost his wife to cancer. Captain Carter, she is lucky she died of cancer. He'd have eventually killed her himself. Do you know how many complained that she had filed against him, cheating, beating her while intoxicated and other charges? Jake, those things happen, domestic dispute. It's nothing new. Captain Carter, for Christ's sake Jake. He shot her on the foot. Jake, that was an accident. We had already gone through with that. Captain Carter, accident my balls. He raped his own wife. What kind of person does that and tells his friends? Jake, that was between him and his wife. It tended to be a foreplay. His wife initiated the act. Captain Carter, I do not care if my wife asked me to rape her, I wouldn't lay a finger on her, let alone bunching her on the face and leaving her with bruises, and then forcing her to sex as if she stole his heart and sold it the devil literally. Jake, I am not saying he is right. But some girls like it rough. She begged him to do it. Captain Carter, what about that day, he walked to Ted's office and threatened to splatter his brain across the room? Jake, okay. He's not perfect. Not anybody can go out and deal with the things that we see every day. You have to give him the benefit of the doubt. I had worked with him for 8 years. Captain Carter, Jake. You and I know Harry is suicidal. The last thing we need is he looking at this. Referring to the dead monk picture, go home and blow up his brain. And we going to his house and cleaning up his mess. Jake, never mind. Captain Carter, he will be transferred to Cooks County where he doesn't have to deal with homicide. As a matter of fact, he'll be working under vice, sitting behind the desk, and writing reports. You'll go out and do what you do best, and show the new kid on the block how things are done. It's 100-some game for all of us. Jake, I don't know if I want to do this case with an infant, who doesn't know how to tie his shoes, and get caught changing diapers in the middle of a crime scene. You know what I mean. Captain Carter, don't underestimate him. The kid is very smart. Let him learn from the best. He'll help you with little things. Looking at the crime scene photos. Let's come to our sense. Tell me what you got on this young Dalai Lama. Jake, his entire organ is missing. Captain Carter, what you mean his entire organ is missing? Jake, holding the evidences separately, the killer removed everything in his gut and put this Bible where his organs used to be. He removed his brain and put these letters in his skull. Exodus 20:2-17 and Deuteronomy 5:6-21, the 10 Commandments. And this Bible code. Captain Carter, what is Bible code doing in his skull? Jake, I think the suspect is trying to tell us something. Captain Carter, what is trying to tell us? Jake, I don't know. We have to decipher the code. He could be telling us there are 9 more coming. Captain Carter, 9 more coming? Jake, he is planning to kill 9 more people based on the 10 Commandments. Captain Carter, he doesn't sound like Casanova. You must get him before he goes out and does it again. Int. Abandoned building, night. It's discarded building where crackheads and homeless people hang out. An officer is questioning a homeless man named Seth without a sound. We then come to another officer who is standing next to an ice cooler box with a flashlight. His name is Wesley. He doesn't know if he wants to open it, or wait for homicide. What's the hell? It's a chance to prove himself that he's a real cop. Wesley places a pair of gloves on his hands, slowly opens the container and sees something, the organs of the young monk. He quickly stands back, takes out his radio and calls for backups. EXTNYPD, briefing room, day. Jake, Jody, Mickey, Kevin, and Luke sit at the round table. Moving up and down, Captain Carter addressed the case. Captain Carter, walking up and down, what about, how come anybody see nothing? Did the suspect walk into the temple, remove the victim organs, put the Bible in his stomach, and stitch it back? Stops moving. He then diced his skull, removed his brain, inserted the envelope, drew a pentacle, placed the monk in the pentacle, lit candles, and walked away as if he were crossing the Red Sea without splitting the water. Kevin, the monks, who provide services at the temple, said they usually leave the temple around 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And they don't return till 9 a.m. in the morning, which might have given the suspect to do all those things without leaving a single fingerprint. Jody, I doubt it. The monk was missing for 2 days. I questioned a monk named Li Chang, who lives in the same apartment building with victim. He said he had not seen him since Friday. He could have been killed somewhere else. Later, the killer brought him to the temple. Kevin gives her a look, you make me look bad. Jody ignores him roguishly. Captain Carter, what do you say, Jake? Jake, I believe we are dealing with a pro. Not a single fingerprint was found. He knows the art of cutting and removing organs, has good background in medicine, perhaps a doctor. In general, I think we are dealing with a serial killer who is extremely intelligent, IQs in the bright normal range. Captain Carter, okay. I want all of you to go out and find the son of the bitch, find the remaining parts of the monk. Out of nowhere appears Raymond McCarthy, FBI, at the door. Agent McCarthy, no need guys, a homeless man just called 911. 2 officers went down to an abandoned apartment building and found organs kept in an ice cooler box. I believe it's the victim. You should go down and check it out. Captain Carter, it's good to see you, Ray. I didn't know FBI wire the whole department. Agent McCarthy, not yet. I overheard the operator at the lobby about 10 minutes ago. She was talking to an officer who doesn't know the difference between liver and bladder. I asked her what all was about. She gave me the report. I called an agent who happened to be in the area. He went down there, looked at it and told me everything. I actually came to see the victim's autopsy. The Dalai Lama was in exile from Tibet. It's federal case. Captain Carter, you guys always come in the middle of something, and tell us how to do our job. It's our case. Give us time, Ray. Let my men handle it. Raymond turns his eyes and looks at Jake as if they had history. Indeed, the two have history. Jake was working on a case, a serial killer named Robert Cowboy Travis who had raped and killed 6 girls. But FBI came between the department and the killer and took the case from New York PD. But Jake kept on working, even after he was told not to interfere with ongoing federal investigation. Jake found Robert at his lake house in New Jersey, shot and killed him after they got in a fight. Raymond was in charge of the investigation. He was upset that FBI got a bad rap. The media denounced the killing was unjustified. But Raymond believed Jake is a hero, and thanked him without saying it. Note, we might see that in a quick flashback. Captain Carter follows Raymond's eyes and looks at Jake as well. Raymond, I'll let Mr. Smith work on it if he still got it, but I'll eventually return and take the case if the killer strikes again. The Bureau won't gamble on this. The Dalai Lama was a very important figure around the world. The president is sort of upset. This might give the country a bad name. He wanted the Bureau to look at it. However, I have faith on Smith. He will shoot the son of bitch and takes him out of his misery. Captain Carter, if you say so, to Jake. Go ahead and check it out. Jake nods. EXT abandoned building, day. It is late afternoon. Police cars are parked around. There are a couple of crackheads and homeless people standing at the area. Jake and Mickey come up to the building. Jake nods to an officer who is standing by and keeping the area secure. Jake approaches Officer Wesley who is standing at the entrance. Jake, where is it? Officer Wesley, it's inside. 2nd floor. Int. Abandoned building, day. Mickey, Jake, and Officer Wesley enter. They take the staircase, and come up to the 2nd floor. 2nd floor. There is an officer named Fred who is guarding the ice cooler box. Jake, good evening. Officer Fred, good evening. Mickey gives him a nod. The officer nods at him back. Jake and Mickey come up to the ice cooler box. Jake puts a pair of medical gloves, slowly opens the ice cooler box, and looks at what's inside. To his surprise, the organs are kept in a good condition with ice. Jake, we have to wait and see if we can find any fingerprint. Otherwise it's a dead end. Mickey doesn't know what to say. It's his first case. He has to deal with a dead monk and human organs. He thinks it's not fair. At the same time, he's excited. He knows it's once a lifetime thing, to work on a real murder case that keeps a man on the edge of chaos. At the entrance, Jody and Luke walk in. Luke, where is it? Jake, it's over here. See if you guys can find any fingerprint. Luke and Jody put down their CSI cases on the floor, place their medical gloves, and begin to work on the ice cooler box. Mickey stands back. Jake looks for other evidences that could lead to the suspect. He then finds a matchbox Garden of Eden, a strip club. He picks it up and looks at it. He doesn't know if it has anything to do with the suspect. EXT abandoned building, day. Jake questions the homeless man, Benjamin Dawson. Jake, could you identify him, if you saw him again? Homeless man, Benjamin. I doubt it. The man was wearing a mask. He took the staircase down and exited the building. He then got in a black car and drove away. Jake, do you know what kind of car he was driving? Benjamin, a regular car that you see on the street. Jake, did you get his license? Benjamin, shit. I am the wrong man for that. I had a bad memory. Jake, is it a Ford, Chevrolet, Honda, Toyota, what type of car was it? Benjamin, I have no idea. It might have been Toyota. But I'm not 100% sure. Jake writes down all the information he needs on his notepad. Jake, okay. You can go. We will contact you. Jake walks up to Mickey, who is standing next to the car, at passenger side. Jake, holding the matchbox in the plastic bag, check if you can find fingerprints on this matchbox, and give me the result tomorrow. I have to be somewhere. Jake gives him the matchbox to test him. Mickey puts his gloves in a blink of an eye and takes it. Jake walks around the car, gets behind the wheel and drives away. Mickey stands and looks at the address on the matchbox. EXT Restaurant, night. It's an upscale bar and restaurant. Jake sits at the table with an attractive woman named Kate Smith, a lawyer, 43. She's his wife. But they are separated. She's asking him to sign a divorce paper over glasses of wines. On the stage, a man named Henderson plays piano. Jake signs the divorce paper. Jake, how is Emily? Kate, you talk to her, don't you? Jake, she has not spoken to me, ever since I missed her birthday. Kate, softly, I saw it coming. Jake, I wanted to tell her what happened between us. You know, it was my fault, and how I learned from my mistake. He looks at her as if he had loved her more than life itself. Kate, it doesn't change the fact you went out and had an affair with that slat, Jake. Anybody can say they learned from their mistake and expected to be forgiven like they broke an expensive vase. But what they don't understand is they destroyed something that can't be restored. Human emotion is not a toy that you play with. Jake, I am sorry. There is not a day that has passed that I didn't think about you. If I had the power to go back in time and change everything, I would have. I lost peace. I lost my daughter. I lost the love of my life. It's not fair. Kate, life is not fair, Jake. It's over. You don't really have to come to the court. I'll file it and send a copy to your office. You know, since you've never spent a minute at your home, I think it's fair to say that we'll speed things up. Jake, seemingly defeated, sure. Kate, you would rather sleep at your office working on a case that leads to nowhere, than come to home, sit at the dinner table like a regular family, and have dinner with people that care about you, or help Emily with her homework. I don't mean to be cold, Jake. But it has to be this way with you. He changes his demeanor. Jake, I want custody of Emily. Kate, she is not a little girl anymore. She is 17. She can make her own decision whether to stay with me, or live with you in that small empty apartment. Jake, I'm moving to a big house in Manhattan at the end of the week. You don't have to worry about the house being small and empty. Emily can always invite her friends. They can come and keep her company if I am out late. Kate, mockingly, it's easier said than done. Jake, we aren't going to start arguing over this, are we? Kate, no we aren't. It's not going to make any difference. I know she loves you more than she loves me. That's no secret. But she's my daughter. And I'm her mother. I have to take full responsibility how she accepts the fact that people make decisions based on their best interests. Jake, looking straight through her eyes, you couldn't have said it better. Kate, do we really have to talk about her? She isn't that 4-year-old girl who used to run around the house and sing Madonna's Material Girl. You have to let her go. Jake gives her an innocent smile. Jake, she's doing ballet, isn't she? Kate, sarcastically, she wants to move to Hollywood and be an actress. But I told her if she was going to pursue acting, I didn't want her to ask me any favor. There are millions of girls who go to Hollywood and ends up being prostitutes. She can join them. Jake, you don't have to be harsh on her like that. She has the right to follow her dream. Kate, you don't know the whole story. 2 weeks ago, she stole my BMW, and returned it with a broke tail light. I asked her if she drove my car by any chance. But she denied it. Jake, she doesn't have a driving license. She cannot drive. Kate, that's what you think. But she copied my car key without my knowledge. A neighbor saw her driving while I was in Los Angeles. You know, for that high-profile case. I left her with her grandparents. Nonetheless, the neighbor, Mrs. Jones, told me Emily and her daughter used to drive it around the city and wouldn't return past midnight. Jake, that's impossible. Kate, that's not the worst news. Just the other day, I caught her smoking marijuana. I told her if I see her smoking again, I would call police and have her arrested. And make sure that she spends at least a week in jail. You know what she told me? Jake, what did she tell you? Kate, she told me marijuana is herb. People in Jamaica smoke it in a regular base. It helps them to connect with God. And how she converted to Rastafarianism. He smiles softly. Jake, leave her alone. What is the big deal? She is only experimenting. You smoke more weed than any girl I know, like daughter like mother. Kate, that was medical marijuana. But I stopped a long time ago. Jake, she is a rebel like you. He looks at her eyes and smiles at her softly as he falls in love with her all over again. There is silent moment. They both grab their drinks and have sips. He then. Jake, you're not seeing Jim, are you? Kate, no. We haven't spoken for a while. Jake, it's good. A beat, humorously. I should have broken his jaw when I had a chance. Kate, what do you mean you should have broken his jaw when you had a chance? Jake, softly, he doesn't deserve you. Kate, how is that? Jake, I couldn't still believe that I used to go to bed with an angel at night and wake up in the morning with the most beautiful woman in the world, till I screwed it up. She smiles in beauty. Kate, it is okay, Jake. I have forgiven you. But we have to move on with our lives and explore new things and see where fate leads us. Jake, under his breath, I hear you. Pause. Kate, plus, don't feel bad. I am keeping my last name. Jake, thanks. That means a lot to me. Kate, what about you? Are you seeing anyone? He shakes his head, no. On the soundtrack, music comes. Jake and Kate continue to talk without a sound. EXT New York City, night. A quick shot of New York City. Skyscrapers, Midtown Manhattan, the United Nations headquarters, the Statue of Liberty, the Brooklyn Bridge, Central Park, Times Square, and the Unisphere in Queens, etc. Int. Garden of Eden Strip Club, night. Mickey sits at the balcony and watches a gorgeous girl named Jessica dance on the stage. There are customers sitting around the counter and enjoying the show. Mickey takes a sip from his scotch. Close up, Jessica. She strips her clothes one at a time, comes up to Mickey, and begins to dance seductively particular to him. Mickey doesn't know whether to forget about the day and enjoy the show, or go back to the station, and do his job. He looks at the matchbox in the plastic bag and puts it back in his pocket. He then takes out $50, places it on the counter, gets up, and walks out of the strip club. Montage. U.S. Navy Intelligence SIP for Talgi, we see a group of 10 cryptographs sitting at a round table with the cipher and try to break the code. The projections leader stands and leads the project. U.S. Department of Defense Code Intel, another group of cryptographs about 10 sit behind their computer and try to crack the code. New York Federal Bureau of Investigation, a group of FBI cryptographs sitting in front of a big screen where the code is in display discuss about the code. Central Intelligence Agency Decryption, a group of CIA cryptographs sits in front of their computer and try to break the code without luck. Int. New York PD, Mickey's desk, night. Mickey sits at his desk and looks at the copy of the code that is translated into English. It didn't take him a second. He begins to see the codes as if they were revealed to him by higher power. He turns to his laptop and decipher the code. It reads, "My name is X. I am going to go out and kill 9 more people." Mickey, reading to himself, "My name is X. I am going to go out and kill 9 more people." Narrator, "Who broke the 10 commandments? I will burn them. I will cut them into pieces, remove their organs and place their organs in safe containers, so they can be donated for patients who need them." Int. New York PD, Jake's desk, day. Jake sits behind his desk, reading the copy of the cipher. Mickey stands at Jake's desk. Narrator, "I am not doing it because I enjoy it. I do it because it's God's will. On each murder I commit I'll leave a clue that leads to the next victim. And if you guys are smart enough, you will get there before me. My next victim is Indian spiritual guru named Harbhajan Singh." Jake, reading the letter, "He broke the law of God. You shall not make for yourself an idol. Good luck." Grabs the phone and makes a call. "Betty. Give me Harbhajan Singh address. HARB like Bob, HAJ like Jacob, SINGH, write Harbhajan Singh." Jake waits. "Betty, off screen there is no record on Harbhajan Singh." Jake, "Are you sure? Maybe you spelled it wrong." Betty, off screen HARBHAJAN Singh. "There is nothing." Out of nowhere appears Kevin and walks up to Jake. "Kevin, you guys should go down 0124 Florida Street. They found an Indian guru burned to ashes." Puts the address on Jake's desk. "I have to go downstairs and find Thomas Cosby's file, son of bitch who butchered his wife in cold blood. I need it for court." All of a sudden, they decided to stage another fucking trail. He walks away. Jake, "Never mind Betty. I got it. Thanks." Jake hangs up the phone, grab the address, and gets up. Jake, to Mickey, "Let's rock and roll." Jake walks toward the exit, the staircase. Mickey comes up to his desk, grabs his jacket and follows Jake. Mickey catches up to Jake as they pass the elevator. "Mickey, what's wrong with the elevator? It doesn't work?" Jake, "Taking the staircase. I don't usually take elevators up to 4 floors. You know, to keep the blood flow going. It's exercise." Mickey, "Have never thought about it. But it makes sense, the blood flowing thing." He says nothing as they walk down the staircase. Int. Indian temple, day. We see the photo of a young Indian spiritual leader named Harbhajan Singh on the table. We pan to the idol, a huge statue of Hindu deity Shiva, and find Harbhajan Singh burned to ash inside a painted pentacle, lit with candles at each corner. There is nothing left of him but a skull that's placed on top of the ashes. We see his jewelries and clothes neatly folded next to the ash. The police photographer Toby is in the middle of taking pictures of the evidence. At the other end, Officer Jackson questions an Indian spiritual teacher named Anil Kumbal without a sound. Mickey and Jake enter. Officer Jackson looks at them. Jake, "How you doing?" Officer Jackson, "Okay." Jake, "What you got?" Walking toward the body. Officer Jackson, "The victim name is Harbhajan Singh. Mr. Kumbal identified his belongings down by the ashes. He said he saw the ash of Mr. Singh at 0080 and called 911. We came and questioned a couple of witnesses. But they said they saw nothing. Jake and Mickey come up to the ash and look at it. Toby, there is nothing left of him. Mickey nods at Toby, greeting. Jake puts on a pair of gloves. Jake, to Officer Jackson, I want you to escort Mr. Cumble outside and ask him everything he knows. We'll look at it. Officer Jackson nods, sure, and escorts Mr. Cumble outside. Jake and Mickey come up to the crime scene. They squat in front of the evidence and observe the victim's skull. There are 2 doubling cube dices inside the victim's eyes. Jake, what are those? They aren't regular dices, are they? Mickey, they are doubling cubes. Jake, what are they doing in his eyes? Mickey, I don't know, maybe, it's to indicate the second commandments. Jake looks at the victims remaining carefully. Jake, are you thinking what I am thinking? Mickey, what's it? Jake, did he burn him while he was still alive? Or he burned him after he killed him? Mickey, how can you tell? Jake, his skull doesn't appear to be burnt. Mickey, maybe they are not burnt. Jake, it looks like a fossil finding. Jake sees something down by the ashes. He takes out a crime scene brush from his pocket and slowly moves the ashes from the objects. Jake unearths alphabet dices that read, "You shall not make for yourself an idol." Jake, reading it to himself, "You shall not make for yourself an idol." Jake calls Toby, who is photographing the statue. Jake, Toby. Come, take pictures of these dices. Toby comes up to the evidence, and takes a couple of photos. Jake, that's enough. Toby stands aside. Jake gets back to the ashes. He removes the ash farther and finds an envelope. Jake, what's this? Mickey, it looks like an envelope. Jake removes the ashes from the envelope. Jake, Toby. Photograph this, a beat. I'll have to remove it and see what's inside. Toby takes photos of the envelope. Jake, enough. Toby stands aside. Jake slowly removes the envelope from the ashes. He opens it and retrieves the letter. It's another Bible code written in Hebrew. Jake, Bible code. A beat slash to Mickey. Do you have any idea what it is saying? Jake gives Mickey the letter. Mickey takes the letter. Mickey, no, I don't. But I'll look at it on the computer, sort it in equidistant letter sequence and find out what the suspect is trying to tell us. Mickey gives him the letter back. Jake takes it and looks at the letter again. Jake, I'll ask Jody to translate it, to Mickey. What is that blood on the floor? See if you can find anything by the statue. Mickey walks up to the statue of Shiva and begins to look for evidence. Jake puts the envelope on the table. Jake, Toby. Take pictures of these. Toby comes and takes the picture of the letters. In the other end, Mickey looks at the statue. Shiva looks at him down. There are 2 silk scarves on the hands of Shiva, soaked in blood. Mickey removes one of the scarves from the Shiva's hands and sees the victim's eye. It's like a scene from a horror movie. Mickey drops the scarf and stands back. Mickey, to himself, what the fuck is that? Jake comes up to the statue and looks at the victim's eye. He carefully removes the other scarf from the Shiva's hand and sees the other eye. Jake, he is watching us. Jake then looks at the floor. There is stain of blood. He follows the blood and finds an ice-cool box at the far end of the temple. He slowly opens the box and finds human organ, a heart. Mickey is right there with him. Jake, this is the catch. At the entrance, CSI Jody and Luke enter. Jake, Jody. Jake walks up to the table and picks up the letters. Jake, do me a favor. Do you mind translating these letters into English? Jake gives Jody the letter. Jody opens her forensic briefcase, takes out her medical gloves and puts them and takes the letters. In the background, Luke watches the crime scene in horror. Luke, referring to the skull and the ashes, is that the rest of him? Mickey, I guess so. Jake, to Luke, his heart is in the ice cooler box over there. I want you to collect every single fingerprint in this building and give me the result before sundown. Jake hands the letter to Jody as she finished putting gloves on. She takes the letter. Jody, in between reading it in Hebrew and translating it into English, if your own full brother, or your son or daughter, or your beloved wife, narrator, or you intimate friend, entices you secretly to serve other gods. Montage. Note, we see the forensic team working on the crime scene, Jake and Mickey questioning witnesses, the suspect in flashback and others as the narrator continues to speak. Indian temple, Jake, Mickey, Jody, and Luke continue to collect more evidences as Toby photographs the evidence. At the entrance, Captain Carter walks in, comes to the crime scene, looks at the remaining of Harbhajan Singh, and has few words with Jake. Narrator, whom you and your fathers have not known, gods of any other nations, near at hand or far away, from one end of the earth to the other. Flashback, we see Harbhajan Singh preaching to a group of 800 or 900 people who are wearing white garment and headscarves. He is a young man for a spiritual teacher, about 32. The setting is outside with another huge statue of Shiva. A beautiful girl named Ashwari Singh, a good friend of Harbhajan Singh, stands near a statue of Shiva. She looks at the direction of the camera. There is a man with a camera. We don't see his face clearly. He takes a couple of pictures of Ashwari, who gives him a beautiful smile. Narrator, do not yield to him, or listen to him, nor look with pity upon him, to spare or shield him, but kill him. Jake and Mickey question Ashwari Singh at the Vanity Fair. She is creative director of Vanity Fair in New York City. In the background, we see male and female models posing, and a cameraman is in the middle of taking their photos. Narrator, your hand shall be the first raised to slay him, the rest of the people shall join in with you. You shall stone him to death. Bedroom, we see Ashwari and the suspect having passionate sexual intercourse surrounded by candles. We then pan to a book, Kama Sutra, on the floor and sex photos of Ashwari and Harbaijan with various sexual positions. Narrator, because he sought to lead you astray from the Lord, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, that place of slavery. City Hall. District Attorney Chris Bradley stands before reporters, addressing the investigation. Narrator, and all Israel, hearing of this, shall fear and never do such evil as this in your midst. Deuteronomy 13:7-12. Int. New York PD, Autopsy Room, Day. Jake and Mickey talk to Dr. Grant, who is holding the skull and explaining. Dr. Grant, we did carbon dating. The result was substandard. The suspect washed the skull with sulfuric acid, to make it look decayed. So, it can't be carbon dated accurately. We found hydrogen monoxide and sulfur. It's hard to tell if this skull belongs to John the Baptizer or Queen Anne Boleyn, or the suspect dug it out from a local grave site and put it there to mislead us. I couldn't find a significant amount of carbon that tell us how old this skull is. We have to wait and see how the dental record would turn out. Then eventually might have some luck, identifying. Referring the skull, to whom this treasure belongs to. Int. Public Library, Day. Mickey sits at the table working on the new cipher on his laptop. Pan to, Jake. Jake is standing at the circulation desk and looking at the list of books that have to do with the 10 Commandments in the catalog. Pan to, Mickey. Mickey deciphers the code. It reads. God is the devil. Mickey writes it down on a piece of paper. He gets up, comes up to a local computer that belongs to the library, and then types God is the devil on the search engine. The computer runs God is the devil. It's a novel that's written by Gary Davis. Mickey types Gary Davis on the search engine to make sure he got it right. The computer lists all Gary Davis. Mickey clicks Gary Davis that refers to God is the devil. Mickey prints it, gets up, and walks up to the print machine. Mickey grabs the copy, and comes up to Jake, who's holding a list of books that has to do with the 10 Commandments. Mickey. Gary Davis is next. He wrote a book called God's the Devil. Don't take the Lord's name in vain. Mickey gives him the copy. Jake takes the copy and looks at it as they walk toward the exit, at the direction of the camera. EXT Gary Davis's villa, Day. Jake and Mickey come driving and pull over, the car, at the gate. Police cars and news vans are parked in front of the house. We see policemen, reporters, bystanders, and photographers standing and moving in chaos. Jake and Mickey get out of the car and walk toward the house. Int. Gary Davis's villa, living room, Day. We see the body of a man lying inside a painted pentacle, lit with candles at each corner. The man is naked. Across his chest, don't take the name of the Lord in vain, carved in Hebrew with a sharp branding iron. His eyes are removed. And they are filled with sand. His mouth is stuffed with sand as well. The victim is slow sliced and disemboweled. The forensic team from New York PD, Kevin, Luke, and Jody are in the middle of collecting evidence. Dr. Grant is present. Our forensic photographer, Toby, takes pictures of the victim. At the far end of the living room, Captain Carter and Agent Raymond McCarthy can be seen talking. At the entrance, Jake and Mickey walk in. Jake comes up to Kevin, who is standing and writing report. Jake, putting his medical glove. Gary Davis. Kevin, the former governor of New York. He resigned after he admitted burning a Bible. He then wrote a book called God is the Devil. The book is in the best-selling list. Jake, I can see that. Mickey looks at the body with sympathy. Jake observes the text across the victim's chest. Jake, what's that saying? Jody, don't take the Lord's name in vain. Jake, I'd have guessed that. Jake carefully begins to look for evidence that might lead to the suspect. He then. Jake, did you guys find any envelope or code yet? Luke, no. Captain Carter and Agent McCarthy walk up to Jake. Captain Carter, good morning. Jake, good morning. Captain Carter, mockingly, it looks like we have to make a deal with FBI. They want to help us finding the killer. Agent McCarthy, FBI will take over the case. We have a very intelligent serial killer in our hand. And we believe the local law enforcement agencies cannot handle it alone. Jake, this is our case. You guys have no business telling us how to do our job. We got everything under control. Agent McCarthy, first, this is a federal case. The suspect killed the Dalai Lama, an Indian spiritual leader and now the former governor of New York. Second, we are not telling you how to do your job. You guys are welcome to aid us questioning witness and gathering information. But as far as I know, this is the matter of national security. Pan to, Mickey. He is looking for evidence at the dinner table. Mickey sees 2 glasses of champagne. He picks up the glass and looks at it closely. There is a lipstick on the glass. He calls Jody, who happens to be standing by the table. Mickey, Jody. She looks at him, check this out. Jody, what's it? She walks toward him. Mickey, it looks like a lipstick. There was another person with him. She takes the glass and looks at it. Jody, I'll see what I can find. Mickey turns around and sees an ice cool box at the far end of the kitchen. Mickey walks up to the kitchen. Kitchen. Mickey comes up to the ice cool box. He slowly opens the ice cooler box and sees Gary Davis's organs. He looks at the direction of Jake, who is at the living room, talking to Captain Carter and Agent McCarthy. Living room. Jake catches Mickey's eyes. Jake, as if he read his mind, what's it? Kitchen. Mickey, come check it out. Living room. Jake knows what Mickey is talking about. Kitchen. Jake comes up to the kitchen. Jake, what you got? Mickey, the victim's organ. Jake looks at it. Agent McCarthy and Captain Carter joins them. Agent McCarthy, what's it? Jake, mockingly, nothing new. The suspect, whom you think is clear and present danger, like to remove his victim's organs and keep them in ice cooler boxes. Captain Carter, joking, so they can be donated for patients who believe in national security. Agent McCarthy, that's pretty funny. Agent McCarthy looks at the organs in disgust. Jake carefully examines the ice cooler box. Captain Carter, to Jake, is that a work of a man or it's a work of Satan, personified as a man? Jake, he's just playing God. Agent McCarthy, it sounds like he's playing crazy to me. Int. New York PD, pathology room, day. The body of the victim lies on the table. Captain Carter, Agent McCarthy, Jake, and Mickey stand by the body and listen to Dr. Grant as he addresses the report. Dr. Grant, the victim is slow sliced before he was disemboweled. Cadaver is presented in two halves with bisection level with the umbilicus. There is noticeable signs of rib bone fraction. Examination of lower half abdominal cavity reveals. There is stream of blood. Intestines, stomach, liver, and spleen removed. Almost all of his organs are recovered in good condition, the exception of his heart. It's absent. Int. New York PD, Jake's desk, day. Jake sits at his desk, looking at the latest victim's photo. Mickey is right next to him working on the case. Captain Carter walks up to Jake with a file. Captain Carter, the forensic found Mrs. Jennifer Moore fingerprint on the glass. 4441 Wisconsin Street. She is married to the current mayor of New York, James Moore. In 2004, she was arrested for protesting on the street nude against animal testing. That's how we are able to identify her. Go ahead and ask her a few questions. Plus, if you guys have time, go visit University of New York Hospital. We just got news about the heart that was taken from the Dalai Lama had been donated to a heart patient named Amanda Parker without authorization. It was checked out from the evidence room in by an unidentified man who is disguised as FBI. But go ahead, ask her. She said she knew the victim as well. See if she or any of the doctors knows anything. They continue to talk as we pull out with overhead shot. EXT Mr. and Mrs. Moore's house, day. A big Victorian house. Jake and Mickey come driving and park their car at the yard. They step out of the car, come up to the door, and ring the bell. A woman, Jennifer Moore, in her mid-30s opens the door. Jake shows her badge. Jake, Mrs. Moore? Mrs. Moore, what's it? Jake, I am Detective Smith. This is my partner, Detective Reno. We'd like to ask you a few questions about the death of Gary Davis. Mrs. Moore, come in. She leads them inside. Jake and Mickey enter. Int. Mr. and Mrs. Moore house, living room, day. Jake and Mickey come up to the main living room, trailing behind Mrs. Moore. She turns around. Mrs. Moore, you want lemonades? Jake, no thanks. She looks at Mickey to ask him if he wants drink. Mickey, it's okay. I just had energy drink. Mrs. Moore, you can sit here. They all sit at the coffee table. Jake, where were you last night? Mrs. Moore, I was home watching movie alone. She sounds confident. But she looks nervous like a little girl. Jake, Mrs. Moore, we would like to believe you, but found your fingerprints on a champagne glass. We can take you to downtown and charge you with accessory, or tell us what happened. You were at the house the night of the murder, weren't you? All of a sudden, she begins to cry. Mrs. Moore, he made me eat him. Jake. What do you mean he made you eat him? Mrs. Moore, he tied me up on the chair, and made me watch cutting him into pieces. She continues to cry. Jake, what are you saying? Mrs. Moore, he is the devil. He cooked him in front of me. He cut his eyes out, put a knife on my face, and made me eat his eyes. It's so revolting. Flashback, int. Gary Davis's villa, living room, day. We see Gary Davis and Mrs. Moore tied up on two separate chairs, across each other. They are both naked. The suspect is naked as well, except he is wearing a French mask to conceal his identity. He is in the middle of slow slicing Mr. Davis while he is still alive. The suspect puts the part of Mr. Davis that he cut on a steel all-clad cookware on the stove, preparing meal. He then comes up to Mrs. Moore with a piece of Mr. Moore that's cooked and asks her to eat it. She refuses, crying. The suspect then walks up to Mr. Davis and curves his eye out in a heartbeat. He takes the eye, comes up to Mrs. Moore, and puts a knife in the tip of her vagina. He tells her to eat it or he will cut her vagina. She cries, refusing. He opens her mouth, puts the eyes in her mouth, and kisses her lips as he forces her to eat. Int. Mr. and Mrs. Moore house, living room, day. Back to Jake and Mickey and Mrs. Moore. She continues to cry. Jake waits till she collects herself. Jake, can you identify the man? Mrs. Moore, no, he was wearing French mask. On the soundtrack, classic music comes. Jake and Mickey continue to question her without a sound. Then out of nowhere comes Mayor James Moore to the living room. Mickey and Jake look at him and get up from the sofa to greet him. James Moore walks up to the coffee table, greet both Mickey and Jake. Mr. Moore sits next to his wife. He asks Mickey and Jake to sit back. They sit and talk without a sound. EXT Mr. and Mrs. Moore house, day. Jake and Mickey exit. They walk toward Jake's car, talking. Jake, I'll call Kevin to take Mrs. Moore to the station and to ask her everything she knows about the suspect. You and I will go to the University of New York Hospital, find out who is in charge of heart transplantation thing, and the patient who received the Dalai Lama's cardiac muscle. Jake makes a call as they come up to the car. They both open the doors. Jake gets behind the wheel. Mickey hops in the passenger seat. They drive away. EXT University of New York Hospital, day. Jake's car. Jake and Mickey come driving. They park the car at the emergency room entrance, get out of the car and walk toward the hospital. Int. University of New York Hospital, hallway, day. Jake and Mickey walk down the hallway. We see doctors, nurses and patients moving both directions. EXT University of New York Hospital, Dr. Blake's office, day. Dr. Richard Blake, 42, sits at his desk, talking on the phone. Note, we don't hear the other end of the conversation. Dr. Blake, on the phone. That one heart condition affects many hearts. That's why I offer my patients the most progressive treatment options available. Pause, Dr. Blake listening. Dr. Blake, on the phone. I am trying to develop cardiac stem cell therapy that could heal damaged heart muscle as if nothing happened. There is a knock on the door. Dr. Blake, come in. Sophia, a nurse/secretary, opens the door and steps inside. Dr. Blake covers the receiver with his hand and looks over at Sophia. Sophia, Detective Smith wants to speak to you. Dr. Blake, let him in. She leaves. Dr. Blake, into phone Nick, something comes up. I will give a call. A beat. Bye. He hangs up the phone. Nurse Sophia opens the door. Jake walks in. Jake, hi. Dr. Blake, good afternoon. Jake, I come to ask you a few questions regarding to the organ and the patient who receives the 10 Commandments victim heart. Amanda Parker. Who authorized the acquiring of the heart? How did the organ get here? Dr. Blake, we were told about a man killed in a car crash, who happens to have the same blood type as Miss Parker. New York Center for Organ Recovery brought it to the hospital for organ recovery. But we didn't know it got switched, till we completed the surgery. They continue to talk as we pull out. Int. University of New York Hospital, Ammons room, night. Amanda Parker sits in the hospital bed. She is wearing oxygen mask. She seems fine for a girl who is still recovering from heart transplant. Next to her, there is a man in the wheelchair. His name is Dylan Jones. He is reading Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina to her. At the entrance, Mickey walks in. Both Dylan and Amanda look at him. Mickey, hi, I am Detective Reno. Mickey shows them his badge. Dylan, what's it, Detective? Mickey, I came to ask Miss Parker a few questions about the victim whom she received the heart from. Dylan, she is recovering. Why don't you come some other time and talk to her if you don't mind? Amanda removes her oxygen mask. Amanda, it's okay, Dylan. Let him ask me. Mickey, I don't want to bother you, Miss Parker. I can come some other time if you are still recovering. Amanda, I am fine. Go ahead and ask me anything. I want to help you guys. Mickey, I was told that you knew the victim. What can you tell me about him? Amanda, it's a freak accident. I only met him once at the University of New York where they had a spiritual teaching. I talked to him about my heart condition. He touched my heart and wished me luck. But I never thought someone would kill him, and I'd end up receiving his heart. The odd is 1 in a billion. Mickey, who did you tell about meeting the monk? Amanda, I didn't tell anyone. Except the doctors who performed surgery on my heart after they told me I received his heart illegally. A beat. You see, I got separated from my husband after 4 years of marriage. I then discovered I had coronary heart disease. The doctor told me I had type O blood. It would take a while to find the right donor. At long last, they told me they got the heart from a car accident victim. Later, after the surgery, they told me the heart belonged to a murder victim, the monk. And I remember watching the news about his death. I was sad. But I feel blessed that I got a second chance. He is breathing in me, and telling me not to worry, everything will be alright. Mickey takes a note. He then looks at Dylan. Mickey, to Dylan, what about you, are you her acquaintance? Dylan, I'm her friend. We met at the University of New York, in the library where she works at. Dylan looks at her. Amanda is lost with Mickey's eyes. She is looking at him as if she received his heart. Mickey, what do you do? Dylan, I'm U.S. Marine. Mickey, are you still in the service? Dylan, no, honorable discharge. I am an art collector. At the entrance, a nurse named Vivian, 30, walks in with Amanda's meal. Vivian, hi. Amanda, hi. She comes up to the bed and places the meal on her lap. Vivian, how you doing, Mr. Jones? Dylan, I'm doing fine. Vivian, humorously, one of these days, you are going to get up from that chair and run like a kid. Dylan smiles at her softly. She looks at Mickey with fondness as if she were saying what this kid is doing here. Mickey nods his head. Hi. Vivian, hey. Mickey, hi. Vivian gives Amanda 2 tablets and a glass of water. Vivian, here, take these before you start your meal. Amanda takes the piles and swallows them with water. She then gives Vivian the glass. Vivian takes the glass and puts it aside. At the door, a young beautiful woman, Dr. Lisa Diaz, 35, enters. Mickey looks at her. Dr. Diaz approaches Amanda. Lisa, to Amanda, how are you? Amanda, I'm fine. Lisa, do you still feel pain in your chest? Amanda, no. It's gone. It's just a lot of headache. Lisa, did you take all of yours medicine? Vivian, as she exits in the background, I just gave her 2 piles. She took 4 this morning. I will come and give 6 more before midnight. Lisa checks her heart with stethoscope. Lisa, it's good. I'll measure your blood pressure after you have your lunch. She turns toward Mickey and looks at him as if she were saying, what are you doing here? Mickey takes out his badge. Mickey, hi. I'm Detective Reno. Lisa, what's it? Mickey, do you mind if I ask you a few questions outside, regarding to the 10 Commandments suspect? Lisa, not at all. Mickey and Lisa exit the room. Int. University of New York Hospital, Ammons room, hallway, day. Mickey and Lisa stand and talk. Mickey, do you know anything about the suspect? Lisa, what are you exactly asking me? I know Miss Parker received a heart that's brought from a murder victim illegally. Mickey, have you seen any man who is unfamiliar at this hospital? Lisa, nothing I recall. Mickey, where were you on June 14th? Lisa, I was in Atlanta to see my parents. Int. University of New York Hospital, ER, hallway, day. Jake and Dr. Blake walk down the emergency room between doctors and nurses who are moving at all direction. Dr. Blake, a simple blood test is performed to determine the correct blood type of a donor and recipient. Here's how your blood type should be compatible with your potential donor's blood type. If you are blood type A, the donor should have blood type A or O. If you are blood type B, your donor should have blood type B or O. If you are blood type O, the donor must have blood type O. Type O is called the universal donor. If you have blood type AB, the universal acceptor, your donor can have blood type AB, A, B or O. For blood, you need to match only ABO type and RH type. But for organs, you need a blood match, but that's not enough. You also need to match much more closely. Your blood will only be there for a few weeks, the organ will be there for the rest of your life. For that, you try to match for the major histocompatibility complex, MHC. You will be very allergic to the proteins produced by somebody else's MHC, and your body will attack what it sees as a foreign object. I mean, I have seen hundreds of patients who died at this very hospital waiting for the right heart transplant. Amanda is very lucky to get the heart even though it was taken unlawfully. Jake, do you by any chance share her information with other doctors? I need the list of doctors and nurses who saw, or performed surgery on Amanda. University of New York Hospital, Ammons room, hallway, day. Mickey continues to question Lisa. Mickey, is there any visitor that you are not sure about, like people who question you about her medical background? Lisa, nothing I could think of. She doesn't have too many friends. Mr. Jones comes once in a while and reads her a book. That's about it. Jake and Dr. Blake appear from the hallway. They are walking toward Amanda's room. Mickey looks at them. Jake and Dr. Blake approach Mickey and Lisa. Jake, Dr. Blake. This is Detective Reno. Dr. Blake, how do you do? He gives him his hand. Mickey, hi. Mickey takes his hand. They greet. Jake looks at Lisa as if he had known her all his life. Jake, I'm Detective Smith. He gives her his hand. She takes his hand, greeting. Lisa, I am Lisa. Jake, have we met before? She looks at him like where? Lisa, under her breath, I don't know, have we? Jake, I think I have seen you somewhere. About 10 years ago, we met at a wedding in Atlanta. You were bridesmaid. I was there with my wife. Actually, it was her brother wedding. You had heat stroke and went to cardiac arrest. I gave you CPR and brought you back to life right before the paramedics came and took you away. Eventually, my wife, ex, we just got divorced few days ago, she and I returned to New York. I couldn't come and see how you were doing. Lisa, Jake. She hugs him. They cuddle and kiss on the cheeks. Lisa, I never had chance to thank you in person. Jake, it's okay. I got your message. Lisa, I am sorry about your wife, the divorce. But you haven't changed much since I saw you that day. You look younger. Jake, I doubt that. Lisa, the only reason I didn't recognize you right away. It's because you used to have long hair and beard. Jake, humorously, I was working undercover. She smiles in beauty. Silent. They gaze at each other's eyes as if they want to talk more. But Jake turns his eyes and looks over at the men who are standing and waiting for him to finish. Jake, anyway, we'll sit and talk. Let me go have few words with Miss Parker. Lisa, sure. Jake looks at Mickey. Jake, takes out a file that has a list of doctors' names. Here, question these doctors. Ask them where they were the night of the murder and what they know about the 10 Commandments suspect. Jake gives him the file. Mickey takes the file and stays with Lisa. He hasn't done with her. Jake gives Lisa a wink as he is about to enter into Amanda's room. Lisa smiles softly in romance and turns her attention back to Mickey as he is about to ask her a few more questions. Int. University of New York Hospital, Amanda's room, day. Amanda finishes eating. She gives Dylan the tray. Dylan rolls his wheelchair closer, takes the tray and puts it on the table. Dr. Blake and Jake walk in. Dr. Blake comes up to Amanda. Dr. Blake, how are you holding? Amanda, good. Dr. Blake, are you still having breathing difficulty? Amanda, not at all. She looks over at Jake with curiosity. Dr. Blake follows her eyes. Dr. Blake, this is Detective Smith. To Jake, Amanda Parker. Amanda, what's up? Jake, nothing much. Just few questions regarding to the young Buddhist monk. Jake walks up to Amanda and shakes her hand. On the soundtrack, music comes. They begin to talk without a sound. Montage. Note, we'll see Mickey question one doctor after another without a sound and Jake taking care of business, romancing Lisa, downloading illegal files and other things. Mickey questions a young doctor named William Franklin at the emergency room hallway. William speaks without a sound as we continue to hear the music on the soundtrack. Jake and Lisa sit at the cafeteria with sandwiches, talking in romance and seduction. Mickey questions an older doctor named Mackenzie Phillip who is sitting at his office. Mackenzie answers the question without a sound. Sitting at the cafeteria, Mickey questions a young nurse named Betty Ford. She talks without a sound. Jake comes up to Dr. Blake's office. Dr. Blake's secretary, Sophia, looks at him. Jake, walking toward the door. I forget my wallet at the office. She gives him a nod. Go ahead. Jake opens the door and enters. The office is empty. Jake gets behind Dr. Blake's desk, turns on the computer and begins to download Dr. Blake's personal information like Bond 007. Mickey questions a doctor named Jonathan Lee in the lobby, at the emergency room. Mickey, where were you the night of June 14th? Dr. Lee, I was with my girlfriend at home. Mickey, what's her name? Dr. Lee, Megan Cage. Mickey writes it down. Mickey, what were you doing? Dr. Lee, we had dinner and make love. Mickey, have you by any chance seen any suspicious character that happened to be collecting medical devices, like one of your colleagues, who has an orthodox habit, fascination over cutting up corpses? Dr. Lee, shaking his head no. Dr. Blake's office. Jake finishes downloading Dr. Blake's personal file, takes the disc, gets up and walks out of the office. In the porch of the hospital, Mickey questions a nurse named Megan Cage who is in the middle of a cigarette break. Mickey, what were you doing on the night of June 14th? Megan, I was home alone watching movie. Mickey, Dr. Lee said he was with you that night. Is he lying? Megan, no. He was with me till we got in argument. He then got up and left the house, and didn't return till 4 a.m. in the morning. Back to, emergency room hallway, Mickey questions Dr. Lee again. Mickey, reading from his note you said you were with your girlfriend and making love to her the night of June 14th. But Miss Cage said you left the house after you get into the argument. Where did you go? Dr. Lee, I was at home with her. We were supposed to have romantic dinner. But she accused me having an affair with my ex-girlfriend. I told her nothing happened. She didn't believe me. I then got up and left the house around 10 p.m. and came to a bar called Purple Dragon in Manhattan. I didn't return home till 3:30 or 4 a.m. I apologized to her. She accepted my apology. We made love for 2 hours. After sex, I made breakfast for her, took a shower, left the house at 6:30 p.m. and came straight to work without sleeping. Mickey, that's your story? Dr. Lee, that's my story. I am sticking to it. Int. Jake's car, moving, day. Jake is behind the wheel driving. Mickey is in the passenger seat. He has the file open on his lap. Jake, how did it go? Did you ask all the doctors in the list? Mickey, yes. I did. Jake, any suspect? Mickey, most of them have no clue. They are there for the thrill of it. Except Dr. Jonathan Lee who seems smart. But I don't think he did it. He seems too emotional. There is a silent moment. Jake then. Jake, so, tell me about the suspect. Mickey, a white male. Very intelligent. Well built. Based on religion conviction, he thinks killing individuals who broke the 10 Commandments are his true calling. Jake, how is that? Mickey, what he does with them, it takes skill. A very patient man. He will not stop till he finished his mission. Jake, why not? Mickey, it makes him feel larger than life and greater than God. EXT Jake's car, moving, night. An established shoot of Jake's car moving at the direction of the camera with Jake and Mickey. Int. New York Police Department, main office, day. We see a typical commotion, officers talking on the phone, filing report, and other things. A very attractive 17-year-old girl named Emily Smith sits at Jake's desk, looking at a magazine. She is Jake's daughter. Jake and Mickey appear at top of the staircase. Jake looks at his daughter. Jake, to himself, what's she doing here? Emily turns her eyes and looks over at her father. She slowly gets up from her chair. At the same time, Captain Carter appears at Jake's desk with a can of soda. He opens the can and gives Emily the soda. Emily, who is wearing the captain jacket, takes the soda, has a sip, puts it on the table. Jake comes up to his desk. Mickey stands close by. Jake, to the captain, what is she doing here? Captain Carter, relax. She is visiting. Jake, to Emily, what are you doing here? She doesn't say anything. Jake, did you do anything wrong that I should know about it? Captain Carter, she didn't do anything wrong. The cops arrested her for driving with a forged license and a marijuana cigarette. That's all. Jake, to Emily, what were you doing, driving with a fake license and marijuana? Captain Carter, Jake. It's not a big deal. No need to get upset. I have already taken care of it. Let's focus on the case. Mickey gazes over at Emily. He seems mesmerized by her natural beauty. Emily catches Mickey's eyes and thinks he's quite handsome. The kind of man she doesn't mind spending the rest of her life with. Captain Carter, to Mickey and Jake. You two come in my office. I want to talk to you about the case. We got a new lead. Jake, let me talk to her for a minute alone. I'll join you. Captain Carter, I'll give you 30 seconds. Captain Carter walks toward his office. Mickey follows him. They enter the office in the background as Jake looks at his daughter with disheartenment. Jake, tell me this is another of your stunt to get my attention, or is it something else? Emily, why don't you take a wild guess? Jake, I think you are trying to get even with me for forgetting your birthday. Emily, you read my mind. Long pause. Jake, look. I might have let you down a couple of times. I am not perfect. I am not the best father that a daughter can ask, far from it. But I love you more than life itself. If anything happened to you, I'd never forgive myself. The camera moves away from Jake and Emily and comes to Captain Carter's office. Int. NYPD, Captain Carter office, day. Captain Carter sits behind his desk. He is holding a letter, a Bible code, in a plastic bag. Mickey sits at the desk. Captain Carter, the coroner found this letter from the victim's throat. Let's wait for Jake. I'll read it to you guys. It's scary stuff. Captain Carter puts the plastic bag aside and looks at the last victim's photo. There is a silent moment. Then, at the door, Jake enters and sits at the table. Captain Carter puts the photo aside, and takes the code. He opens a file and grabs a letter. Captain Carter. The coroner found this Bible code in the victim's throat. It's in Hebrew. I got it translated. It's frightening. Reading the translation, while the Israelites were in the desert. Montage. Flashback, Adam West's house. A man named Adam West sits behind a camera. He is shooting pornography. His assistant Linda can be seen holding a takeboard with the title Saturday Night Fever. We see two naked girls and a man, who is standing next to a desk. The man is wearing a suit. Adam gives his assistants a sign. Linda says action as she clicks the takeboard. The girls approach the man and begin to undress him. Our camera then pan to Adam West before it zooms on the takeboard Saturday Night Fever. Narrator, voice. A man was discovered gathering wood on the Sabbath day, those who caught him and it brought him to pornography video store. We see a clerk named Brian standing behind the counter and looking at a Playboy magazine. Down by the store, there are video cassettes, titled Saturday Night Fever. A man walks up to the clerk with a video cassette Saturday Night Fever. The cashier rings the item. The man pays with credit card and walks away. We don't see his face. Narrator, Moses and Aaron and the whole assembly. But they kept him in custody. Coffee shop 1, we see Emily sitting at the table outside, reading Don Brown Angels and Demons. Across the street, the suspects can be seen sitting with his laptop and camera at coffee shop 2. A medium shot of the suspect. He takes the photographs of Emily in between watching Saturday Night Fever. Narrator, for there was no clear decision as to what should be done with him. Then the Lord said to Moses. House, sitting behind the mirror, the suspect puts a fake beard, a mustache, a wig, and an eyeglass. We don't see his face clearly. Narrator, this man shall be put to death, let the whole community stone him outside the camp. Adam West Villa, house party. We see a typical porn industry party, attractive girls and built men talking to producers. The suspect grabs a champagne from the bar and walks up to Adam West, who is talking to two female porn stars that we saw earlier. The suspect introduces himself and joins them with the conversation. Narrator, so, the whole community led him outside the camp and stoned him to death as the Lord had commanded Moses. Int. NYPD, Captain Carter, office, day. Back to, Captain Carter, Jake, and Mickey. Captain Carter puts the letter in front of Jake. Jake, that's scary. I didn't know God promotes murder. Mickey, he's taking about his next victim. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Captain Carter, so, what is your next move? Jake, we have to look at the code and see where it leads. Jake takes the letter and gives Mickey the code. Mickey takes the letter and looks at it. On the soundtrack, music plays melodiously. Captain Carter, Jake, and Mickey talk without a sound. Int. Jake's car, moving, night. Jake is behind the wheel driving. Emily is in the passenger seat. She is wearing Jake's jacket. There is uncomfortable silent moment. He then. Jake, I have to drop you at your mother's house. I got a lot of things to do. She doesn't respond. Jake, are you okay? She doesn't say anything. A beat. Jake, why are you quiet? Emily, I don't feel like talking. He takes out a box from his shirt's pocket and gives her the box. Jake, happy birthday. She takes the box, opens the gift. It's a gold necklace. Emily lightens up with a soft beautiful smile. Emily, but not too impressed, it's pretty. Thanks. She puts it back in Jake's jacket pocket that she's wearing. There is a silent moment. He then. Jake, I asked you if I should drop you at your mother's house. You didn't say anything. Does that mean you want to spend the night at my place? Emily, yes. Maybe. I don't know, I have to call your ex and tell her I am not coming home. Jake, she might be my ex. But she is your mother. She loves you. I am sure she would appreciate if you call her Mammy instead of my ex. Emily, whatever. There is a silent moment. Jake must have taken a different route that leads up to his new house. There is a little bit confusion in Emily's eyes. Emily, where are we going? Jake, to this new house that I bought in the heart of Manhattan. Emily, when did you buy it? Jake, about 2-3 weeks ago. It's a little bit expensive. Emily, so, how can you offer it? Did she give you money? Jake, no. Nothing like that. My old man, your grandfather had left me a couple of bucks in his will. He was a stockbroker, saved up few millions. I just found out about it a couple of weeks ago. His mistress gave me a letter and an account number. It's like winning a lottery. I thought if I bought a house there, I could be close to you. It's few blocks, a walking distance from your mother's house. Emily, did she know that? Jake, I haven't told her yet. On the soundtrack, music plays. Jack and Emily continue to talk without a sound. EXT Jake's car, moving, night. An established shot of Jake's car, as Jake and Emily continue to drive in the street of New York City. The car then drives at the direction of the camera. Int. Police station, Mickey desks, night. Mickey's behind his computer working on the code. We stay with him for a bit. EXT Jake's house, night. It's an apartment complex. Jack and Emily come driving and park the car on the side of the street. They get out of the car, climb the steps, and walk up to the door. Jake opens the door. Int. Jake's house, night. Emily and Jake enter. Jake closes the door. It's a beautiful 2-story dwelling. The main living room consists of 2 rooms that are divided without a wall. We see a dinner table and 4 chairs. That's about it. Emily, where are your stuffs? Jake, I didn't have time to bring everything. They're still in my old apartment. Emily looks around the house. Emily, it's pretty cool. I like it. Jake puts the file on the dinner table. The kitchen is next to the living room. There is no wall that divides them except a small counter. Emily, I want to cook fettuccine with bolognese sauce for dinner, to celebrate your new house. Jake, be my guest. There is spaghetti sauce in the refrigerator. Emily comes up to the kitchen, opens the refrigerator. There is nothing in the refrigerator except a single tomato, a lettuce, a bottle of beer, Heineken, and ragu tomato sauce. Emily, Jake, you have nothing but a beer and a tomato sauce on the refrigerator. She takes out the sauce. Jake, I got some beef on the freezer. Jake walks up to the refrigerator, opens the freezer, takes out the beef, closes the refrigerator and places it on the kitchen counter. Emily opens the top drawer. There is only a box of cereal. Raisin Bran. Emily, where do you keep the pasta? Jake, there is none. Emily, how am I going to make fettuccine without the actual fettuccine or pasta? Jake, I'll go shop. There is a supermarket right across the street. A walking distance, about a minute. He walks up to the living room, grabs a piece of paper, and a pen from his file and returns to the kitchen. Jake, write down everything that you need. He gives her the pen and the paper. Jake, I have to go upstairs and check something quick. She takes the paper and the pen. Jake walks toward the living room. Jake takes the staircase that leads to the bedroom. Emily puts down the paper and the pen on the kitchen table, opens the faucet, and begins to defrost the meat. Int. New York PD, Mickey's desk, night. Sitting behind his computer, Mickey continues to decipher the code. We see a series of Hebrew letter and English letter on his laptop. Int. Jake's house, bedroom, night. Jake is looking at something on his laptop. We don't know what it is. He could be checking the disk that he downloaded from Dr. Blake's office. He writes down something on a piece of paper, exits the application, and turns off the laptop. As the computer shuts, we see the photo of Emily on the screensaver. Jake gets up and exits the room. Hallway and staircase. Jake walks down the hallway and begins to ascend down the stairs, towards the living room. He takes out his cell phone and calls Mickey. Int. Jake's house, night/int. New York PD, Mickey's desk, night. Note, we see both sides the conversation. Jake, on the phone, what's up? Mickey, on the phone, nothing much. Jake, where are you? Mickey, I'm at the station, working on the code. Jake, did you decipher it yet? Mickey, no. Jake looks at his daughter who is cutting garlic and making bolognese sauce at the kitchen. Jake, why don't you come to my house? Let's look at it over dinner. My daughter is cooking. Mickey, are you inviting me for dinner? Jake, yes, I am. The address is 4014 Florida Street. Bring everything with you. We'll go over it. I have to go now. Jake hangs up the phone, walks up to the kitchen. Jake, did you write down everything? She gives him the list. He takes it and looks at it. Jake, I'll be back in 5 minutes. Emily, don't forget to bring fettuccine or pasta, not spaghetti. Jake, what's the difference? Emily, the difference is they use water to make spaghetti, whereas pasta made with normal flour and egg. They are two different pastas, like white bread and croissant literally speaking. Jake, I know what you mean. Emily, I just want to make sure that you're not disappointed in me. He smiles at her softly. Jake, no. I'll never be disappointed in you as long as I live. They kiss on the cheeks. Jake, I'll be right back. Jake turns around, walks up to the door. He opens the door and exits. Kitchen. Emily collects the garlic, places it in the pot, and stirs it. EXT Jake's house, night. Jake comes up to his car, opens the door, and gets behind the wheel. Int. Jake's car, night. He turns around, grabs the file from the back seat, opens the file, and looks at it. Jake then gazes at his house. He becomes worried about the safety of his daughter. He puts the file in the back seat, starts the car and drives away. EXT/int. Mickey's convertible, moving, night. Mickey is behind the wheel driving down the street of New York while working on the code. In the passenger seat, we see the photo of the victims. Mickey's car wobbles off the lane. A car, Mercedes, comes from the opposite direction and hangs at Mickey, who is caught up with deciphering the code. Mickey looks at the Mercedes and gets his car in the right lane. The car comes inches away from hitting him. Mickey puts the laptop on the passenger seat and focuses on the road. EXT Mickey's convertible, moving, night. An established shot of Mickey car driving in the street of New York. Int. Supermarket, night. Jake is shopping. He looks at the list that Emily gave him. He pushes his cart down the aisles and comes to aisle 4 where they have pasta, macaroni, fettuccine, and others. He grabs a couple of them, puts them in the cart, and moves down the aisle. Int. Jake's house, living room/kitchen, day. Emily cuts the tomato into pieces, puts the tomato on a separate pot that has oil and onion. She stirs the pot. The doorbells ring. Emily puts down the spoon on the stove, walks down the living room, comes, and opens the door revealing Mickey. Mickey looks at her as if he saw an angel of God, twice in one day. However, this time, his heart has been aching for her. Mickey is happy to see her. Emily, hey. Mickey, hi. Emily, come in. She opens the door wider to let him in. Mickey enters. Emily closes the door. Emily, Jake is at the supermarket across the street. He should be here any minute. Have a seat. Mickey walks up to the dinner table, pulls a chair, and sits. Emily returns to the kitchen and resumes cooking. Since there is no divider between the kitchen and the living room, Emily and Mickey find themselves in awkward but impractical position. There is uncomfortable silent moment. She then. Emily, do you want anything to drink? We got beer in the refrigerator. Mickey, I'm fine. Thank you. Emily, sure. She continues to stir the sauce as she makes salad, cutting tomato and lettuce. Mickey opens his laptop and continues to decipher the code. Emily can't take her eyes off Mickey. She is falling in love faster than her heart beats. Her eyes give her away. She keeps checking him out as he stole her heart literally. Mickey catches her eyes. She gives him a beautiful smile, turns her eyes, and carries on preparing the salad. Mickey continues to work on the cipher but can't focus at all. He is lost in her sense of present as if she enters in his mind and changes the chemical structure of his heart and soul. He glances at her. She looks at him. They exchange soft smiles. Then. At the door, Jake opens the door from outside and enters with groceries. Jake sees Mickey who gets up from his seat to greet him. Jake, I'll be with you in a second. Mickey nods, sure, and takes his seat back. Jake walks up to the kitchen. Emily looks at him. Jake, here I got everything you asked and more. Emily, thanks. Jake, you welcome. Jake puts the grocery on the kitchen table, turns around, and walks to the living room. Jake, to Mickey, have you deciphered it yet? Mickey, almost. Jake pulls a chair and sits at the table. On Mickey's laptop, we see a series of Hebrew and English letter. Jake, you said you are deciphering it in the equidistant letter sequence. Mickey, yes. I am. Jake, is there any way that I can help with the cipher? Mickey, it's okay. I got it. The computer is sorting the pattern. Mickey continues to decipher the code. Int. Jake's house, living room, night. Jake and Mickey sit at the table with glasses of wines. Emily places 2 plates of fettuccine in front of them. She returns to the kitchen, grabs a plate for herself, walks up to the living room, and joins them. Jake must be hungry like a lion. He doesn't wait for anyone, takes a fork full of fettuccine, places it in his mouth, mooches it, and downs it with a glass of wine without saying grace thing. Jake, this is the best fettuccine you have ever cooked. Emily, thanks. Mickey hasn't touched his food yet, mixing the fettuccine with the sauce. He looks at her. She catches his eyes and gives him a seductive smile. Emily, we didn't introduce. I am Emily. She gives him her hand. He puts his fork on his plate. Mickey, Mickey. Mickey takes her hand, greeting. Emily, Jake hates introducing me to anyone. He thinks I am still in kindergarten. He's very protective of me. Jake, that's not true. I thought you have already introduced to each other. Emily, no. We didn't. Jake, joking okay. Emily, this is Mickey. To Mickey. This is my most precious daughter Emily. Emily gives Mickey his hand to shake again. Emily, playing alone, nice to meet you. Mickey takes her hand. Mickey, humorously, nice to meet you. Jake, now you guys introduce. Can we eat without interruption? They all begin to eat. Jake takes the bottle of wine, pours a little bit wine in a glass for Emily. Jake, for your health. Emily, thanks. Jake, cheers. Emily, cheers. They connect their glasses. Jake, to Mickey, cheers. Mickey takes his glass. Mickey. Cheers. They connect their glass. Emily. To Mickey. Cheers. Mickey. Cheers. They all take sips. They put down their glasses on the table and continue to enjoy the dinner. Mickey takes a fork of fettuccine and eats it with bread. Emily looks at him and gives him another beautiful smile. He acts like a gentleman and returns her smile without her father noticing. She then. Emily, you guys are working on the 10 Commandments killer? Jake, who told you that? Emily, I watched you on the TV. Jake, don't believe everything that you see. Things can easily be deceiving. You must have watched 2 guys who look like us. Emily, I know what you mean. Not all things in life are what they appear to be. Jake, humorously right. They could be Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. You know, a new detective TV show. They all smile. Emily, if you ask me, one of them hasn't changed much. He looks exactly like Paul Newman when he did Cat on a Hot Tin Roof with Elizabeth Taylor. I spent most of my life listening to a story about a cowboy named Romeo and a princess named Emily that he invented. But the other one is cuter than Robert Redford. Mickey can't help but blush charismatically, despite the fact he wishes he were sitting alone with her in Hidden Dimension. Jake looks at her. Even though he'd rather see her making a move on a guest than talking about a serial killer, he feels that she might have crossed the line just a little bit. Jake, she's playing. It must be the wine talking. Emily, it's the wine talking. But is it true that the killer is murdering people who broke the 10 Commandments? Jake knows his daughter. She is very smart. He doesn't want to tell her it's none of her business. Jake, we don't know what his motives are. He's a lunatic. Just forget about him. Emily, he can't be a lunatic if he knows what he's doing. Maybe he's just misunderstood. Jake, maybe, he's misunderstood. Maybe he's just having fun. But he broke the law. And it's our job to go out and find him. And bring him to justice. She doesn't seem satisfied with the answer. Both Jake and Emily resume eating. There is a silent moment. She then. Emily, mockingly, what about the killer wants us to think he is Superman? Jake, I don't know, what do you think, Mickey? Mickey smiles softly. He doesn't know how to answer the question. But he wants to be professional about it. Mickey, it's possible. Superman, God, Zeus, Buddha, Allah, and others. They are the creation of our ego. We all have this idea, a sense of existence that we are unique individual and capable of doing anything at the right time and the right place in this infinite universe. Even going as far as killing innocent people who don't know the difference between right and wrong, or have the luxury to sit and think about how everything began, the purpose of life and the answers to all those big questions that the universe has. And deep in the subconscious of our mind, we all want attention. Going out and committing crime that are deliberate and well planned, and getting credit for them empower us with a false sense of universal salvation as if acting behalf of our inner God and exercising our darkest sermon. Jake and Emily are impressed by the answer. Emily, joking, I think I should go out kill innocent people for 4th of July, acting behalf of my inner God and exercising my darkest sermon. Jake, do what you have to do. We'll collect your fingerprint, examine all evidence, and find you wherever you may be. We will arrest you, read your right. Then they will take you to a court. The judge will look at the case carefully. There will be juries. The court will assign you a public defender, or rather your mother will represent you. Nevertheless, the case against you is strong. They will find you guilty. You'll spend the rest of life behind bars. Emily, what if I plead insanity? You can't prove it? Jake, we'll prove that you're sane. First, you are aware of your action. Second, you admit that you're going to go out and kill innocent people to exercise your darkest sermon, whatever that means. Third, you made the best fettuccine in the world. 3 strike. You're out. Emily, I don't think that he agrees with you. He didn't say anything about the pasta. Mickey smiles softly. Mickey, it's the best pasta I have ever had in my life. Emily smiles in beauty. On the soundtrack, music comes. They continue to talk without a sound. EXT graveyard, van, night. We see the suspect in a hood sweatshirt standing behind a van and feeding hungry brown rats that are screaming and running in the cage. We don't see his face. He gives one of the rats a human ear. The rat snatches the ear and eats it like as if it hasn't eaten for a year. The other rats take the opportunity and swarm the rat, taking the ear out of its mouth. The man then takes a cart and puts it on the floor. He turns around, takes a stick, and pokes the rats, making sure they are hungry. Int. Jake's house, living room, night. Emily is in the middle of telling Jake and Mickey a story of her life while cleaning the table. Jake and Mickey sit at the table with glasses of wines, listening to her story while working on the code. Emily, collecting the dishes from the table. I liked it, but Paris is one of the most overrated places in the world. There is Eiffel Tower. But what is the big deal? You know, you get up in the morning. You come to the Champ de Mars. That thing is always there. Parisians take it for granted. And I don't blame them. You can't look at it forever. After a while, it gets boring. She takes the dishes, walks up to the kitchen, and puts them in the sink. Mickey looks at her. Emily catches his eyes as she returns to the table. She sits at the table. Emily, I mean, if you ask me all the places that I have been, which city is the most romantic, I'd have to say Vienna. It's quiet and beautiful. I can spend the rest of my life there. Jake, that's good. But you should go upstairs and sleep. I've already made your bed. We must get back to work and finish these. She gets up. Emily, what are you guys working on? Humorously. I can help you. Jake, it's late. You can help us some other time. She comes up to him and kisses him on the cheek. He kisses her back. Jake, good night. Emily, night. Emily, to Mickey, bye. Mickey, bye. She turns around, walks through the living room, turns her eyes, and catches Mickey, who happens to be checking her out. She gives him a beautiful smile and takes the stairs that leads up to the bedroom and disappears from our sight. Jake looks at Mickey as if he were saying, I am her father. Mickey says nothing. They go back to their work. On the soundtrack, classic music comes. Montage. 1. We see Mickey and Jake working on the code. Simultaneously, we see the history of creation in superimpose, how God made heaven and hell and the battle between good and evil. The cast of Satan and the fallen angel from heaven as if they were emitting out of the code. 2. We go back to the graveyard. We see the man in the hooded sweatshirt pushing the cage full of brown rats in the cage and heading toward the grave that's excavated. We still don't see his face. Nobody knows what's inside the grave. 3. Jake gets up, walks up to the kitchen, opens the refrigerator, takes out a can of beer, and closes the refrigerator. He opens the can and takes a big sip, returns to the living room, and lies on the floor facing the roof as Mickey continues to work on the cipher. 4. We see the man at the graveside putting the soil back to the grave. The cage is empty. 5. Outside, it's morning, the sun rises in the beach. Jake's house, Mickey runs the software. Jake stands behind Mickey and looks at the result. Mickey writes down the result, which reads, find Robert Evans' tombstone at Arlington Cemetery. There is a man buried alive. Mickey explains to Jake what it means without a sound. He types Robert Evans on the search engine. It gives them a couple of results. Mickey clicks one, writes down the result, and gets up from his chair. They both collect their stuff and walk toward the exit. Int. Jake's car, moving, day. Jake is behind the wheel, driving. Mickey sits in the passenger seat. They are talking about the suspect. Jake, the first commandment says, I am the Lord your God. Thou shalt have no other God before me. He killed the Dalai Lama because he worshipped Buddha, or whatever he thought. You know, some people say Buddhism is not religion. It's a philosophy. Regardless, he killed him, because he broke the first commandment somehow. Second commandment says, don't make an image or any likeness of creation things and worship. He killed the Guru in front of Shiva, the destroyer of the Trimurti. The third commandment says, don't take the Lord name in vain. He killed the Governor Gary Davis. What's his motive? Mickey, first, killing high-profile people like the Dalai Lama, and well-known Indian spiritual teacher give him purpose. He is targeting key people, so whatever he has to say can be heard around the world. Second, the killing of the governor who wrote God is the devil couldn't be a perfect candidate for don't take the Lord's name in vain. I think the killer is not only playing a game, but he is also preaching. There is a silent moment. Jake, do you think he is insane? Mickey, it's possible. According to law, insanity is not a choice. It's a disease. There is another silent moment. They continue to drive quietly. He then. Jake, where is it again, the address? Mickey, looks at the address 4076 Wilkins Avenue, Robert Evans' tombstone at Arlington Cemetery. Jake, how are we going to find that bastard out of all those graves? Mickey, I don't know, we just have to cross our fingers and hope we get there in time. EXT Jake's car, moving, day. An established shot of the car driving with Mickey and Jake at the direction of the camera. EXT Arlington Cemetery, day. We see Jake, Mickey, and about 10 New York PD police officers and Jody and Luke looking for Robert Evans' tombstone. Mickey finds it. Robert Evans. Born 1900, died 1942. Mickey, it's here. Jake comes up to the grave with 3 officers who are carrying shovels. Jake, to one of the officer, give me that. He takes the shovel from the first police officer and begins to dig. The other 2 officers give him hands. Mickey stands and watches in confusion. But not for long, he asks one of the officers, who is digging, to give him the shovel. He does so. Mickey takes the shovel and begins to remove the dirt from the coffin efficiently. Out of nowhere appears Captain Carter. Captain Carter, what are you guys doing? There is things that you don't talk about, but say it to yourself that was something, like when young Allen Iverson crossed over Michael Jordan. The reason you don't talk about it isn't out of respect to Michael Jordan. But it would make look a fool. Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time. You can always talk about how Jordan switched the ball between his hands and scored a layup against the Lakers, and went out to win 6 championships. Jake, we're digging. Captain Carter, I can see that. Jake, Mickey and I deciphered the code. There is a man buried alive. Jake continues to remove the dirt from the coffin as quickly as possible, so does Mickey. Whatever in there, they want it alive. Then, they unearth a huge wood box. They clear all the dirt from the box and slowly open it. We see one of the most gruesome sight in the history of cinema, a man skinned alive inside the box with about 100 brown rats that are eating his flesh like fried rice and orange chicken at a Panda Express. The 2 officers turn around in disgust. Jake jumps inside the box and quickly places his gloves and checks his pulse. Jake, he's alive. Get the paramedics. Mickey looks at it with quiver. Captain Carter can't believe what he's looking at. The other officers are shocked. Those, who have weak stomachs, quickly move away to throw up. 2 paramedics come up to the gravesite. They get down inside the grave, ignoring the rats. They place the oxygen mask on the victim's mouth. They quickly apply first aid spray, usually used on patient who suffered third-degree burn. They then wrap his body with a clean blanket. They all carry him out slowly and place him on the hospital bed carefully. The paramedics take the victim to the ambulance. Jake turns to Mickey. Jake, make sure nobody leave any fingerprint on the coffin. Mickey walks to the grave in the background to secure the crime scene with Jody and Luke. Jake and Captain Carter talk. Captain Carter, what the hell is that? Jake, he skinned and buried him alive with rats. Captain Carter, how long he had been in the coffin? Jake, I don't know. We just have to wait and see what the doctors have to say. I hope he made it and tell us who did that to him. But it's a long shot. They walk toward the direction of the camera. Int. University of New York Hospital, Day. Captain Carter and Jake stand at the emergency room, and have word with Dr. Franco. Jake, are you saying there is nothing can be done to keep him alive? Dr. Franco, he's not going to live another minute. First, his brain has stopped functioning. Second, the rats ate all his vessels. He lost his entire blood. The only reason he's still alive is cause the suspect injects his heart with amiodarone to keep it beating. Once his heart stops beating, he'll be announced dead officially. Captain Carter, how long he's been in the coffin? Dr. Franco, I can't say for sure. 3 or 4 days. The rat consumed his entire muscle. We will examine him and tell you the exact date. On the soundtrack, music comes. Dr. Franco, Captain Carter, and Jake continue to talk without a sound. Then a nurse approaches Dr. Franco and tells him something about the victim. Dr. Franco excuses Captain Carter and Jake and runs to the emergency room. The nurse follows him. Jake and Captain Carter stand by, waiting for the news. Emergency room. We see the victim fighting for his life. He's inches away from death. He doesn't look human being with all the oxygen mask and the bandana wrapped around him. He looks like a mummy. 2 nurses and Dr. Catherine Moss and Dr. Washington and Dr. Franco try everything to keep him alive. The green rays in the heart monitor begin to incline and fade away. Int. New York PD, Briefing room, night. Captain Carter, Jake, and Mickey, Kevin, Luke, and Jody sit at the table. They all seem confused. Captain Carter addresses the news. Captain Carter, the victim name is Adam West. He died 6 hours ago. He was skinned and buried alive with brown rats. The rats destroyed most of the victim's vessel and muscles, and damaged major organs in his body. We didn't get the complete lab result till tomorrow. Let's keep our fingers crossed that something promising will turn out. But till then, I want all of you to go home, get good sleep. We'll pick it up where we left off first day in the morning. EXT Mickey's apartment building, night. Mickey's convertible, Mickey comes driving and parks his car in front of his apartment building. Mickey steps out of the car, comes up to the staircase, and climbs the stairs leading up to his apartment, room number 310. He comes up to the door, inserts his key, and opens the door. Int. Mickey's apartment, living room, night. Mickey enters in ease. He closes the door. The TV is on. Romantic song is playing melodiously. We see candles everywhere. Mickey doesn't know what's going on. He walks toward the kitchen. Kitchen. We see Emily cooking. She is wearing a sexy evening gown. Emily, what's up? Mickey, hi. Emily, how was your day? Mickey, it's okay. There is a silent. Mickey looks at her. He asks himself what she is doing here. How did she get in? But he doesn't really want to answer those questions at this particular moment. He couldn't stop thinking about her ever since the first time he saw her at the police station. Emily, I know what you are thinking. How did she get in? At the same time, you don't really give a fuck how I got. Humorously, do you think I am exercising my darkest sermon? Mickey can't help but smile softly. He shakes his head, no. She puts the spoon on the stove, and comes up to Mickey. Emily, I came to your apartment, I thought you would be here alone. Emily is making sexual advance on him. Some part of him is telling him she is the daughter of his partner, think before you do anything that you might regret. Other part of is telling him that she is one of the most beautiful girl he has ever seen in his life, the answer to his prayer, and the punishment to all his sins. Every demon and angel in his heart has been dying to kiss, caress, and make love to her, cuddle and dissolve her under his skin, and make her his eternal spell. Emily, do you find me attractive? Mickey doesn't respond. He doesn't have to say it. The answer is written all over his eyes. She knows that he is spellbound by her. She gets close to his lips. Emily, you don't like me? He says nothing. Emily, do you think I am pretty? Mickey, you are the most beautiful girl I have ever seen in my life. Emily, so, make love to me. She kisses him. He kisses her. They kiss more intimately. Emily opens his shirt as he caresses her neck. She kisses his chest. They kiss more passionately. He then tears and opens her blouse. Mickey kisses her passionately, grabs her buttocks, picks her up, and gets her against the refrigerator. They kiss more lasciviously and begin to make love in the kitchen. We come up to the living room. On the TV. It's news. They are talking about the 10 Commandments killer. Newscaster, so far 4 people are dead. Detective Smith and Detective Reno, who oversee the investigation, refuse to give any comment. On the TV. Jake and Mickey are going up New York Police Department headquarters, walking off reporters that outstretched their microphones toward them. Newscaster, sources inside the department say the killer murders people, who broke the 10 Commandments, and leaves their organs in the ice cooler boxes, so it can be donated for patient who need them. Int. Mickey's apartment, bedroom, night. Emily and Mickey continue to make love. It's seductive, steamy, and passionate. Int. Mickey's apartment, bathroom, night. Mickey and Emily are in the bathtub. Mickey is behind. Emily is resting on her chest. They are in the middle of conversation. Emily, you're from New York, aren't you? Mickey, I was born in Baltimore, MD. But my parent got separated when I was 4. I moved to New York City, Queens with my mother. I stayed in Big Apple till I graduated from high school. There is a pause. He kisses on her shoulder. Emily, you then? Mickey, I then served a year in the Air Force, and moved to Tallahassee, Florida. I studied law at FSU, but I didn't like the idea standing at the courtroom and defending psychopathic killers, or prosecuting run-over-the-mill criminals. I want to solve crime. You know, like Peter Falk, Columbo. I quit this law firm that represents criminals after 2 months on the job and decided to become a detective. I took the bar exam. They said I got every question right and made me homicide detective. Emily, aren't you too young to be a detective? Mickey, I don't know, they say I am the youngest homicide detective in the state of New York ever at the age of 26. But I thought serving in Afghanistan and having a law degree might have helped my case. Emily, you sound very intelligent. Mickey, humorously, you have no idea. She smiles in beauty. He kisses her on shoulder. Mickey, what about you? Did you get your degree in astronomy, to figure out the origin of those glistening stars in your eyes that make heaven seem pitch dark even in the summer, or you're still in college working on your master in advanced biochemistry to test how your phenomenal lips produce sugar that melts heart and write thesis how fast make a man in love with you? This audio file was created by Panopreter Basic. You can download it at www.panopreter.com. Emily smiles in beauty. Mickey kisses her on the shoulder softly. Yet, she chooses to say nothing. Mickey, you are in college, or you are already graduated. Emily, no, something like that. Mickey, what is it? Emily, how old do you think I am? Mickey, I don't know. 23, 24? There is a silent moment. Emily, I just turned 17 few weeks ago. I am thinking about going to Hollywood and pursuing acting. But currently, I'm doing ballet at Maya Plasetskia Ballet House here in New York City. Mickey is stunned to hear about her age, 17. There is a silent moment. She then. Emily, why are you quiet? Mickey, sardonically, I don't know if it's legal to sleep with 17-years-old girl in the state of New York. 794.05 Unlawful sexual activity with certain minors. Emily, what does that mean? Mickey, a person 24 years of age or older who engages in sexual activity with a person 16 or 17 years of age commits a felony of the second degree, punishable as provided in S. 775.082, S. 775.083, or S. 775.084. As used in this section, sexual activity means oral and vaginal penetration by, or union with, the sexual organ of another. However, sexual activity does not include an act done for a bona fide medical purpose. There is a silent moment. She then. Emily, a bona fide medical purpose sounds authentic. Mickey smiles softly. Mickey, that's what I thought too. A beat. Emily, women in some country has an average age at marriage of 16 years. Even Jane Austen has written books that her heroines involving in sexual activity and getting married at the earliest age of 17. You know, 9 years age different might seem heaven and hell to the law in America when the girl is 16 and under. But I am 17. It's New York City, time flies without anyone's permission. In few days, I will be 22 figuratively speaking. You will be 31. We are like Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. There are 12 years age difference between them. Mickey, I thought they got divorce. Emily, humorously they didn't divorce because of the law. They just called it quit. Mickey, I didn't want to call it quit. He kisses her on the shoulder. Mickey, if you risk it, I can risk it. But I don't want you to get into trouble. Emily, let me worry about that. I can take care of myself. Mickey, if you say so. They kiss French. Int. New York PD, conference room, day. Jake, Mickey, Kevin, Jody, and other New York best detectives sit at the round table, looking at the latest crime on the projector. Captain Carter stands and addresses the report. Captain Carter, the victim name is Adam West. He is CEO of Hardcore Players Entertainment, a pornographic industry that exploits sex. We searched his house and found all kinds of underground porn. This man has been working 24 hours, making pornography like bad sitcoms, posting them on the web, distributing them around the world. One of his best-selling sex videos, Saturday Night Fever, explains why the suspect targeted him. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. The coroner found this 8mm strip in his stomach. Holds camera strip in a plastic bag. Our lab technician looked at it and found this Bible code. On the projector, we see the code in Hebrew. Captain Carter, handing the copy of the code to each one of them, it says, "The Lord is a jealous God, filled with vengeance and wrath." Narrator, voiceover: he takes revenge on all who oppose him and furiously destroys his enemies. Montage. Phonograph setting, Jake questions the assistant's director Mark Walker, who is about to shoot soft phonograph video. We see grips moving in the background, the actors and the actress standing without clothes. Narrator, the Lord is slow to get angry, but his power is great, and he never lets the guilty go unpunished. He displays his power in the whirlwind and the storm. NYPD police station, Mickey sits behind his computer working on the code. Narrator, the billowing clouds are the dust beneath his feet. At his command the oceans and rivers dry up, the lush pastures of Bashan and Carmel fade, and the green forests of Lebanon wilt. Church, Jake walks down the aliases and greets Father John Robertson. Jake then begins to ask him questions. Father Robertson answers. Narrator, in his presence the mountains quake, and the hills melt away, the earth trembles, and its people are destroyed. Phonograph setting, Jake questions Adam West's young wife Amy Ford, who is wearing a shower gown that reveals her cleavage. Amy is sort of seducing him despite the fact she just lost her husband in a horrible murder. Narrator, who can stand before his fierce anger? Who can survive his burning fury? New York police station, Jake is walking toward the entrance. He is stopped by reporters. They ask him all kinds of questions. He answers few questions here and there without telling them a lot, and walks up to the station as the reporters continue to throw questions at him. Narrator, his rage blazes forth like fire, and the mountains crumble to dust in his presence. The Lord is good. When trouble comes, he is a strong refuge. Int. New York PD, Mickey's desk, day. Mickey continues to work on the code. Jake stands behind him and looks at the code. Narrator, and he knows everyone who trusts in him. But he sweeps away his enemies in an overwhelming flood. He pursues his foes into the darkness of night. Nahum 1:2-8 NLT. Mickey deciphers the code. It reads, once upon time, there was a man XY. He met a woman XX. They got married and gave birth to a boy named Roger, whom they thought a gift from God. Roger was a bright kid, but as he grew older, he started behaving badly. The Lord taught him a lesson that he couldn't care less. Go to New York Public Library and find a book named The Pokey Little Puppy by Jeanette Sebring-Lowry. It will tell you the rest of the story. Mickey sends the result through the print machine. Jake walks up to the print machine, grabs the copy, and looks at it. On the soundtrack, music plays melodiously. EXT New York Public Library, night. Jake and Mickey come driving and park the car in front of the library. They get out of the car and walk up to the library, climbing the step. Int. New York Public Library, night. Jake and Mickey walk between the shelves with the assistants Alicia. She shows them where they can find the book and walks away. Jake puts on his gloves, takes the first copy, and opens the book. It's a custom-made photo album. We see photos of a typical rich American family. The Douglas with their infant 9-month son Roger. Next page, Roger celebrating his 4 years birthday. Next page, photos of young Roger at a remote resort with his family and girlfriend enjoying the vacation. Next page, photos of Roger graduating from high school. Next page, photos of Roger covered with tattoos, and Roger drinking alcohol with his friends. Next page, photos of Roger with his rock and roll groupies making all kind of the devil sign and other things. Next page, photos of Roger and his boys with the Nazi and the South Confederate flags. Then comes a mugshot of Roger at a local police station. Next another mugshot of Roger at the city police station, written bad 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 boy. Jake turns the page back, looks at the name on Roger high school yearbook. He takes out his cell phone and makes a call as he walks toward the camera with the book. EXT Mr. and Mrs. Douglas's house, day. It's an exclusive villa in the middle of nowhere. It has a water fountain. Int. Mr. and Mrs. Douglas, living room, day/night. Mr. and Mrs. Douglas are chained around their neck naked like slaves. They are about to die with starvation. We can actually count the bone in their body. In front of them, there is buffet, a food that's made of human flesh. It's their son Roger. He is hanged on a custom-made iron bar and roasted without a neck like a pig, Medieval dinner feast style. We see his head on a separate plate. Mr. and Mrs. Douglas choose to starve themselves rather than eat their own offspring. They haven't eaten anything for days. Yet, Mrs. Douglas couldn't help it. She reaches her hand and takes the piece of her son's arms and eats it with tears in her eyes. There is a hidden video camera that records the act. We come to the camera and vacuum through the wire and find ourselves looking at a laptop screen. EXT Beach, day. The suspect sits at a restaurant watching them while drinking a bottle of beer. We don't see his face. At the beach, we see Emily lying on the sand and getting suntan. EXT Mr. and Mrs. Douglas house, living room, day. We return to Mr. and Mrs. Douglas. They are about to starve to death. Note, we will see Mr. and Mrs. Douglas as they try to survive with series cuts. Mr. Douglas then passes out. Mrs. Douglas keeps herself alive eating piece by piece. Mr. and Mrs. Douglas house, living room, later. Mrs. Douglas eats the last piece of Roger. Mr. Douglas starves to death. EXT Mr. and Mrs. Douglas house, living room, day. Jake's car, Mickey and Jake come driving and park the car in front of the door. They get out of the car and come up to the gate. Jake takes out his gun and knocks on the door. No one answers. Jake gives Mickey a sign. Mickey takes out his knife, slowly opens the door like a thief. Mickey and Jake enter the house drawing their gun. Int. Mr. and Mrs. Douglas's house, living room, day. Mickey and Jake move toward the living room. Living room. Mickey and Jake couldn't believe what they are looking at, Roger's remaining, Mr. Douglas on the floor lifeless with the chain around his neck, and Mrs. Douglas lying unconscious next to him. Jake comes up to Mr. Douglas and checks his pulse. Jake, he's gone. Mickey checks Mrs. Douglas. Mickey, she's alive. Jake walks up to Mrs. Douglas and rechecks if she's still alive as Mickey takes out his cell phone. Mickey calls the paramedics. Mickey, 1082 Alabama Street. We got a patient who needs medical attention. Send the paramedics as soon as possible. Mrs. Douglas comes out of the coma and takes a big sigh. Jake leans back. She's about to die with thirst and starvation. Jake, to Mickey, go get me water. Mickey runs to the kitchen. Jake holds her carefully. Jake, to Mrs. Douglas, it's okay. I am here to help. Kitchen. Mickey opens the top drawer, takes a glass. Jake, hurry up. We are losing her. Mickey quickly opens the faucet, fills the glass with water, closes the faucet and runs to the living room with a glass of water. Living room. Mickey walks up to Jake. Jake, hurry up. Mickey gives Jake the glass. Jake takes the glass, places his finger in the water and slowly places it on Mrs. Douglas' lips, so the water wouldn't mix with the acid in her stomach and burn her heart. Mrs. Douglas returns to life. Jake places his finger in the water and places on Mrs. Douglas' lips again. Mickey stands and looks at them. Jake, how are we going to get her out of this chain? Mickey, I don't know, we better call the fire department. They will have to cut the chain and free her. Jake, call them. Mickey takes out his cell phone, dial fire department. Mickey, this is NYPD homicide. It's emergence. We have a woman with a chain around her neck. It can't wait. We need firefighters to come down 1082 Alabama Street and cut the chain American Samoa as soon as possible. Pause, listening. Mickey, thank you. Hangs up the phones. To Jake. They will be here any minute. Jake places the water on Mrs. Douglas' lips. Jake, referring to the pillow on the sofa, pass me that pillow. Mickey grabs the pillow and gives Jake the pillow. Jake takes the pillow, places Mrs. Douglas's head on the pillow. He then looks at Mr. Douglas, who is lying dead and Roger's left over. Jake, check if the suspect left anything. I'll keep my eyes on her. Mickey nods okay, walks up to Roger's body, remaining, begins to look for more evidence. Jake continues to place water on Mrs. Douglas's lips, making sure she remains alive. Mickey sees an envelope inside Roger's rib bones. At the same time, we hear police siren and ambulance outside. Mickey, I think I found something. Jake, what's it? Mickey, it's an envelope. Mickey slowly retrieves the envelope from Roger's rib bones. Then at the door, 2 paramedics and 4 police officers enter. The paramedics rush to the patient. Paramedic 1, are they alive? Jake, he's gone. She's alive. The paramedics place oxygen mask on her mouth and put glucose in her arm as the police officers stand and watch everything in shock. Paramedic 2 looks at the chain around Mrs. Douglas's neck. Jake reads his mind. Jake, the fire department should be here any minute. They will cut her loose. The paramedics continue to aid Mrs. Douglas. Jake, to the first 2 police officers, you guys go outside and look in the trash if the suspect left anything. To the other 2 police officers. You 2 go door to door and ask the neighbors if they saw anything that is strange. The police officers turn around and exit without a word. Jake walks up to Mickey, who is holding the envelope. Jake, what is it? Mickey, looks at it. Letters. Mickey slowly retrieves the letters and looks at them. Jake, what are they saying? Mickey, I don't know, it's written in Hebrew. Mickey gives Jake the letters. Jake takes the letter and looks at them. At the door, New York PD forensic and crime scene investigators, Luke and Jody, walk in. Jake looks at Jody. Jake, Jody, I want you to translate these letters. Jody puts down her forensic briefcase on the floor, takes the letters, and looks at them. On the other hand, Luke approaches the crime scene. Luke, referring to Roger's remaining, what is this, the last super? Jody takes her eyes off the letter and looks at Roger's remaining on the custom-made iron bar like pig in horror. She collects her composure and reads the letters. Jody, letter 1, honor your father and mother. Letter 2, in between, translating it from Hebrew to English. The glory of Israel will fly away like a bird, for your children will die at birth. Narrator, or perish in the womb or never even be conceived. Montage, flashback. We see the video of Roger as a 4-year-old boy with his father learning how to ride a bicycle. Mr. Douglas holds Roger and lets him go as Roger pedals the bicycle down the sidewalk. Mrs. Douglas records them with a camera recorder. Narrator, even if your children do survive to grow up, I will take them from you. It will be a terrible day when. Roger as a 17-year-old boy playing football at the school. Both Mr. and Mrs. Douglas are present. The opponent team pants the ball. Roger catches the ball, and runs down the field. The opponent team try to stop him. But he tricks them easily, runs more and crosses the goal line, touchdown. Mr. and Mrs. Douglas celebrate. Roger comes up to his girlfriend Kimberly, a cheerleader, goes down with his knee and asks her to marry him. Kimberly accepts his proposal. He puts the ring on her middle finger. They then kiss. He then parts his lips and kisses her belly, which indicates she is pregnant. Kimberly then looks at Brad, Roger's teammate, and turns her eyes away with shame. Narrator, I turn away and leave you alone. I have watched Israel become as beautiful and pleasant as Tyre, but now Israel will bring out her children to be slaughtered. Mr. and Mrs. Douglas's house, kitchen. Roger has words with his father and mother, who are against their son thinking about marriage and getting Kimberly pregnant. At the living room, Kimberly sits at the sofa. The camera zooms in her eyes and takes as another flashback. We see Kimberly making out with Brad at the boys' locker room. Narrator, O Lord, what should I request for your people? I will ask for wombs that don't give birth, and breasts that give no milk. School parking lot. Kimberly then tell Roger the baby belongs to Brad, who is standing next to his car, across the parking lot. Roger turns his eyes and looks at him. Kimberly tries to apologize to him. But Roger snaps like a fiend, and slaps her on the face hard. Brad quickly runs toward them and stops Roger from hitting Kimberly farther. Roger pushes Brad away, walks around his car, punches the window, breaking the glass. He opens the door, gets behind the wheel, and drives away. Narrator, the Lord says, all their wickedness began at Gilgal, there I began to hate them. I will drive them from my land because of their evil actions. Forest. We see the dead body of Brad and Kimberly on the ground. They are naked. Roger is digging a grave. He walks up to the dead bodies, drags Brad's corpse, and puts him in the grave. He then drags Kimberly's body, dumps it in the grave, and shovels the sand back into the grave. Narrator, I will love them no more because all their leaders are rebels. The people of Israel are stricken. Their roots are dried up, they will bear no more fruit. Int. Mr. and Mrs. Douglas, living room, day. Present. Back to the crime scene. We see the forensic team working on the crime scene, dusting, gathering evidence, and collecting fingerprint. Narrator, and if they give birth, I'll slaughter their beloved children. Mickey walks toward the kitchen. We hear firefight siren nearing. The noise is getting louder and louder. Jake looks at the chain around Mrs. Douglas' neck, turns around and walks toward the exit. EXT Mr. and Mrs. Douglas's house, day. The firefighters come driving and park their trucks in front of the house. 3 firefighters step out of the first truck and run to the door. Jake, there is a chain around her neck. You have bolt cutter. The 4th firefighter comes out of the car with a bolt cutter and walks toward the house. We see a helicopter flying above the house. Int. Mr. and Mrs. Douglas's house, living room, day. Jake and the firefighters enter and come up to Mrs. Douglas. One of the firefighters, Chad, who is holding the bolt cutter, comes up to Mrs. Douglas and looks at her with puzzlement. He doesn't know whether to cut the chain that's around her neck, or the chain that is attached to the bar at the stair. Chad, which one should I cut? Firefighter 1, Rick, cut the one that's attached to the stair. We have to use volt plasma cutter to cut the bar around her neck. To Firefighter 2. Get the volt plasma cutter. Chad sets to cut the chain. Firefighter 2 walks toward the exit. Chad gets his bolt cutter on the chain and cuts it. The paramedics then place Mrs. Douglas on the medical bed. Rick checks the thick chain around her neck and says something as Chad cuts the other chain that shackles Mr. Douglas. Mickey comes from the kitchen and tells Jake something. Mickey and Jake walk toward the kitchen. Kitchen. Mickey shows Roger's organ, his heart, in the ice cooler box. Jake looks at it as if he knew who he is dealing with. On the soundtrack, Stevie Wonder's Superstition plays melodiously. Int. New York PD, Captain Carter's office, day. Jake and Mickey have word with Captain Carter without a sound. On the soundtrack, Superstition continues to play. Int. New York PD, Mickey and Jake's desks, day. /EXT Beach, day. Mickey sits behind his computer working on the code. Jake is on the phone talking to his daughter who is lying on the sand and reading a novel, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. Note, we see boss side of the silent conversation. We don't hear what they say due to music Superstition on the soundtrack. Jake talks to her a little bit, turns around, and gives the phone to Mickey saying, "She wants to ask you a question." Mickey takes the phone and talks to her. Mickey says something. Emily says something. Mickey smiles softly, turns his eyes, looks at her father, and acts as if she were asking him the formula for a time-traveling machine. Mickey tells her what she wants to hear and gives Jake the phone back. Jake takes the phone and says bye. She says bye and hangs up. The camera stays with Emily. Emily resumes reading. Black and white cameras POV. The suspect takes pictures of Emily off-screen. EXT Christina Susi, Street, Day. Jake and Mickey come driving and park the car across Christina Susi. They get out of the car. Jake, wait for me. I'll be right back. Mickey stands next to the car. Jake walks down the sidewalk, crosses the street, and heads toward the restaurant. Int. Christina Susi, Day. A man named Robert Morris, 42, CIA hacker, sits at a booth, enjoying spider roll, nigiri sushi, and sashimi with wasabi and soy sauce and a warm cup of Japanese green tea. He's not fat or anything. But for some reason, he has weakness for sushi. Jake enters the restaurant. Robert looks at him and continues to eat as if he saw a ghost. Jake comes up to the booth and sits in front of Robert. Note, Robert talks in between eating and drinking as if he didn't give a fuck about anything. Robert, what's up? Jake, nothing much. Robert, I heard you are getting Bible lesson by an evangelist who call himself 10. Jake, I'm on top of it. There is a silent moment. Then. Robert, who is the young man that you're hanging out on these days? Jake, mockingly some kid, they found him in the street cutting class and made him a detective. There is another silent moment. Robert has few more sushi. Jake watches him like the devil may care. Robert, so, what's it? Jake, see what you can find in this disc. Jake pushes the disc toward Robert hidden underneath a newspaper. Robert takes it and places it in his pocket. Robert, do you know sushi is nothing but cold cooked rice and raw fish? It's supposed to be eaten with finger. According to legend, it was only eaten by samurai who stood up against evil samurai and merchants. And there was this guy called Tokugawa Mitsukuni, who traveled disguised as a retired rich merchant with two unarmed samurai disguised as his companions. He found trouble wherever he went, and after gathering evidence, he had his samurai knocked around impenitently evil samurai and merchants, before revealing his identity. It was then clear to the villains that he could destroy their entire clan, and the villains surrendered in the hope that his punishments would not extend to their families. Jake, that's interesting story. But I don't know if I want to come between this Mitsukuni character and his foes. He seems mean. Robert, he is bad. Just stay away from his path. Jake, I hear you. There is a pause. Robert, so, how much you got? Jake takes out an envelope from his chest pocket and puts it in front of Robert. Robert takes the envelope and looks at it. The envelope is empty. Robert, what's this? Jake, it's personal. Robert, you know, I don't mix business with pleasure. Jake gets up, takes $50, and puts it on the table, to cover for his sushi. Jake, that should cover your lunch. Jake turns around and walks toward the exit. Robert has never seen Jake like this, pissed off. He looks at him and smirks as Jake exits. Robert turns his eyes and gazes at $50 on the table. He takes the money, puts it in his pocket, and replaces it with $25. Robert, to himself, it's better than nothing. EXT Christina Susi, sidewalk, day. Jake is walking on the sidewalk. Carrying shopping bags, Dr. Lisa Parker exits a department shop that happens to be in the same sidewalk that Jake is walking. Jake bumps into her. Jake, I am sorry. Lisa looks at him. It's Jake. Lisa, what's up? Jake, hi. Lisa, how are you? Jake, I'm fine. Lisa, what are you doing here? Jake, I came to have some cold rice and raw fish at this Japanese restaurant. Points at the restaurant, Christina Sushi, but changed my mind at the last seconds. She smiles in beauty as they walk toward Lisa's red convertible BMW that's parked at the sidewalk. Lisa, you told me you were going to call me and ask me out lunch. Jake, I forgot. A beat, looking for a serial killer is a full-time job. Gazing at her eyes as if he were talking about her in humor. It literally takes your breath away. She smiles in beauty. They come to Lisa's BMW. Lisa, that's one of the best excuses I have heard so far. She opens the passenger door. Jake helps her. She puts her shopping bag in the passenger seat. Lisa, when I go out shopping, I buy everything in the shop. I am what you call shopaholic. Jake, humorously, you've bought the entire store. She closes the passenger door. Lisa, this is nothing. I'm broke now. There are days that I spend thousands in shoes alone. I just couldn't help it. There is a voice in my head that tells me buy this and buy that. It's a disease. Jake, humorously, if you can offer it, why not buy it? Lisa, I don't usually wear them more than 4 weeks. I end up giving them away to charity. You know, it's karma. It would never let you down. Jake smiles softly, agreeing. There is a silent moment. They look at each other's eyes as if they wanted to kiss and forget their troubles. Lisa sees it through his eyes and gets taken by the moment. Jake, what you doing tonight? Lisa, nothing. I'm on break. Jake, I'll give you a call. I have to go now. Jake gives her a kiss on the cheek. She kisses him as well. Jake, take care. Lisa, bye. Jake crosses the street. Lisa walks around her car, gets behind the wheel. She starts her BMW and drives away. Jake walks toward his car. Mickey is at the newsstand, reading Time magazine, which has Roman number 10 on the cover, written in yellow crime scene tapes. The killer made it international. Mickey looks at his phone. There is a text message from Emily. Don't forget tonight. Love you, Emily. Mickey turns his eyes and looks at Jake as he approaches the car. Mickey takes out $5 and pays the clerk. Mickey, keep the change. Mickey returns to the car. Jake opens the driver door. Jake, to Mickey, are you hungry? Mickey, a little bit. Jake, come on, let's go to Wagons West restaurant and get 2 Philly cheesesteaks. They get in the car and drive away. Int. Ballet school, day. We see Emily doing ballet. The instructor Vincent, 34, tells her to be patient. There are about 10 students in the room. Vincent is focusing on Emily. She is the star. He holds her waist, lifts her high and lets her go. Emily floats in the air like a butterfly, spins in the air and lands flawlessly. She does few more amazing moves and stands on the side. Vincent, that's beautiful. But I don't want you to force it. Let it come to you naturally. He shows her the last part of the move that she did. They all look at him as if he were a god. He does it effortlessly as if his feet were made of air. Vincent, to Emily, empty your mind. Don't think about it. Free all the tension from all your muscles, and dance only with the blood on your toes as if you had no bone in your body. Emily nods sure. Classic music plays on the soundtrack. Emily dances ballet with Vincent. She then floats in the air. Vincent lifts her and holds her with one hand. They spin around. He lets her go. She gets down on the floor and does the same amazing moves that we saw earlier. They add more routine. EXT Polaris Restaurant, night. It's a romantic 5-star restaurant and bar. Mickey sits at the terrace of the restaurant with a glass of wine. There are few patrons who sit at the table, enjoying their outings. Then, Emily, wearing a bewitching red dress and a pearl necklace, comes to the restaurant. Emily walks up to Mickey. Mickey turns his eyes and sees her. Emily sits on his lap before he gets up. Mickey, under his breath, hi. She throws her arms around his neck and kisses him without a word. They kiss intimately like Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz in Jamon, Jamo. Maybe not that explicit, but we get the idea. A soft but juicy intimate French kiss that lasts more than a minute. Emily then parts her lips. Emily, I am sorry. I am late. I have to go home and change my cloth. Mickey, you look breathtaking. They kiss more passionately. They part their lips. They talk between soft kiss. Mickey, down by her lips, how was your day? Exchange soft kisses. Emily, it was hectic. Exchange soft kisses. Mickey, what do you mean by hectic? Exchange soft kisses. Emily, this ballet routine called butterfly. I had to do it over 40 times to perfect it. Exchange soft kisses. Mickey, softly down by her lips, you must be exhausted. Exchange soft kisses. Emily, I am completely out of breath. Exchange soft kisses. Mickey, so, how come you are kissing me as if you had extra pairs of lips? Emily, let me just thank God. He made your lips and invited a kiss. I would have starved myself to death if they told me I had to live without them. Mickey smiles in wonder. They kiss more intimately. Then a waitress named Jessica comes to their table to take their order. She interrupts them with a murmur. Jessica, how may I serve you? Mickey grabs the menu. Taking between soft kisses. Mickey, what you want to order? Emily, modishly, it's okay. I already ate. Just a glass of red wine. Pinot Noir. Mickey, don't you want to eat anything? Emily, softly, I'm good. She gives him a soft kiss on the lips. He looks at her eyes to make sure that she is not starving herself for the sake of ballet. Mickey, is it the ballet? Emily, no, I ate turkey sandwich an hour ago. I have no space in my stomach. Mickey, to Jessica, give us 5 minutes. Jessica nods her head and returns to the main restaurant. Mickey gazes at Emily's eyes to see if she is lying. Mickey, you are lying to me. Emily, okay. I didn't eat anything. But I ate this energy bar right before I came here. It has 350 calories. Mickey, 350 calories is nothing. You can burn it with walking. Exchange soft kisses. Emily, or we can burn it with sex. He couldn't help but smiles charismatically. Mickey, we just burned 400 calories with a kiss. I think we need fuel, at least close to 2,500 each. We are not going to sleep. Exchange soft kisses. Emily, I usually perform better with empty stomach like ballet. That is the main reason I didn't want to eat. To avoid extra weight in my belly. Mickey, that doesn't make sense. I don't care if it's walking, ballet, singing, or sex, even breathing. You need some sort of energy to operate efficiently. Emily, that is why I ate an energy bar. I did not want to let you down, in case if it comes down to dynamism. Mickey, under her breath, if you say so. They exchange soft kisses. Mickey, but let's have something light, chicken and vegetable. It's back up. Emily, just order anything. We will share it. He gives her a soft kiss on the lips. Mickey, sure. They kiss French. Jessica returns to their table. Mickey and Emily part their lips. Jessica, ready to order. Mickey grabs the menu, opens it, and finds what he looks for on the first page. Mickey, chicken casserole. He gives her the menu. Jessica, to Emily, what about you? Emily, we will share it together. Jessica, to Mickey, anything to drink. Mickey, a glass of red wine, same as her. Jessica, I will be with you in a minute. Jessica walks away. Mickey and Emily gaze at each other's eyes for about 4 seconds. Mickey, softly down by her lips, where were we? He gives her a soft kiss. She kisses him. Talking between soft kiss. Emily, I was thanking God for creating your lips and starving myself to death without them before the waitress interrupted us. We then started talking about sex and burning calories. Nonetheless, I said it in past tense. I would have starved myself to death if they told me I had to live without them. All of a sudden, I became self-conscious. I hate it when I am ill at ease, even for half second. It's the worst feeling. You know, I meant, I will starve myself to death if they tell me I have to live without them. Mickey, I will never allow that to happen. They kiss French. Int. New York restaurant and bar, night. Upscale restaurant, Jake and Lisa sit at table with glasses of wines. On the stage, a girl named Rebecca sings blues. There is a silent moment, gazing at each other's eyes like two sweethearts who have known each other most of their lives. Close up, Jake and Lisa. Jake, so how come you are not married? Lisa, bad luck. Jake, what is bad luck? Lisa, I was engaged to a baseball player, who played for Mets, while I was still in medical school, but he choked to death. Jake, that's sad. Lisa, I am kidding. Even though we were engaged, we were living separately. I was studying medical school at University of Columbia, so I rented an apartment in Manhattan. He had a house in Queens. One day, I came to his house and caught him having sex with another girl. We had a fight. He apologized, saying he was stressed out. He couldn't live without sex. You know, I was caught up with school, studying 24 hours. We didn't really have time for each other. I forgave him. I thought he had a good taste. The girl looks exactly like Cara Delevingne. I am not lesbian or anything. But he could have easily convinced me to have threesome. However, we postponed the wedding indefinitely. Then one day, he called me and said we should see other people. And he would go out and hit a home run to recap our relationship. There is a silent. They gaze at each other. Jake, did he hit any home run? She shows him 2 fingers. Lisa, 2. Jack can't help but smile sympathetically. Lisa, there were 2 games in one day versus Yankees, interleague. He hit home run on each game. Jake, that doesn't justify anything. Lisa, he said, we entered the relationship with love, tenderness, and passion. We should end it with kindness and style. Jake, is he still alive? She smiles softly. Lisa, humorously, unfortunately, he is still alive and kicking. They share soft smiles. Jake, I still can't believe he has the gut to walk away from your life. To tell you the truth, I couldn't take my eyes off you for more than a second. And that 1 second is spent thinking about the origin of that beauty mark on your cheek. You are so beautiful. Yet it seems you are not unaware of it. She smiles in beauty. There is a silent moment. They gaze at each other's eyes. They both take sips from their wines. She then. Lisa, what about you? Tell me about your ex-wife. Jake, the last thing I want to talk about is my ex-wife. Lisa, what does she do? Jake, she is a lawyer. Lisa, how did you two meet? Jake, I was the arresting officer of this alleged drug dealer whom I had to shoot to prevent him from escaping. She was this young beautiful defensive lawyer who passed the Florida bar exam at the age of 22 and practicing law at this famous law firm that represent injustice and medical malpractice. To make a long story short, the guy who I shot sued me for excessive force. And the man, who was supposed to cross-examine me, had a stroke, and got hospitalized a day before the questioning. She took his place and asked me a couple of questions about the suspect, and how I conduct my job and other things that had to do with the case. But for some unknown reason she gave me the soft beautiful smile. It garbed my soul like enchantment and took a hold of my heartbeat. Later, I waited outside the courtroom, and asked her out, perhaps talk about the case. She agreed. One thing led to another, we got married, and had a beautiful daughter named Emily. In the end, she called it quit. Humorously. I guessed we entered the marriage with love, tenderness, and passion. She wanted to end it with kindness and style like your ex. It's a small world. Lisa, why did she call it quit? Jake, it's a fairy tale. Lisa, let me hear it. Jake, it didn't work out the way we planned it. She thought I was loyal. But I let her down. You know, like an affair to remember Cary Grant and Deborah Kerr without the accident. I met an angel named Marion Faxiola. I thought I was head over heels in love with her. She was from France. We did things that two people do when they are in love, despite the fact, I was happily married. And she was engaged to a guy named Lucas Hugo, who lived in Paris. Humorously. It is amazing I remembered his name. Maybe it's because I am a cop. Or it could be everybody in France is named Lucas. I know Hugo, because of Victor Hugo, one of the greatest French writers. Anyway, in the end, she said it was only sex, didn't want to come between me and my wife, and returned to Paris. I told my wife about the affair and asked her to forgive me. But she told me to go fuck myself and walked out of my life as if I married a ghost. Lisa is silent. However, for some reason, she can't resist his charm. They gaze at each other's eyes for a long second. EXT Polaris Restaurant, night. We are back to Mickey and Emily outside sitting area. Their food and drinks have already been served. But they barely touch the food. Emily remains on Mickey's lap. She is holding her glass of red wine on her lap. Down the street, we see a girl dancing, belly dance. 3 men back her up with a drum and other musical instruments. Emily and Mickey watch her silently. Close up, a belly dancer. Her name is Sarah. She continues to dance as if her hips were a different part of her body, belonged only to the gods. Mickey looks at Emily. Mickey, softly, can you dance like that? Emily doesn't respond right away. She waits for the belly dancer to finish. The belly dancer does a couple of remarkable moves and finishes dancing. The audiences in the street clap. Emily and Mickey clap as well. Emily then. Emily, she reminds me Salome, the stepdaughter of Herodias in the New Testament. You know how the story goes. Mickey, how does it go? Emily, it was Herodias' birthday. And he was sitting with high-profile guests. She came to the salon, danced, the dance of the 7 veils, and pleased the king beyond his wildest imagination. He swore unto her that he would give her whatever she asked. She requested the head of John the Baptist on a silver plate. The king sent his guards to John's prison cell. The guards beheaded John and brought his head to the king. The king gave Salome John's the Baptist head. Mickey, that's amazing story, but I hear there is a play by Oscar Wilder that depicted Salome as a necrophilia, person who is sexual attracted to the dead. Emily, I read the play. I mean, I had to write a paper about her at high school. Oscar Wilder kind of took it farther, portraying Salome as a woman who had a desire to possess an unresisting partner. And at the climax point of the story, there is a part where she kisses the head of John the Baptist. But I think too many people get the wrong impression about Salome. She takes a sip and gives him the glass. He takes her glass and puts it on the table. Emily, even though some scholars depicted her as a dangerous seductress and a woman who seeks pleasure by expressing power over a dead human head, she didn't ask the king that John to be beheaded and brought her on a silver plate directly. It was her mother who wanted John's the Baptist's head after John denounced her marriage to Herodias. Mickey, that makes sense. Emily, she just wants to please her mother. She didn't mean to change history. Mickey, humorously, if you had danced the dance of the 7 veils, I would have brought you Jesus Christ's heart on a gold plate. They exchange soft kisses. Emily, playing along, what would I do with Jesus Christ's heart? Mickey, humorously, I don't know, maybe turn water to wine. She smiles in beauty. They kiss intimately. On the soundtrack, music plays melodiously. EXT Mickey's apartment, night. Mickey and Emily come driving and park the car next to Mickey's apartment house. Emily unbuckles her seat belt, comes to Mickey, kisses him, and sits on his lap. They kiss more intimately. Mickey then opens the car's door and carries Emily toward his apartment. They climb the staircase while joining lips to lips. Mickey puts down Emily on the floor and opens the door with a key. Int. Mickey's apartment, living room, night. Mickey and Emily enter the apartment kissing. Mickey closes the door. They move down the living room and continue to kiss at the salon. They then drop on the floor while kissing. Mickey caresses her necks. Emily unbuttons her shirt. She is not wearing bra. Her breasts jump out like 2 tender melons that are cultivated out of this world, and dangle on her chest flawlessly. Mickey kisses her breasts, moves down, plants a soft kiss on her belly, removes her underwear, and gives her oral pleasure. Close up, Emily. She is dying with pleasure. Her face goes through various sexual pleasure. Int. Mickey's apartment, living room, night. Mickey and Emily are in the middle of making love. Emily is on top ridding Mickey seductively. Mickey then gets her on the bottom and enters her enchantingly. We stay with them a bit. Int. Caribbean Blue Restaurant, night. Jake and Lisa are at the dance floor dancing slow. Jake, the sun has seen it all that must happen in daylight. But the moon has the upper hand in the night. It takes all the credit for what goes down between sheets. It has X-ray vision. Lisa, are you a night person? Jake, I am not what you think I am. Lisa, which is? Jake, humorously, a washed-up detective who once ruled New York City and never got over it, you know, solving murder mysteries, putting bad guys away like Dirty Harry, and sweeping attractive women off their feet, kiss, caress, sweet talks, hug, and making love that you only watch in films. Lisa, playing along, I thought you're a fiend that loves sex. But I didn't know you're quite romantic. Jake smiles softly. Jake, I have a sensitive heart. I will let you take a full advantage of it. You change my faith in a beautiful woman to the point of no return and beyond. If it weren't blasphemy, I would have built a cathedral and worshipped you. She smiles in beauty. They kiss. Int. Jake's house, bedroom, night. Jake and Lisa make love. It's steamy, passionate, and seductive. We stay with them with series cuts. Int. Mickey's apartment, living room, night. Mickey and Emily sit in the bathtub that is placed in the middle of the living room. Mickey is behind. Emily rests on Mickey's chest. They are watching Raider of the Lost Ark starring Harrison Ford. Emily, do you believe violence is the manifestation of an unjust yet conscientious exertion of force that a person or societies are adhering to a particular faith? I mean, you hear things about the Crusades who fought the Muslims almost for 200 years to restore Christian control of Jerusalem, the Holy Land, and the story of St. Joan of Arc in Hundred Years' War, and the two major wars. First and Second World War, and what the Nazi did to the Jews. And the conflict between Israel and Palestine, and all the suicide bombs in the name of religion and tradition, and a serial killer going out and killing innocent people based on the Ten Commandments. It seems there are forces that determine and sway the spiritual hierarchy of domination between good and evil. Mickey, under his breath, I hear you. He has no clue what she is talking about. Emily, simultaneously, you see a lot of energy being wasted to restore order, as if people were refusing to accept the evidence that their view of the world could be wrong. Mickey, it's true. Emily, on the other hand, if you look at the bigger picture, or ask questions like what is life all about? If there is God, or the things that distinguish between good and evil, and what is right and wrong, you begin to aware of the value of life. Mickey, I feel you. He plants a soft kiss on her shoulder. Emily changes her demeanor from philosophical into sweet and seductive. Emily, but don't you hate the fact that we are not in control of our feelings? Mickey, softly, how is that? Emily, why do we fall in love? Mickey, I don't know, it's because we can't help it. Emily, humorously, I think love is illusion that designed by stupid diatomic molecules in our brain to make us feel carbon monoxide. Mickey, playing along maybe. Emily, or it's a phenomenon premeditated by the universe life force to keep our hearts sing more melodious than the birds in the morning, and to make our lips taste sweeter than honey. Mickey, I couldn't agree more. They kiss French. Int. Henry Jackson's apartment, day. Mickey stands by the sofa that is blemished by blood. A body lies on the floor under a sheet. There is a .357 Magnum revolver next to the body. New forensics team Larry and Jacob are collecting evidence. A photographer named Tommy photographs the body. Kevin, who is standing by the autopsy, looks through a notepad. Kevin, Henry Jackson, ex-detective. A single bullet to his brain. He was drunk. He tied up the hooker and blew his brain out. Mickey, is she a hooker or a stripper? Kevin, does it make a difference? When it's a question of money, everybody is of the same religion. She is lucky to be alive. Mickey, just to clarify. Kevin, okay. She is a stripper. They were playing Russian roulette. She said he pointed the magnum at her head first and pulled the trigger. But as luck would have it, nothing came out the barrel. He then turned the gun on his head and pulled the trigger. A bullet came out of the barrel, and exploded inside his brain like a bad karma, splattering blood all over her face. She said she managed to untie herself and called 911. Through the open glass doors, we see Captain Carter and Detective Mia Newton questioning a young woman named Raquel Jordan, 22, in the porch. At the living room entrance, Jake walks in. Kevin, hey, Jake. You don't want to look at it? Jake walks straight to the body without saying a word, uncovers the sheet, and looks at his friend, ex-partner. We never met Henry. He is a heavy figure. Half of his brain is gone. Jake fights tears as he covers the sheet back. Captain Carter, Detective Mia Newton, and Raquel enter back to the living room. Detective Newton escorts Raquel toward the exit. Captain Carter stops at the entrance, and tells Jake to come out. Captain Carter, come outside. I'd like to have few words with you. Captain Carter returns to the porch. EXT Henry Jackson's apartment, porch, day. Jake exits. He walks toward the frame and stands next to Captain Carter. Captain Carter, sorry, Jake, it's sad. He has to go out like this. He was a good man deep down inside. A good friend. But we have to leave it behind and focus on what's in hand. Opens a file, last victim name is Roger Douglas. He was arrested 6 times within the past 2 years. Some of the charges are trivial, possession of marijuana, driving under the influence of alcoholic, and obliterating school property. They are serious offense, including robbing a local store, and taking part of hitting 2 Jewish American students into coma and carving Nazi signs on their foreheads. He was the ringleader. He got 2 years for that but serve only 3 months in Cooks County Jail and get release after an appeal. Plus, he was the main suspect of the disappearance of 2 teenagers named Kimberly Richmond and Brad Madison. Takes out a plastic bag that contains broken mirror from his pocket. The coroner found these broken mirrors in his stomach. No fingerprint is found. But see where it leads. Captain Carter gives him the evidence. Jake takes it. Captain Carter, I have to go. I had a meeting. Captain Carter walks away. Jake looks at the new evidences. He then turns his eyes, observes the great city of New York from Henry's porch for long seconds. He places the evidence in his pocket, turns around, and walks toward the direction of the camera. Int. Douglas's house, living room, day. Jake searches for new evidence. He looks at the bar. He looks at the coffee table. He then comes up to the fireplace and looks at the photo of Mr. and Mrs. Douglas and their son Roger. He then turns around and walks toward the bathroom. Int. Douglas's house, bathroom, day. Jake walks in, and looks at the mirror. He gets closer and breathes hot air on the mirror. On the mirror, murder is sin appears. Int. Douglas's house, bathroom, ladder. Luke and Jody examine the new evidence on the mirror and find fingerprints. Jake stands and looks at the fingerprints. Int. New York PD, print, lab, day. A lab technician named Ryan Gibson sits in front of an advanced computer and ID the fingerprints as Captain Carter and Jake stand and watch the screen. Int. New York PD, ready room, day. Captain Carter stands in front of the projector. The face of a Caucasian, 36, Austin Cleaver can be seen on the slider. Captain Carter, his name is Austin Cleaver. His prints were found at the crime scene by Detective Smith. 6 SWAT, 4 men and 2 women sit in chairs, facing Captain Carter, including Evan, the leader of SWAT. They all wear bulletproof vests with SWAT stencil painted across them. Jake and Mickey are present as well. They stand in the back. Captain Carter, he was in top 10 FBI's most wanted list. He posted a bail and fled to Spain for killing of 6 college students, 2 Syracuse, New York, 2 in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 1 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and 1 Tallahassee, Florida. Later, he got extradited by the government of Spain and charged in 6 accounts of rape and murder. But the USA Supreme Court turned the conviction and found him not guilty by reason of insanity. He served 2 years at State's mental institution for criminal insane and walked free. Bearing in mind his background at the US Navy, he's considered armed and dangerous. Int. Jake's car, moving, morning. Jake is behind the wheel. Mickey sits in the passenger seat. They drive, following a SWAT van. Jake, have you ever killed anyone? Mickey, no. Jake, you were in Iraq with the army, weren't you? Mickey, Afghanistan with the Air Force. Jake, and you didn't kill a soul? Mickey, they told me to bomb this village square where Taliban official and terrorists were holding a meeting in the heart of Kabul. I looked at it. There were innocent people and kids playing. I turned around my jet, returned to the base, and told the general, who happened to be my uncle, I quit. I won't have this in my conscience. He sent me home with an honorable mention. EXT Austin Cleaver's house, day. It's an exclusive house. A villa. The 6 SWAT men from the briefing, fully geared up, rifles and handguns held, move throughout the house, and gradually come to the door. Mickey and Jake follow behind with their guns. Evan Cromwell, SWAT, leads the team. He gives them a sign. Evan, let's fucking get him. A female SWAT, Michelle, hoists a battering ram. The other SWATs get on both sides of the door. Jake moves forward. Mickey stands next to him. Evan, police. Open the door. The female SWAT brings the ram forward with a rupture pound and hits the door. The door flies open. The cops storm in. Int. Austin Cleaver's house, living room, day. The cops charge down the house. Jake and Mickey enter pointing their gun. Evan and the rest of the SWAT men move down the house. They find nothing. Some of the SWAT team move upstairs. Others come to the kitchen. Mickey and Jake search the living room. We see the cops going each room with pointing their guns, looking for Austin Cleaver. They search everywhere and find nothing. Kitchen. A SWAT exits through the kitchen door. Another SWAT follows him. EXT Austin Cleaver's house, garage, day. The 2 SWAT men, Charlie and Sean, walk toward the garage, drawing their gun. Int. Austin Cleaver's house, garage, day. Charlie and Sean enter. They find the victim grind into pulp inside a painted pentacle, lit with candles at each corner. We see the victim head, Austin, on top of the cadaver without the eyes and a stump grinder that was used to turn him into mash near the crime scene. There are maggots on the remaining and hungry brown rats feasting on the cadaver and running everywhere, and 6 Indian kite snakes crawling by the corpse. Sean, SWAT, what the fuck? Sean exits the garage in terror and disgust, and stands outside. Charlie stands back, takes out his radio, and calls Evan. Charlie, on the radio, Evan. I think we got Austin in the garage. Int. Austin Cleaver's house, living room, day. / garage, day. Evan answers the call. Jake and Mickey are in the living room. Note, we see both sides of the conversation. Evan, on the radio, is he alive? Cheryl, I doubt it. His ghost is making deal with the devil to keep his soul in good health after departing like this. Evan, what is it? Cheryl, I don't know what the fuck it is. This audio file was created by Panopreter Basic. You can download it at www.panopreter.com. It's one of the most disturbing things I have ever seen in my life. You've got to come down and look at it yourself. Evan turns to Jake and Mickey. Evan, they found his body at the garage. Jake and Mickey swiftly move toward the exit. Evan, on the radio, we are coming. Evan hangs up the phone and follows Jake and Mickey. EXT Austin Cleaver's house, garage, day. Charlie and Sean stand at the door. Sean looks at snakes that are clawing by the cadaver. We see a couple of dead rats. Sean, those snakes are poisonous. Charlie, most likely. We should call a snake fucking charmer. I am not getting near them. Sean, referring to the body, he fixed him good. Charlie, God have mercy on his soul. I don't care if he is Satan. Nobody deserves to die like this. Jake, Mickey, and Evan come to the garage. Charlie, watch out. There are snakes. They all stand at the door. Jake, fuck. I hate snakes. He looks at the body. Jake, what the fuck, is that his remaining? Charlie, he turned him into pulp with that thing. Charlie points his finger at stump grinder. They all look at the remaining in shock as if it were the work of Satan itself. Jake can't wait to examine the body. But he is a little bit terrified by the snakes. Jake, are they venomous, snakes? Mickey, 75% of snakes are harmless. Jake, better to be safe than sorry. 25% can kill you. The rest of SWAT team come to the garage. Evan, guys, stand back. You don't want to look at it? Some of SWAT ignore him and try to check it out. Evan, don't go inside. There are snakes crawling all over the place. A SWAT named Paul manages to see the remaining. Paul, what the fuck is that Austin? On man. He served him fucking justice. Most of SWAT look at the remaining despite the fact Evan has just warned them. Some of the SWAT are extremely upset by what they are looking. Others are shocked. Jake, to the SWAT, does anybody know how to handle snakes? They all say nothing. Jake, fuck. To Evan, just call snake control. Evan, what's the number? Jake, how should I fucking know? Mickey, nicely I got it. He dials 911 calmly. Operator, off-screen 911, how can I help you? Mickey, it is NYPD. Send snake control at 10014 Greenwich Village as soon American Samoa possible. It's emergency. Operator, sure. A SWAT named Jimmy holds his stomach, walks toward a garden, and throws up off-screen. Jake looks at Mickey as if he knew it was coming. Jake, to Mickey, what are we dealing with? Mickey, the Prince of Darkness. Jake, how can you justify this? Mickey, I think justifying the act should be the last thing we should worry about. He is always one step ahead of us. Jake, I swear if I catch him, I will bury all of my bullets in top of his skull. That's how mad I am. Mickey, let's not our emotions get the best of us. That's what the killer wants. To drive us mad and complete his act. Perhaps start over. Jake, he got us up against the rope. We are taking punches like Ali. Rope-a-dope doesn't work against him. It only damages our brain. He is hitting us hard like Mike Tyson. Evan has heard everything. Evan, humorously, just don't let him bite your ear. Jack and Mickey can't help but smile softly. Jake, anyway, I got takeaways. To Mickey. Make sure nobody touch anything. Jake walks to the main living room. Int. Austin Cleaver's house, garage, later. A snake controller named Vaughn picks up the last serpent with a thin iron bar designed for the sole purpose of handling snake, and places it in a snake container with the rest of them, slowly closes the container, grabs the cage, and walks away. Jake and Mickey come to the crime scene. Jake dabs around his nostrils with Vicks VapoRub and look at the corpse of Austin. Jake, have you ever seen anything that's impious like this? Mickey, who stands frozen, covering his nose with his jacket, shakes his head no. Jake gives him the Vicks VapoRub. Mickey takes the Vicks and applies it around his nostrils. Jake sees something that's sparkling like a glass. Jake, what's that? He takes out cuticle stick, slowly removes the pulp away from the object, and exhumes a bottle. Jake, is that a bottle? Mickey, I think so. Jake digs the pulp farther and extracts the bottle completely. It has messages. But it's hard to see it right away due to dry blood and remaining around the bottle. Jake, message in the bottle. Let's wait for the forensic. They were collecting evidence at Upper East Side. The woman who shot her husband last night. I told Luke to pack his stuff and bring his ass down here as soon as possible. She has already confessed. He was fucking her 14-year-old daughter from her first marriage and shot him in the face while he was sleeping. Mickey says nothing. Jake looks at the stump grinder. Jake, how did he do it? I mean, did he grind him while he was still alive? Or he killed him and just dumped his body in the stump grinder to dramatize his death? Mickey doesn't know how to respond. He chooses to remain silent. Jake, anyway, it doesn't make a difference. A beat, see if the suspect left anything. Mickey begins to search for more evidence. At the door, Kevin enters. He looks at Austin's remaining. Kevin, what the fuck is that? He quickly covers his nose. Jake looks at him. Jake, where is Luke? Kevin, he is in way here. Referring to the Austin's remaining. Man. This guy is a class act. This one is by far tops the rest of them. Jake, don't patronize him. He is nothing but a punk. Kevin, I think I should go home and take the week off. He turns around and walks toward the exit. Toby enters with his camera, followed by Luke and Jody. Kevin stops Jody at the door. Kevin, you aren't allowed to be here. It'll give you a nightmare. Jody, what are you talking about? She tries to enter. Kevin blocks her way firmly. Kevin, I am serious. Luke comes up to the crime scene. Luke, Jesus. Mary, Mother of God. What the hell is that? Jake, get your stuff and see what is inside the bottle. Jake looks at Jody at the entrance and gives Kevin a sign to keep her still as he walks toward them. Jake, it's okay, Jody. Luke will take care of it. Just go home. Take the day off. Jody, is this supposed to be a joke? Kevin, no. It's not. You should just go home and spend the day with that German sharp of yours, Billy. Take him to Central Park. Jody, to Kevin, who the fuck do you think you are? You are not my boss. Fuck off. She is pissed. Jake gives Kevin a sign to let her go. I will handle it. Kevin moves aside. Jake, Jody. I can tell you up front. I am already having a mental breakdown. I am thinking about going to a neurologist at this particular moment and ask him to remove a part of my brain that saw it. The suspect did unthinkable thing to the victim. Trust me. It's not worth it. Jody, I'll be the judge of that. I think you guys are being sexist. If you ever tell me that I can't do my job again, I'll never come to work. I'll ask for transfer and do my job where nobody has to remind me women are not suited to do things that men don't have the stomach for. Jake, defeated. I am sorry if you see it that way. You are right. I thought I could save you the trouble. Go ahead, check it out. Jody passes by Jake and comes up to the crime scene. She stands frozen as if the devil came out of hell, took her heart out, and dropped it in the habitation of fallen angels. She seems a little bit disturbed. Jake looks at her as if he were saying, don't say I didn't tell you. Luke, working on the crime scene, I know what you are thinking. It's not photogenic. But Jody plays it cool, acts professional to back her words. She puts her forensic bag on the floor, takes out Vicks VapoRub and dabs it around her nostrils. She puts on her gloves and begins to work on the crime scene. At the other end, Mickey finds an ice cooler box at the far end of the garage. Jake looks at him. Jake, did you find anything? Mickey, an ice cooler box. Jake walks up to the box. Mickey slowly opens the ice cooler box and finds a full functioning human organ, heart. Mickey, it's his heart. Jake, let Jody work on it before she had a heart attack. Jake turns around and walks up to Jody. Jake, Jody. Get up. It's okay. Leave it. Give Mickey hand over there. Even though, she believes she did the right thing to refuse to go home. But Jody is glad to walk away from the corpse. She collects her gears and comes up to the ice cooler box where Mickey is at, and begins to work on the ice cooler box without saying a single word. In the other end, Luke slowly retrieves the letters from the bottle and gives the letters to Jake. Jake takes the letters and looks at them. They are written in Hebrew. Jake, Jody. Do you mind, if I borrow you for a second? He walks up to her. She gets up. Jake, I would have made a big mistake if I sent you home. It's a good thing that you hang around. What are these saying? Jody takes the letters and looks at it. Jody, first letter it says, thou shalt not murder. Second letter in between, reading it in Hebrew and translating it to English. Praise the Lord. Sing to the Lord a new song. Sing his praises in the assembly of the faithful. Jake, interrupts her, never mind, it's another Bible code. You can translate it later. He takes the letter from her hand. Jake, to both Jody and Luke, I want you to collect every single fingerprint and hair sample in this room and give me the result before sundown. Narrator, O Israel, rejoice in your Maker. Note, we'll see the following scenes in artistic work, montage / one scene dissolve to another / superimpose as the narrator continues to speak. Toby takes the photo of the stump grinder and the crime scene along with the maggots and brown rats, dead and alive. Luke works on the crime scene, collecting fingerprints. Narrator, O people of Jerusalem, exult in your king. Praise his name with dancing, accompanied by tambourine and harp. We see all of them, the forensic and the detectives working on the crime scene, dusting the stamp grinder for fingerprints, and looking for evidence on the floor, etc. Narrator, for the Lord delights in his people, he crowns the humble with salvation. Let the faithful rejoice in this honor. Let them sing for joy as they lie on their beds. Let the praises of God be in their mouths, and a sharp sword in their hands, to execute vengeance on the nations. Int. New York PD, Day. Mickey sits behind his laptop. He's working on the code. Jake is at his desk talking to Captain Carter, who is standing at Jake's desk and looking at the last crime scene photos. Narrator, and punishment on the peoples, to bind their kings with shackles and their leaders with iron chains, to execute the judgment written against them. This is the glory of his faithful ones. Praise the Lord. Psalms 149:1-9. Captain Carter, looking at the photos, not a single fingerprint or hair sample. Jake, none. There is a pause. Captain Carter looks at few more pictures. He then. Captain Carter, what are we dealing with? Jake, beside a psychopathic, we are looking at a man who has a remarkable understanding of medicine. He is not your average Joe. What he does with the victims takes discipline and training, at least up to 8 years in a medical school. A beat, who knows he could be a surgeon, who takes pleasure on removing their organs. And pulverizing his victims with a stump grinder just to get a kick out of it. Captain Carter, so, what are you waiting for? I want you guys to go out and question every surgeon, who takes pleasure on pulverizing his victims with a stump grinder, and find the son of bitch. Jake, we will try. Captain Carter, try harder. 110%. He puts the photos on Jake's desk. Captain Carter, I think I'll have to skip meal the rest of the day. Captain Carter walks toward his office. Jake turns to Mickey. Jake, did you decipher it yet? Mickey, Yeah. But I don't know if I got it right. It says, I will not tell you who I am going to kill next because God doesn't want you to know. Jake, he is fucking playing game. Jake looks at his phone. There is a text message, the best sushi in town. Jake, to Mickey, fuck him. Let's roll, sardonically. You heard the captain. He wants us to give 110%, question every motherfucking surgeon, who takes pleasure on pulverizing his victim with a stump grinder in the city of New York. Jake gets up, puts his jacket, and begins to walk toward the staircase as Mickey prints the code. Mickey gets up and walks up to the printer. He takes the copy and runs toward the staircase. Mickey catches up with Jake, who is taking the staircase. On the soundtrack, music comes. Mickey and Jake walk towards the camera. Int. Jake's car, moving, day. Jake is behind the wheel. Mickey is in the passenger seat. They drive in the street of New York while talking without a sound. Ext Jake's car, moving, day. An established shot of Jake's car as Jake and Mickey drive in the street of New York. Int. Christina sushi, day. Robert sits at the booth, enjoying sushi. Jake enters. He walks up to the booth and sits in front of Robert. Jake, what you got? Robert pushes the file in front of Jake. Robert, Dr. Blake is clean. No record. But he received over 50 emails from a man named Sean Reed who called himself the Undertaker. I checked Sean's record. He graduated from Johns Hopkins Medical School in 2004. He was arrested twice for human organ trafficking. The first one is on May 29, 2008 in Berlin, Germany. The other one is August 14, 2009 in Zurich, Switzerland. In both cases, they couldn't prosecute him for some unknown reason. In the meantime, Dr. Blake received over 200 emails from Drive Eric Nicholson at the doctor's hospital. They talked about opening a new medical institution in Santiago, Chile that specializes on stem cell research. And there are few emails from his wife Claire Blake about her heart being purchased in black market, and her father paying for it and all. I wrote all the passwords and email address. Take your time and look at it. Jake gets up, takes out $100 bill, puts it on the table, and walks toward the exit. On the soundtrack, music plays melodiously. Montage. Jake and Mickey come driving at Dr. Blake's house and park the car in front of the house. They step out of the car and walk toward the door. Sitting at the living room, Jake and Mickey question an attractive woman named Claire Blake, Dr. Blake's wife. She tells them everything they want to hear. Jake and Mickey come driving at doctor's hospital and park their car at the emergency room parking lot. They get out of the car and walk toward the hospital. Jake questions a doctor named Marvin Knight, 58. Dr. Knight answers without a sound. Mickey questions a doctor named Spike Jordan, 39. Dr. Jordan answers the questions accordingly. Jake and Mickey come driving at Mercy Hospital and park their car at the emergency room. They step out of the car and walk toward the hospital. Jake questions a doctor named Peter Robertson, 45. We don't hear what they are saying due to the music on the soundtrack. Mickey questions a nurse named Juliet Richards, 29. She tells him what he wants to hear. EXT Club, night. Jake and Mickey come up to the club. There is a big line. 2 security guards stand at the entrance. Jake shows them his badge. The 2 security guards let Mickey and Jake in. Int. Club, night. It's huge club. We see people dancing as if it were the turn of the century. The DJ plays Move Like Jagger by Maroon 5 featuring Christina Aguilera. Mickey and Jake enter and walk through the crowd. At the bar, we see Sean Reed, 34, sitting on the stool and drinking whiskey. He sees Jake and Mickey walking toward him. He gets up and walks toward the bathroom before he disappears from our sight. Jake and Mickey take out their guns and go after him. Kitchen/bathroom hallway. Jake and Mickey stands at the hallway. They don't know where Sean went, if he entered the kitchen or walked into the bathroom or he took the staircase down and exited the building. Jake tells Mickey to check the kitchen. Mickey walks up to the kitchen drawing his gun. Jake enters the staircase room and takes the staircase. Staircase room. Jake moves down, comes up to the exit, opens the door, and exits the club. EXT Club, night. Jake walks up to the street and looks at all directions. He can't find Sean Red. Int. Club, kitchen, night. Mickey searches the kitchen. The cooks stop what they are doing and look at him with suspicion. Mickey turns around, takes out his cell phone, and dials Jake as he walks toward the exit. EXT Club, night. Standing in the middle of the street, Jake answers the call. Out of nowhere comes Sean driving a yellow Ferrari. Jake looks at it. He drops his phone, and jumps in the air as high as he can like a professional athlete when the car is about to make a contact with him. The Ferrari hits Jake regardless. Jake rolls over the car and falls on the ground. He is not Kobe Bryant. The car speeds away. Jake takes out his gun. But he does nothing with it due to the impact of the hit. Jake manages to look at the license number. However, it gets blurry. Meanwhile, the Ferrari takes off 120 miles per hour in few seconds, and disappear from our sight. Jake grabs his head and lies on the ground. The crowd, who happens to be standing in the area, come to help him. Jake get up, stands on his feet, and tells the crowd that he's fine. Int. Club, night. Mickey moves through the crowd that are dancing lasciviously as if were the birth of Miley Cyrus, sex, desire, and enchantment. He is walking toward the exit. EXT Club, night. Jake collects himself, comes up to his cell phone, and picks it up. It's broken. Jake checks his cell phone if it is still working. Too bad. It stops functioning. Jake slams his cell phone against the ground with anger. It breaks down into pieces. Club. Mickey exits and walks up to Jake. Jake sees Mickey. He asks him for his cell phone. Mickey gives him his cell phone. Jake takes Mickey's cell phone and call at the station for the description of the car, so they could send a helicopter and look for it. Int. University of New York Hospital, day. Jake and Mickey come driving and pull their car at the emergency room. They get out of the car and walks toward the hospital. Int. University of New York Hospital, Dr. Blake's office, day. Dr. Blake sits behind his desk. Jake questions him. Jake, where were you July 1st between 9 p.m. to 12:00 m? Dr. Blake, I was home alone reading book. The Grand Design by Stephen Hawking. Jake, I know who Stephen Hawking is. I read A Brief History of Time. I thought it was BS. All that the Big Bang Theory and black holes are nothing but neurological disorder. You agree with me, don't you? Dr. Blake, there is nothing wrong with his brain. It is his muscle that lets him down. Jake, anyway, I am not here to talk about quantum fluctuations. What do you know about organ trafficking? Dr. Blake, acting confused, I don't know what you're talking about. Jake, sensing that he's not going nowhere with that question, just forget it. I got it all mixed up. It's a ridiculous question. We'll get back to that in a minute. But first tell me where you were on June 14th. It is the date the first murder took place. Int. University of New York Hospital, Amanda's room, day. Amanda looks much better than the last time we saw her. Dylan is in the wheelchair reading to her Doris Lessing's The Golden Notebook. Dylan, The Golden Notebook, she understood suddenly that she would never come with this man. She thought, for women like me, integrity isn't chastity, it isn't fidelity, it isn't any of the old words. Integrity is the orgasm. Mickey is at the entrance standing with a flower. Amanda looks at him and beams with a beautiful smile. Amanda, hi. Mickey, I am sorry for the interruption. Amanda, it's okay. Mickey approaches Amanda and gives her the flower. She takes the flower, and hands the flower to Dylan. Dylan takes the flower, greets Mickey with a nod, rolls his wheelchair, and puts the flower on the table. Mickey, how are you? Amanda, I am fine. And you? Mickey, I can't complain. Amanda, what brings you here? Mickey, we came to question some of the doctors who work here regarding to the 10 Commandments suspect. Jake is questioning Dr. Blake. I was supposed to have a word with Dr. Lee. But they told me he hasn't showed up for days. I came to see how you were doing. Amanda, I am doing great. Mickey, it's good to hear that. There is a pause. Amanda, did you guys have any luck with the killer? Mickey, no. He continues to kill. Amanda, I stopped watching news. I don't know what is going on with the world. But I am sorry to hear that. Mickey, there is nothing to be sorry about. It's our job. We'll get him soon or later. Amanda, I don't want to sound hypocrite. I know he saved my life. But I hope you guys found him soon, and stop him from killing innocent people. Mickey, we'll do our best. But I must go. Mickey gets closer and gives her a kiss on the forehead. Mickey, you are too beautiful to feel blue. Nothing will keep you away from the sun. Amanda, that the best get well I have received. Mickey, I will see you. Amanda, bye. Mickey nods to Dylan, greeting and exits. Amanda faces is glowing. She turns and looks at Dylan, who seems invisible at the moment. She is kind of embarrassed, as if it were too obvious that she had a crush on Mickey. Dylan, as if he read her mind, he's quite charismatic. Amanda, he has beautiful eyes. Dylan smiles softly. They both got silent for a moment. Dylan then. Dylan, I lost the page, where was I? Amanda, you were reading to me how she understood suddenly that she would never come with the man. And something about integrity is the orgasm. Dylan, right. That's page 132. He turns the page and continues to read for her. Int. St. John Hospital, hallway, night. Mickey walks down the hallway, turns at the emergency room, and runs into Megan Cage, who happens to be exiting one of the emergency rooms. Mickey, Miss Cage. She looks at him like, what is it? He shows her badge. Mickey, I'm Detective Reno. I talked to you about 3 weeks ago. You said that Dr. Lee spent the night with you on June 14th. Do you know by any chance where he could be? Megan, I'm sorry. I really want to help you. But I haven't seen him for days. Mickey, it's very important that I have a word with him. We just had 3 more victims. One was skinned and buried alive with brown rats. The second one was eaten by his parents. The suspect gave them choices, to eat him or starve to death. The last one was pulverized with stamp grinder. In all case, the suspect removed their organs and kept them in ice cooler boxes. Dr. Lee might help us. Please tell us if you know where he might be. She isn't trembled by the revelation. In fact, she wants to flirt with him. Megan, I don't know anything. He could be anywhere. He was talking about leaving NYU and moving to California and becoming a plastic surgeon in LA. A couple days ago, he asked me to come with him and work in Hollywood. But I told him I liked it here, helping real patients, not a movie star who wants to look like Cleopatra and tricks herself she will stay forever young. Mickey, when was the last time you contacted him? Megan, Friday morning. I worked graveyard shift. He came in the morning. We didn't say a word to each other. I was still upset that he had been sleeping with his ex-girlfriend behind my back. I didn't want to speak to him. Mickey, what's her name? Megan, Kimberly Heard. Mickey writes it down. Int. University of New York Hospital, Dr. Blake's office, day. Jake walks around the office looking for clues. Dr. Blake talks while writing. Dr. Blake, we have hundreds of patients who are dying every day waiting for the right donors. Till we sit in the lab and generate human organ from the scratch, those problems continue to take their toes in medicine. Jake turns around and looks at Dr. Blake. Jake, we talked to your wife about her heart condition. She told us that you got her a new heart in black market. What does she mean by black market? Dr. Blake, it was secret. How did you find out? She doesn't even know I got in black market. Jake, somehow, she found it out. She did a little bit research of her own. Who knows? A friend of yours might have told her to impress her. We live in a cruel world. Dr. Blake, she was very sick. Everything was going against her. She had coronary heart disease, and a rare blood type, type O like Amanda. Needed a new heart right away. There was no heart that matched her blood type in all 54 states. I thought all hope was lost. Then a good friend of mine, Dr. Nicholson, told me about a man named Undertaker and how he could get us a new heart that would match her blood type if I came up with $2 million in cash. Luckily, I had saving just about $2.5 million. I paid him. Dr. Nicholson and I performed the surgery and saved her life. Jake, okay. That is moving. We can take you downtown and book you for involuntary manslaughter and human organ trafficking, or put info on this Dr. Nicholson character. Where I can reach him? Dr. Blake, he just died 2 days ago in a plane crash in Santiago, Chile. They haven't found his body yet. Jake, sorry to hear that. Then tell me about the Undertaker. When was the last time you contacted him? Dr. Blake, I only saw him one time. He told me to meet him downtown, at train station. On the soundtrack music comes. Jake and Dr. Blake continue to talk without a sound. EXT University of New York Hospital, Jake's car, day. An established shot of the University of New York Hospital. We see doctors and nurses and patient entering and exiting the hospital and walking all direction. We see Jake's car parked across the street. Jake and Mickey can be heard talking off-screen. Jake, off-screen. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I shall die before I wake, I pray my soul to take. Int. Jake's car, day. Jake is behind the wheel, looking at a file. Mickey is in the passenger seat. They are waiting for Dr. Blake while having a philosophical conversation. Jake, there are 3 kinds of people in this world: those who are fighting death, those who play with death, and those who don't know that death exists at all. But death is like charming snake Copra. She wants you to play a flute to her while drumsticks on your hands, an anaconda that lies under the sun just waiting for his cold blood to get warm before it squeezes you. Death is destination for those who close their eyes. But for those who open them, it is the beginning of spiritual journey into the unknown. Mickey, I think it's a war between time and romance. Jake, you could say that. Or death is a war between death itself and mortals. Death has time on its side. It's always the favorite to win the game. Mortals have only the beats of their hearts. They are underdogs. It's like David versus Goliath. However, no sling and stone stand in the way of death but family. Mickey says nothing. He knows he is talking about his daughter. There is a silent moment. Jake then. Jake, do you believe in God? Mickey, God is something that I can never understand. I mean, I don't know if our existence is the manifestation of our soul, or the product of our mind. If you observe things around you at any given day, you'll see that life follows a set of principles. Science talks about evolution and survival of the fittest. Adapt your environment or you will extinct. It is simple as that. Plus, astrophysicists talks about how the universe is expanding, parallel universes, hidden dimensions, the Big Bang Theory, multiverse and quantum theory, how things can be multiple places simultaneously. On the other hand, you hear Bible talking about how God came to earth in the form of flesh and blood as Christ and died for our sin. And if you accept Christ, you will be saved. If you refuse to believe in Son of Man, you will die and burn in hell for eternity. It's a classic antidote of salvation. At the same time, you get up in the morning. You don't know what's real and what's illusion. Your action is determined by fate. Free will can only serve you to speak your mind for the time being. Jake, I feel you. Mickey, think about it. There are 7 billion people live in this planet and infinite particles in the universe. The Bible tells you, you are the second most important existence next to the Creator, God. Regardless of what you do, lie, cheat, steal, the basic principle is save your soul. It is tempting. But some of us refuse to be number 2, talking about parallel universe. Big Bang, space, time, the ultimate fate of the universe. And a motherfucker going out and killing innocent people based on the 10 Commandments, and claims he's God. Could it be the workforces beyond our understanding? Or are we lying to ourselves that nothing really matter? Or perhaps we refuse to let ourselves down for this thin air we inhale and exhale, the dream we dream while we are up, or just felt existence and waked up for real. Damn it, it is my time. Should I play it safe and survive? Or let's go out and kill people, and be remembered forever before we die. Fucking brain. It's better to be a monkey, look for a swallow ass, and just fuck like a rock star. Jake, sex, drugs, rock and roll, is that too much to ask? For one life you get to live, and might never come back. What is the lack? The face beneath the mask? I don't know about you. But me. I just wanna fuck. Sometimes, I ask myself the same question like everybody, all the suffering, death, murder, the blood around me, the heaven and hell I live in. And a voice in my head says, why should you give a fuck? These motherfucker things, violent and crime, have been around since the dawn of time, before human could walk and talk. It'll be here forever. It's a figment of your imagination. Just go out and do your job. At the end of the day, you will be fine. Jake sees Dr. Blake leaving the parking lot with his 2010 Mercedes and driving down the street. Jake, here he comes out. Jake starts his car and follows Dr. Blake's Mercedes. EXT Street, night. An established shot of Jake's car as they follow Dr. Blake's Mercedes. EXT Downtown train station, day. Dr. Blake car comes driving and parks his car at the open lot. Int. Jake's car, day. Jake and Mickey pull their car at a fair distance from Dr. Blake. EXT Downtown train station, day. Dr. Blake exits from his car with a briefcase and walks toward the train station. Jake's car. Jake and Mickey get out of the car and follow Dr. Blake. Int. Downtown train station, day. We see a typical train station commotion, people walking at all directions, sitting, and waiting for their rides, trains arriving and leaving, people entering and exiting from trains and others. Dr. Blake comes up to the ticket office, purchases a ticket, comes up to a payphone and makes a call. Jake and Mickey spot him. Dr. Blake exits the phone booth and walks toward the bathroom. Jake and Mickey follow him, stop and decide to wait for him. On the other end, Sean exits from a train, pushing an ice cooler box on a cart. He moves down the train station. Jake and Mickey look at him. He sees them as well. Sean tries to act normal. But he couldn't help it. He drops the cart on the floor, takes out his gun and fires at them. Jake and Mickey hit the floor. The crowd screams. Sean turns around and runs down the train station. Jake, to Mickey, go get Dr. Blake. I'll go after him. Jake follows Sean. Mickey calls a backup and walks toward the bathroom, drawing his gun. Int. Train station, bathroom, day. Dr. Blake stands at the bathroom sink, holding his briefcase with his left hand and cleaning his right hand. Mickey bursts through the door. Dr. Blake looks at him. Mickey points his gun at him. Mickey, drop the fucking case and get down on your knee. Dr. Blake hesitates. Mickey, now. Dr. Blake slowly follows the order. He drops his case and gets down on his knees. Mickey approaches him. He quickly frisks Dr. Blake for weapons. Mickey finds a handgun. He puts it behind his belt, takes out his handcuff and cuffs Dr. Blake behind. Int. Train station, day. Jake continues to follow Sean. Sean turns around and fires at Jake. Jake hides by a pillar and fires at Sean. Sean dodges the bullet and continues to run down the train station, pushing the crowd that stands in his way. Sean then jumps in the railroad just as a train comes. Jake goes after him. But he has to wait for the train to pass. Jake is losing him. But luckily, the train has spaces between the cars. He keeps eyes on Sean as he runs. The train completely passes. Jake jumps in the railroad and continues to pursue the suspect. Sean turns around and fires at Jake, who is closing on him. Jake hides at a corner and fires at Sean, but he doesn't have a clear shoot. Another train comes between him and the suspect. Sean continues to run, cutting the trains fearlessly. Jake chases him. EXT train station, railroad, day. Sean comes out of the tunnel into daylight and continues to run down the railroad. Jake keeps up with him. On the soundtrack, music plays. Sean turns around and pulls the trigger. The gun dries fire. Jake comes in the air flying and tackles Sean on the ground. He begins to beat hell out of him, one punch after another punch. Sean takes a rock and crashes it on Jake's head. Jake falls on the side. Sean gets up and kicks Jake on the face. Sean, motherfucker. You don't know who you are fucking with. Sean kicks Jake on the stomach. He takes out a knife and kicks him on the chest. As Sean is about to kick him again, Jake grabs his leg and puts him on the ground. Sean takes his knife and daggers it in Jake's arm. Jake gets on top of the suspect and beat him mercilessly while the knife is still stuck in his arm. Jake then gets up, pulls the knife out of his arm. Blood sprouts from his flesh. He throws the knife away and looks at Sean, who is lying unconscious, bleeding. Int. Train station, day. Luke and Jody open the ice cooler box and check what's inside. There are human organs, hearts. In the other end, Mickey hands Dr. Blake to the police officers. The police officers take Dr. Blake away. Mickey then opens Dr. Blake's briefcase and looks at it. We see a load of caches with $100 note. Int. New York PD, interrogation room, day. Standing at the table, Kevin questions Sean, who is sitting at the table. Kevin, where did you get them? Sean, I won't say anything till I speak to my lawyer. Kevin, fuck your lawyer. I want to know where you got those organs. Who did you kill for? Sean, I don't know what you're talking about. Those organs came from China. I don't know who the fuck they killed for to get it. The world is a dangerous place. Kevin, come again. Sean, I am just a middleman who doesn't have a pot to piss. If you are expecting me to talk, you're wasting your time. Kevin, what middleman? Sean, you are behind, man. There are thousands of people who are smuggling human organs from China, Eastern Europe, Latin America, Africa, and third world countries as we speak. EXT New York PD, interrogation room, day. Captain Carter, Mickey, and District Attorney Chris Bradley stand and watch the interrogation through the glass window. Int. New York PD, interrogation room, day. Kevin continues to question Sean. Kevin, exactly what are you saying? Sean, rich people are paying millions of dollars for a poor farmer's heart, or a nomad who doesn't have a pot to piss, except his goats, and his wife and children in the middle of the jungle. If that doesn't ring a bell. They are trained mercenaries who go to village, kill locals, strip their organs like cattle, and ship them to USA. So, it could be donated for patients who can meet the price. It's nothing new. Kevin, are you saying those organs come from China and third world countries by traffickers who kills innocent people for their organs to make profit? Sean, wake up, man. They said, watch out the flood. Money makes the world spin around blood. I don't know why I am telling you this. Int. New York PD, interrogation room 2, day. Jake questions Dr. Blake, who is sitting at the table. Jake, tell me how a respectable doctor like you got into this mess. Dr. Blake, I refuse to say anything till I speak to my lawyer. Jake, mockingly, 6 people died for no apparent reason. Good night, good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow, that I shall say good night till it be morrow. Does your lawyer know anything about Shakespeare? Dr. Blake, you can stop this Romeo and Juliet fairytale. This is not the first time I was questioned by J.I. Joe like you. So, save your breath and give me my phone call. Jake, since this is not the first time you fuck people for their lives, why don't you start by telling me how you got yourself in this organ trafficking business? I won't hold it against you. Dr. Blakes, I am not going to tell you anything without my lawyer's advice. EXT New York PD, interrogation room, day. Captain Carter, DA Chris Bradley, and Mickey continue to watch the interrogation through the glass window. A man named Levi Garcia appears at the hallway with a briefcase. He's Dr. Blake's lawyer. Levi, what's up, Jim? Captain Carter, nothing much. Levi, to Chris, hi. Chris, you couldn't have come at the worst time possible. Levi, where is my client? Captain Carter, he's in the interrogation room. He said he won't speak till he talked to you. Levi, I had better talk to him. Captain Carter, that's a good idea. Levi opens the door. EXT New York PD, interrogation room, day. Levi enters in ease. Jake looks at him. Levi, I'm sorry for interruption. My name is Levi Garcia. I'm Dr. Blake lawyer. He gives Jake his hand to shake. Jake doesn't shake his hand. Jake, just have seat. Levi puts his briefcase on the table and sits next to his client. Levi, to Dr. Blake. I was working on my golf swing. When I heard that you were detained, I dropped everything, got in my car, and drove 120 miles per hour to get here. I almost killed a kid, who was crossing the street with a basketball. Dr. Blake, you shouldn't have bothered coming. Detective Smith has been a good company. Levi, he's giving you hard time, isn't he? Dr. Blake, you have no idea. Jake, to Dr. Blake, on your statement, you said you were at your house on June 14, the date the first murder took place. I talked to Mrs. Blake. She said you weren't at the house between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Where were you? Levi, tell us if he is a suspect or not. So, we can prepare for the worst. Don't waste our time. Jake, no, he's not a suspect yet. We just want him to talk. He might have a good understanding about the man who is responsible to the death of 6 innocent people. Levi, if he's not a suspect, you are wasting my client time. Dr. Blake interrupts his lawyer. Dr. Blake, it's okay. To Jake, I'll tell them everything. Levi, to Dr. Blake, politely, you don't have to say anything. By law, you are protected against the misuse of government authority in a legal procedure with represent of a lawyer. Dr. Blake, I am aware of that. I'll tell them the truth, if that's what it takes to amend the Constitution. I have nothing to hide. Levi, Richard. I know how the system works. They don't care about if you are guilty, or innocent. They are looking for someone to take a fall for these hideous crimes. The prosecutors will bend your word and use it against you. To Jake. If you are going to press charge, give us a court paper. So, we can prepare ahead of time. Otherwise, don't waste my client time. He is a busy man. Pause. Jake knows he doesn't have enough evidence to incriminate Dr. Blake without bringing the evidence that he stole from his computer, which can jeopardize the whole case and his future as a detective. He chooses to wait. But at the same time, he doesn't want Dr. Blake to walk free. Jake, we caught you with $6 million. You were about to purchase human organs. I think we would like to keep you around for involuntary manslaughter and organ trafficking if you don't mind. Levi, so, let it be. Give us the paperwork. You're wasting taxpayers' money. My client was going to use that money to build hospital and medical center clinic in Kenya. He has no aware of that Sean Reed were a wanted criminal. EXT New York PD, interrogation room, day. Chris doesn't like that sound. Chris, I don't like it. We have no evidence. No fingerprint. No motive. You guys only caught him with a briefcase of money. I know Levi. I went against him many times. He'll dance tango with that conviction like Richard Gere in Chicago. Mickey hears his phone vibrating in his pocket. He takes it out and looks at it. A text message from Emily. It reads, "Don't forget the show. I love you, Emily." Jake exits from the interrogation room and joins Chris, Captain Carter, and Mickey. Jake, I'll book him for involuntary manslaughter and human organ trafficking, till I get something. Chris, we don't have enough evidence. Captain Carter, so, what are you saying? Should we just let him walk free? Chris, what choice do we have? You guys make a premature arrest. We'll keep him under 24 hours camera surveillance, wire his phone, and follow every footstep he takes. On the soundtrack, music comes. They continue to talk without a sound. Mickey scans his surroundings. He then dexterously texts Emily, "I will be there, love, Mickey." He does it without being noticed. Mickey turns his eyes and looks at Jake, who is trying to convince the dead to keep Dr. Blake under arrest without succession. Int. Ballet Theater, night. Mickey sits in the middle of the theater and watches Emily, who is performing modern ballet with the force of natures. It's very energetic ballet. We can't tell if it's ballet or regular dance. It is well choreographed ballet and modern dance, a total of 20 performance. Emily is the leading act. She is wearing a sexy outfit, a miniskirt and red blouse, and dancing with Zach, a muscular African man. He is the male leading act. The others, wearing black hooded gown like secret societies, stand on the side. Some of them are holding fire torch. Emily and Zach dance as if they made from each other's heart and soul. The way they move, how synchronized they are, the way he holds her ardently and pushes her on the floor. She gets up and holds him back, and how he tosses her in the air. She spins in the air and comes down the floor gracefully. They dance skin to skin, etc. It's very fervent, sensual, and enthralling performance. Mickey continues to watch her in awe. Int. Ballet Theater, Labby, night. Jake enters with flowers. A theater attendant looks at him. Jake, I'm sorry. I'm late. Jake shows him the ticket. Theater attendant, sorry. We don't admit anyone after the show starts. It's the theater rule. Jake, my daughter is performing. You can bend that rule. Come on. Looks at his name tag, Adam Kidman. Adam, no, I can't. They will fire me. Jake, fuck. Takes out his badge. I'm a cop. I had a long day. I have been chasing bad guys through the train station, just to catch a serial killer. I'm very tired. Now, I want to see my daughter before the show is over. Open that fucking door, gives him the ticket. And show me where my fucking seat is. Adam, I don't know if I can do that. It's late. But let me see. Int. Ballet Theater, night. Mickey continues to watch Emily. Close up, Emily and Zach. Emily and Zach dance in coordination. She comes up to him. He throws her in the air. She lands without missing a step elegantly. Zach approaches her and takes her hand. She spins and curls on his chest. They got lips to lips and acts like they want to kiss. At the entrance. The door opens. Jake and Adam enter. They move the theater. Adam shows Jake where his seat is. Jake thanks Adam, sits, and begins to watch his daughter performing. Adam leaves in the background. Emily and Zach do a sensual move. They stand and kiss. Then on the other end, the dancers, who are standing with and without fire torches, walk toward Emily and Zach gradually like Thriller. Zach tries to protect Emily. He is a good actor too. They circle them in horror, hiding the stars with fire. It is followed by a spectacular move. Emily, who is now wearing a seductive gold see-through miniskirt, and Zach come out the fire as the other who are not holding the fire torch fall in the ground artistically, and those who are holding the fire takes a couple of step back and kneel down. Then those, who are on the ground, creep down the floor gradually and get up and take the fire torch form those who are kneeling down, as Emily and Zach dance flawless ballet. Then those who are holding fire torch stand on the side. And those, who are kneeling down, get up and drop their gowns, 5 young men and 5 attractive girls, revealing their sexy outfit and amazing bodies, and begin to dance an energetic modern ballet alongside Zach and Emily. Mickey continues to watch her in amazement, so does Jake. He is proud of his daughter. She is extremely talented, dances like a butterfly that is electrocuted with the right amount of electricity as if there were no bone in her body. The force of nature displays an amazing performance before they finish with Emily and Zach at the height of the act, body and soul and flesh and spirit and invincible flame lighting on the stage. Camera's POV unidentified man takes the pictures of Emily in the spotlight. The audience gives them a standing ovation. Jake claps with admiration. On the other end, Mickey claps in wonder as well. Int. Theater, backstage, dressing room, night. Standing in front of the mirror, Emily is changing her cloth. Backstage. Mickey walks toward Emily in the middle of the artists who are changing and moving everywhere. Emily looks at him as he walks up to her. Emily, under her breath Mickey. She puts her dress on the table, walks toward him, throws her arms around his neck, and kisses him. Mickey wraps his hands around her waist and kisses her sweetly. Close up, Mickey and Emily. They kiss more intimately. They part their lips. Out of nowhere appears a red rose on Mickey's hand and gives Emily the flower. Emily, how did you do that? She takes the flower. Mickey, it's magic. She smiles softly. Talking between soft kisses. Mickey, you were amazing. Emily, you think so? Mickey, unbelievable. Emily, I thought I was half second behind the choreography. Mickey, it is flawless. They kiss French. At the entrance, Jake stands and looks at them. As if cold air breezes on the side of his neck, Mickey parts his lips, and looks at the direction of the door. Jake is gone. Mickey, I thought I saw something. Emily, what is it? Mickey, I saw your father standing at the door and looking at us. It could have been my imagination. Emily, it's your imagination. He called me and said that he couldn't make it, something with the suspect walking free. She gives him soft kiss. Mickey, I shouldn't be here either. We haven't caught him yet. Emily, you will catch him soon. They exchange soft kisses. Mickey, I wish it was over. I can't wait to spend quality time with you. They kiss more intimately. EXT Theater, night. Jake exits. He throws the flowers in the trash, takes out a cigarette, lights the cigarette and smokes as he crosses the street. Jake comes up to his car, opens the door, and gets behind the wheel. He takes out his hip flask from the glove box. Jake tries to drink from the flask. But it's empty. He throws it away. Jake then turns his eyes and looks at the direction of the theater as he starts his car. Jake waits for a couple of seconds and drives away. Int. Rose Restaurant, night. It is a romantic 5-star restaurant in the heart of Manhattan. Mickey and Emily sit at table with glasses of wine gazing at each other's eyes. Mickey then produces a diamond ring on his hand. Before Mickey proposes to her. Out of nowhere appears Jake at their table. Jake, pardon me. I hope you don't mind me saying this, but the best part of life has passed me by, seeing my daughter sitting at the restaurant with my partner and drinking red wine. Mickey hides the ring. Emily, Dad, I was going to tell you about us. Jake, save your breath, Emily. I'm very disappointed in you. Takes $100 from his pocket, and threw it on the table, just get up. Mickey, it's not her fault. Jake, you shut the fuck up. To Emily. You're going home with me. Emily, Dad. You're embarrassing me. Jake, I'm embarrassing you. You are the one who embarrassed yourself, drinking alcohol with a punk. Emily, Dad. He has nothing to do with it. Jake, to Mickey, do you know there is the criminal law against people who buy alcohol for minors? Mickey, I'm sorry. Jake, save your fucking sorry. I'll deal with you tomorrow, to Emily. Let's go. Emily, I'm not going anywhere. Jake, what do you mean you are not going anywhere? You know I can arrest you and take you to jail for underage drinking. Emily, go ahead and arrest me. Gives him both of her hands contemptuously. I'm not a little girl. I am 17. Mickey gives her a sign to go. Jake looks at him. Jake, it's like that. You need permission from him. To Mickey. Why don't you fucking get up, punk? Let's settle this outside like men. Jake removes the table, the only barrier between him and Mickey, crashing everything into the floor. The customers are shocked. Mickey says nothing. Jake stands in front of him. He's about to kick his ass. The manager runs to the scene. Manager, you guys leave the fucking restaurant now. Jake takes out his badge and throws it at the manager's face. Jake, in between glaring at Mickey, shut the fuck up. It's none of your fucking business. The restaurant will be shut down in the morning for serving alcoholic beverage to minors. Manager, what are you talking about? Jake, she is a minor. I'm her father. I caught her drinking. It's your guys' responsibilities to check an ID before you serve drink for 16 years old girl. Emily, Dad. I am 17. The manager looks at her. He couldn't believe she is 17. She could fool the devil himself. Jake, 17. You are so grown up. To Mickey. What's the legal age for drinking in the state of New York? Mickey doesn't say anything. Jake, I thought you were my partner. I trusted you. Mickey remains silent. Emily comes up to her father and stands between Mickey and Jake. Emily, it's not his fault. I am the one who started everything. I love him, Dad. Jake, don't say you love him. You don't know what the fuck love is. Emily, if you come between him and me, I will never forgive you. Jake, listen to me carefully, Emily. I know you think I am being difficult. But if anything happens to you, I won't ever forgive myself. You are the only thing that ever matters to me in this unpredictable world. He picks up his badge. Emily, it's not fair. We weren't doing anything. It's only a glass of wine, Dad. Jake, come on. Let's go home. We'll talk about it later. Takes her hand, to Mickey, next time, you decide to sit and drink with minors. Make sure she's not my fucking daughter, asshole. Jake drags Emily's hand and walks toward the exit. Mickey sits and looks at them silently. The waiters pick up the table and collect the broken glasses from the floor as the camera does a gradual close-up on Mickey's face. EXT restaurant, night. Jake and Emily exit. They cross the street. Emily, I am not going home. Jake drags her hand. They come to the car. Emily, leave me alone. Frees her hand from his strong grip. You're being inconsiderate. Jake, am I being inconsiderate? I caught you drinking. Emily, it's only a glass of wine. Jake, that's not the point. You're a minor. Nicely. If you want to drink, you can do it at home. Opens the passenger door. Get in. Emily, no. Jake, listen to me, Emily. I am your father. Emily, you have to go back and apologize to him. Jake, why should I do that? Emily, he was going to ask me to marry him before you walked in. I know he loved me. I love him too. If you don't apologize to him, I'll spend the night in the street. Jake doesn't believe what she is telling him. Jake, wait a second. Let me see. First you went out with a man that I work with behind my back and made me look a fool. Second, you wanted me to apologize to him, because he was going to propose to you. Why do I feel like it's the end of the world, Emily? Is it because I am losing my head trying to catch a serial killer, who butchers his victims like the devil? Or it's because the wrath of God is descending upon every inch of my soul, worrying about things that are beyond my control? Or it's because you're my one and only daughter. And it's killing me to see you changing into this witch that I'm always afraid of? Emily got silent. Jake, I guess you don't have the answer. He closes the passenger door. Jake, you can sleep on the street like I care. He walks around the car, opens the driver door. Jake, sweet dream, princess. Jake gets behind the wheel, starts his car, and drives away, leaving Emily on the screen. Emily's eyes fill with tear. She looks at the direction of the camera, at the restaurant. We see Mickey standing across the street and looking at her. He crosses the street and approaches her. Mickey, I'm sorry. She cuddles him and cries on his shoulder. Mickey holds her. Emily, he hates me. Mickey, it's okay. Emily continues to cry on Mickey's shoulder. They then kiss intimately. EXT Jake's house, night. Jake comes driving and parks his car in front of his house. He steps out of the car and walks toward the house, using the stair. Jake opens the door and enters. Int. Jake's house, living room, night. Jake walks up to the bar, grabs a bottle of scotch, opens the top, pours the liquor in a glass, and drinks everything in one shot. He pours another round, takes a shot, and throws the glass against the wall. The glass is scattered into pieces. Jake takes another glass, pours round 3, and drinks everything in one breath. He adds round 4, drinks it in one breath, and slams the glass against the wall. The glass is scattered into pieces. Jake takes the third glass, has round 5, and throws the glass against the wall. Jake looks for more glass. There is none. He drinks from the bottle and throws the bottle against the wall with full force. The bottle gets smashed into pieces. Int. Mickey's convertible, moving, night. Mickey is behind the wheel, driving. Emily is in the passenger seat. They are silent. He then. Mickey, I'll drop you home if it's okay with you. Emily, no, I don't want to go home. There is a silent moment. She knows where he's driving. She is not happy. He then. Mickey, he needs you, Emily. He's your father. She says nothing. They come driving to Jake's house and parks the car across the street. Mickey, I'll see you tomorrow. She unbuckles her seatbelt and comes up to him. Mickey unbuckles his seatbelt as well. They get closer and kiss. Close up, Mickey, and Emily. They kiss more intimately. They part their lips. Emily opens the door and steps out of the car. Mickey, good night. Emily, bye. She walks toward the house. Mickey waits for her. She turns and looks at him. Mickey nods his head. Go ahead. I won't leave till you get inside the house. She turns around and moves toward the house. Emily comes up to the door. The door is open. She turns around and says, I love you to Mickey under her breath. Mickey says I love you too under his breath and gives her a wink. Emily smiles in beauty and enters the house. Mickey starts his car and drives away. Int. Jake's house, living room, night. Emily looks at the glasses that are scattered throughout the living room. Emily then slowly walks down the living room and climbs the staircase. Int. Jake's house, bedroom, night. Jake's behind his computer working on the latest on the 10 Commandments killer while drinking a big mug of coffee. On the screen, we see the last victim's information. Jake writes down something. Emily comes and stands at the door. Jake looks at her and continues to do what he was doing. Emily then walks in, and stands at the mirror looking at her father through the mirror. Emily, reciting Shakespeare Sonata 18. Shall I compare to thee to the summer day? Jake, softly to himself, thou art more lovely and temperate. Emily has heard him enough. Jake stops what he was doing and begins to recite with her, it's their thing. Emily, rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. And summer's lease hath all too short a date. Jake, Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines. And often is his gold complexion dimed. Emily, and every fair from fair sometimes declines. By chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. Jake, but thy eternal summer shall not fade. Nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Emily, nor shall death drag thou wanderest in his shade. When in eternal lines to time thou growest. Jake, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see. So long lives this, and this gives life to thee. She turns around and looks at him. He gives her his hand. She comes and sits on his lap. Jake, I am sorry. Sometimes, I say things I don't mean to say. I'm the biggest loser in the world. Please forgive me. Emily, there is nothing to forgive. You are my father. You have every right to be rational. Jake, I called you a witch. I can never live with that. I'll go out, jump from Empire State Building at this moment, and kill myself if you don't forgive me. Emily, it's not a big deal. Hermione Granger in Harry Potter is a witch. Jake, I know that. But you are more beautiful than Helen of Troy. Nothing compares to you. She smiles in beauty. He kisses her on the cheek. There is a pause. She then. Emily, I know you still think I am that little girl who used to run around the living room with Mo, the golden retriever. But things have changed. I can take care of myself. You shouldn't worry about me. Jake, I can't help it. You know, how did you want me to react seeing you at the restaurant with the man that I work with, and drinking? Emily, it's only a glass of wine, Dad. Jake, it's fine. I am not going to hold it against you. Emily, and it's not Mickey's fault. He has nothing to do with it. Jake, he's a good man. I have nothing but respect for him. Emily, you called him asshole, Jake. Jake, I'll apologize first thing in the morning. Emily, he's the best thing ever happened to me. I don't know if I can live without him. Jake, do you really love him? Emily, more than life itself. Jake, okay. Come on. Let's play chess. If I win, I want you to think about it carefully before you make any decision. You are only 17. But if you win, you can do whatever you want to do with your life. I won't interfere. I'll support your decision 100%. Emily, deal. She gives him her little finger to swear. Jake, deal. He gives her his pink. They make promise. She gets up from his lap. Emily, where is the chess set? Jake, it's in the bottom drawer. Emily opens the drawer, takes out the chess set. Emily, you still have this chess set? Jake closes his laptop and makes the table available for the game. Jake, it's the same chess set that I beat you with. Emily, you had never beaten me. Jake, we drew the last game we played. It's same thing. Emily, is that so? Jake, tell me. What's the odd of me winning a game with a chess prodigy, 1 in a million? He places the table on the open space. Emily, I don't know, I haven't touched a piece almost for 5 years since you and Mom got into that, you know what I mean. Jake says nothing but knows what she means, the separation. Emily places the chess set on the table. Jake grabs his chair and puts it in front of the table. Jake, you can sit here. She sits. He grabs another chair, places it opposite Emily and sits. Jake, you can start with the white piece. I'll play with black. They say always beat on black. Emily, it makes no difference to me. But I know you chose black to throw me off. I always play with black. Jake, I have to use whatever trick it works. Chess is a mind game. On the soundtrack, music comes. She places the white pieces on her side. He puts the black pieces on his side. She makes the first move. Jake makes the next move. We stay with them for a little bit. EXT Villa, day. We see a cluster of uniformed cops, paparazzi, media, and civilians standing around the house and trying to find out what happened inside the house. Jake comes driving and parked the car at the yard. He exits the car and walks through the crowd. He greets the cops who are securing the area and making sure no one pass without authorization, and enters into the house. Int. Villa, living room, day. It's luxurious house. Jake walks through the living room, climbs the staircase that leads up to the bedroom. Int. Villa, bedroom, day. It's a huge bedroom. We see the body of a woman lying naked on the bed with rose petal. She is cut from her private part to her breast. There is a ghost orchid on her mouth. The suspect pierced her right cheeks and placed the orchid through her mouth. On her chest, "You shall not commit adultery" is written in Hebrew. Toby photographs the body. The forensic Luke and Jody collect evidence. Mickey is there looking for more evidence. Jake enters. He walks up to Kevin who is writing report. Jake, who is she? Kevin, Rachel Morris. An actress. She was recently on the cover of tabloids after she admitted having an affair with her co-star Ted Pierce and ending a 7-year marriage with actor Matt Morris. Jake, was she alone? Kevin, she was with Mr. Pierce. He said the suspect drugged him with lethal injection. When he came out of it, he found her like this. Jake, where is he? Kevin, he is at the library across the main bedroom. Feds are questioning him. Jake steps out the man bedroom and looks at them through the glass window. Agent McCarthy and Agent Larry White are questioning actor Ted Pierce at the glass library across the main bedroom. Jake returns to the main bedroom, comes to Rachel Morris's body, and looks at the word that's written on her chest. Jake, to Jody, what's that saying, on her chest? Jody, first in Hebrew, and translated it to English, you shall not commit adultery. Jake glances at Mickey and says nothing. On the soundtrack music comes, the forensic team continues to collect evidence. Agent McCarthy and Agent White return to the bedroom and have words with Jake. Mickey looks at the orchid in her mouth and takes a note. EXT Orchid Shop, Day. Mickey comes driving and parks his car in front of the store. He gets out of his car and walks up to the shop. Int. Orchid Shop, Day. It's a huge orchid shop. Mickey enters. He looks at the camera surveillance. He comes up to the front desk and talks to the manager without a sound. Int. New York PD. Jake's desk, night. Jake is at his desk, standing and looking at the photo of the latest crime. On the chalkboard. 1. You shall have no other god before me. X. 2. You shall not make for yourself an idol. X. 3. Don't take the Lord's name in vain. X. 4. Remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. X. 5. Honor your father and mother. X. 6. You shall not murder. X. 7. You shall not commit adultery. X. 8. You shall not steal. 9. Don't bear false witness against your neighbor. 10. Don't covet. Captain Carter walks up to Jake's desk with 9 Israeli lira coins in the plastic bag. Captain Carter, the coroner found these coins, the Israeli lira coins, inside her stomach. No single fingerprint was found. Puts the coins in front of Jake. Surprisingly, none of her organ is removed. And no Bible code. We're running on empty on this one. Jake, what about Dr. Blake? Where was he? Captain Carter, the last crime ruled him out from the suspect list. He was at his home under 24-hour surveillance. He couldn't sink out and kill her under our noses. It's impossible. Jake, anything is possible. Captain Carter, Dr. Blake didn't do it. But if you still need his phone recorded. Here, puts it on his table. He called a doctor named Eric Nicholson 131 times over the span of 2 months. We checked his name. He died 4 days ago from a plane crash accident in Santiago, Chile. Captain Carter hears his phone ringing at his office. Captain Carter, God damn it. That phone has been ringing non-stop since this actress died. I will be with you. Captain Carter walks to his office. Jake sits behind his desk and looks at the phone record. He then types Dr. Eric Nicholson on the search engine. The computer lists the records of Dr. Eric Nicholson. Jake clicks Dr. Eric Nicholson, Doctors Hospital Baptist Health, New York. The picture of Dr. Eric Nicholson comes. In the bottom, it reads born August 1969, died July 14, 2017. Jake, fuck. Jake sends it to the print machine. He gets up and walks around his desk, and grabs the copy from the print machine. Jake reads a line too. He then turns his eyes and looks at the chalkboard, you shall not steal. It flashes in his eyes. Jake, softly to himself, you shall not steal. Jake looks at the 9 Israeli lira coins. He puts the copy of Dr. Nicholson record in his pocket and searches for Mickey. Jake, where is Mickey? At the far end of the police station, we see Mickey standing at Officer Sarah Miller's desk and looking at a video surveillance that he got it from the flower store. Sarah, what are you exactly looking for? Mickey, ghost orchid. A rare flower. They continue to look. A man named George Schneider walks up to Mickey with credit card result. George, the first one Charles Young 3248, St. Louis Street. Brooklyn, New York, the second one is Edward Brown. 4123 Washington Avenue, Queens, New York. The third one is Nathan Turner. 1200 Sunset Street, Manhattan. They are all here. Mickey takes the credit card information. Mickey, thanks, George. I owe you one. George, think nothing of it. George walks away. Mickey turns his focus back to the surveillance. He then sees a man wearing a hat and a hooded sweatshirt and approaching the cashier with the same orchid flowers that we saw in Rachel's mouth. Mickey, pause it right there. She freezes the video. It seems the man is aware of the surveillance camera above. His face is covered with a hat. It's hard to identify him. However, Mickey only needs to see the flower on the suspect's hand. Mickey, the ghost orchid. That's him. Sarah looks at him. Nothing registers in her eyes. Sarah, it's hard to see his face. Jake appears behind Mickey and Sarah. Jake, Mickey. Mickey turns around and looks at Jake. Jake, put a theory behind these coins. They got them in last victim's stomach. They say they are the Israeli lira coins. Next is thou shalt not steal. Mickey looks a little bit intimidated, the daughter incident. Jake gives Mickey the coins. Mickey takes the coins and holds them in confusion before he turns his focus on the surveillance. Jake, looks at the surveillance. What is that? Mickey, we got the suspect on the camera. Jake, how? Mickey, the last victim, Mrs. Morris, the orchid that was in her mouth. There are only 3 places that cultivate and sell that type of orchids in the 50 states. 1 is Rare Flowers House in Los Angeles. 2 is Florida Flowers Shop in Miami, Florida. And 3rd is Orchid Store here in New York City. Jake looks at the video. It's hard to ID the suspect's face. Jake, can you rewind it? Sarah rewinds it and plays the video again. On the computer screen, We see the suspect walking toward the cashier with the orchid flower. When he's about to be in view, he looks down. The cashier rings the item. He pays her with a credit card and walks away. Jake, do they have other camera surveillance? Mickey, this is the only one they got. Jake, Sarah rewind it again. She rewinds it. On the screen, we see the same rerun. Jake, pause it right there. Sarah freezes the video. Jake knows there is nothing on the camera. No clear face. Jake, what's in his hat? Mickey, it's New York Knicks logo. Jake, what about his sweatshirts, what's logo saying, zoom it? Sarah does a close-up on the sweatshirt. Jake reads it. Jake, Doctor's Hospital, Baptist Health New York. Jake quickly takes out the copy of Dr. Nicholson information that he prints, and looks at it. Jake, Doctor's Hospital, Baptist Health New York. I'll be damned. I have to run to the doctor's hospital and see Dr. Nicholson faked his death. To Mickey. Make sure you do something about the coins, and see where it leads. Jake turns around and walks toward the exit. Mickey looks at the coins for 1 second. He puts it on the table. Mickey, to Sarah, can you rewind it one more time? She rewinds it and plays the video again. Mickey watches carefully. He then. Mickey, pause it right there. Sarah clicks pause. Mickey sees something. Mickey, what's that down by his neck? Sarah, under her breath, it's a tattoo. She does a close-up. It's a tattoo. But it's hard to tell what exactly the tattoo is. Mickey, it looks like a beetle, ladybird. I'll go talk to these 3 men, and see what they are up to, kisses her on the cheek. Thanks. Sarah smiles in beauty. Sarah, good luck. Mickey walks toward the direction of the camera. Int. Mickey's car, moving, day. Mickey is behind the wheel driving. He looks at the names in the list, takes out his cell phone, and texts Jake the names. Charles Young. 3248, St. Louis Street. Brooklyn, New York. Edward Brown. 4123, Washington Avenue, Queens, New York. Nathan Turner. 1200, Sunset Street, Manhattan. Orchid suspects. Int. Doctor's Hospital, hallway, day. We see doctors and nurse moving both direction. Jake walks down the hallway, comes up to the elevator, presses a button. The elevator doors open. 2 nurses and a doctor exit from the elevator. Elevate. Jake enters. He presses floor 12. The elevator moves upward. Jake looks at his cell phone and reads the text message that Mickey sent him. The elevator doors then open at floor 12. Jake exits. Int. Doctor's Hospital, floor 12, circulation desks, day. Jake walks up to the front desk where a nurse named Jessica White is sitting. Jake, Detective Smith. Shows her his badge. Do you know by any chance where I could find Dr. Nicholson? Jessica, I'm sorry. He recently died in a plane crash. Jake, sorry to hear that. Which one is his office? Jessica, the one in the middle. It's closed. Jake, do you happen to have the key by any chance? Jessica, under her breath, I don't know, let me see. Jessica opens the drawer, looks for the key through the office equipment. She finds a card. She gives him the card. Jessica, just swipe it and see if it works. Jake takes the card. Jake, thanks. I'll just look for evidence if the cause of his death is murder. Jake comes up to Dr. Nicholson's office, swipes the card in a key reader, opens the door, and enters quietly. Int. Doctor's Hospital, Dr. Nicholson office, day. Jake comes up to Dr. Nicholson's desk, sits behind the computer, turns on the computer, takes out a CD from his pocket, inserts it in the hard drive and downloads all Dr. Nicholson's file. On the soundtrack, music plays melodiously. Montage. Mickey comes up to Charles Young's house and knocks the door. Mr. Young opens the door and asks Mickey what he is looking for, without a sound. Mickey shows him his badge. Mr. Young lets him in. Mickey enters, looks around the house, and asks Mr. Young a couple of questions. Mr. Young answers without a sound. Doctor's Hospitals, Jake exits from Dr. Nicholson's office. He charms Jessica, returns the card, says bye, and walks to the elevator. He presses a button. The elevator door opens. Jake enters. The elevator door closes behind Jake. Mickey comes up to the second suspect Edward Brown's house, and knocks the door. Mrs. Brown opens the door. Mickey shows her his badge. She lets him in. He looks around the house and sees the orchid in the vase. He asks her a few questions. She answers without a sound. Jake is behind the wheel driving in the street of New York and talking on the phone. Christina Sushi, Jake comes driving and parks his car next to the restaurant. He gets out of the car, and walks to the restaurant. At the sushi bar, Robert sits in a booth, enjoying spider roll and sashimi. Jake walks down the restaurant and sits in front of Robert. They talk without a sound. Jake gives him the CD. Robert takes the disc, eats his last sushi, tells Jake to take care of the bill, gets up, and walks away. The waitress comes to Jake and asks him if he wants anything. He orders sushi and a cup of green tea. She takes his orders and walks away. EXT Nathan Turner's house, dusk. It's an exclusive house built next to a custom-made swamp. Mickey's car, Mickey sits behind his car looking at Nathan Turner's house. A man comes out of the house, walks toward the storage room, opens the door, and enters. Mickey takes out his gun, makes sure the gun is loaded, opens his car door, gets out of the car, and walks toward the storage room. Int. Nathan Turner's house, storage room, dusk. Mickey enters, drawing his gun. He sees all kinds of medical equipment that the suspects used to kill all those people. Mickey knows he's at the right place. He then sees a young man, William Green, lying on the table naked, his both arms and legs are removed. He is still alive amazingly. Panic hits Mickey like a bucket of cold water. Then out of nowhere comes the suspect and hits Mickey in the side of his head with a baseball bat. Mickey falls unconscious. The suspect drops the bat, drags Mickey's feet down the storage room. EXT Nathan Turner's house, storage room, dusk. The suspect exits the storage room dragging Mickey's feet and takes him down to the swamp where there is an alligator. The suspect then searches Mickey's pocket, takes his wallet, looks at his New York PD badge, credit cards, and the picture of Emily. He removed the picture of Emily, puts it on his pocket, and throws away the wallet. The suspect then takes out big knife, stabs Mickey's 4 different part of his body dexterously without killing him, till he's drenched with blood. He kicks his body into the swamp. The alligator smells Mickey's blood and enters into the water. The suspect looks at the alligator swimming toward the body. He knows he did his job. He turns around, walks toward his home. The alligator circles Mickey's body. We don't know what the alligator is waiting for. Int. Blues bar, night. Jake sits at a table with a glass of scotch. On the soundtrack, smooth jazz plays. Jake looks at his watch. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. We see handful of people enjoying their outings. On the stage, a girl named Olivia sings blues. It is the same song that is playing on the soundtrack. Then, at the entrance, Robert walks in with a file. Jake looks at him. He holds up his drink. Robert comes up to the table. He sits in front of Jake and pushes the file, Dr. Nicholson record, his email address and password. They talk without a sound for a bit. Robert then gets up and walks away, leaving Jake on top of the screen. Jake finishes his drink, gets up, takes out $40 from his wallet, places the money on the table, and walks toward the exit, at the direction of the camera. Int. Jake's car, moving, night. Jake is behind the wheel, driving in the street of New York City. He takes out his phone and calls Mickey. He is not answering. Jake looks at his watch. It's past 4 o'clock in the morning. It's late, he thought Mickey might be sleeping. Int. Jake's house, living room, night. Jake enters from the outside, closes the door, walks up to the staircase, and climbs the stairs. Hallway, Emily's bedroom. Jake comes up to his daughter room. Emily's room. Jake opens the door, stands at the entrance, and looks at his daughter. She is sleeping in beauty. Jake watches her for a few seconds and closes the door. Jake's room. Jake enters, comes up to his desk, sits on the chair, turns on his laptop, places the CD, and begins to work on Dr. Nicholson's record. He applies the password that Robert gave him and accesses Dr. Nicholson's email address and looks for any information that can lead to the suspect. Int. Hotel, suit, day. We see William Green lying naked inside painted pentacle, lit with candles at each corner. His both arms are cut off and attached to his leg. His legs are cut and attached to his arms, his eyes are removed and replaced with coins. Thou shalt not steal is written across his chest. Kevin and homicide from New York Police Department and forensic Luke and Jody collect evidence. Dr. Grant is present. Toby takes photos of the body. At the door, Jake enters and comes to the crime scene. Jake, to Kevin, what you got? Kevin, reads his report. William Billy Green. He's a pro. But he makes it a habit of getting caught. He's been convicted 6 times. His first offense was armed robbery, when he was just 13 in Virginia. Jake, what was it? Kevin, a restaurant in Richmond. He walked to the restaurant with a shotgun, shoots the manager, robbed the place, and walked out. The police got the description. They came to his house and took him away. It was his first offense. He served 4 years at Juvenile Detention Center. He didn't get arrested again until he was 22 for robbing a commercial bank in D.C. He escaped from maximum security prison. Then it's on and on. Jake looks at the victims, turns his eyes to Jody and Luke who are collecting fingerprint and hair sample. Jake, where is Mickey? Luke, I haven't seen him. On the soundtrack, music plays melodiously. Jake continues to examine the body. Then at the door, Agent Raymond McCarthy and Captain Carter walk in. They approach Jake and talk to him without a sound. EXT Barnes & Noble, bookstore, Starbucks coffee shop, day. Emily, who is wearing red shirt and Daisy Duck jeans, sits at the terrace with her legs folded across Indian style, enjoying Starbucks coffee and reading The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest by Stieg Larsson. She's waiting for Mickey. She checks her watch, turns her eyes, and looks at the direction of the camera, at the entrance. At the door, 2 sweethearts enter. They come up to the open table, sit and begin to kiss intimately. Emily's heart fills with delight. It's her nature. She is always fascinated by human chemistry. However, now she feels a little bit jealous, because she is alone. Mickey is not answering her calls. Emily turns her eyes and looks at a man who is checking her out while pretending to be reading a book. She catches his eyes, quickly turns her eyes away from the man, and resumes reading. Close up, the man. He's cutting picture and applying glue to a picture. It's the picture of Emily that we saw at Mickey's wallet. It's our suspect. We don't see his face. He has the whole portfolio of Emily photos that he took them throughout the movie. He flips one page after another looking at the photos of Emily. The man then arrives the last page. We see the picture of Jesus Christ on the cross. The suspect places each piece in the place of Christ dexterously, so she looks crucified. He looks at her. Close up, Emily. She puts down her book, unfolds her legs, grabs her coffee, takes a sip, puts it down, and goes back to reading. Int. New York PD, Jake's desk, day. Jake is behind his computer, looking at Dr. Nicholson's email file. He sees a familiar name, Nathan Turner, that Mickey sent him. He clicks the name and reads the email. It's confidential letter between patient and client. Jake writes Nathan Turner on the search engine. A list of Nathan Turner comes on the screen. Jake then clicks Nathan Turner on the Facebook and sees a list of Nathan Turner on the screen. He clicks the first one. The photo of a young man about 32 appears on the account in U.S. Marines uniform. Jake clicks the album and goes through the photos. We see the picture of Nathan with his Marine bodies. We then see intimate photos of Nathan and Amanda Parker, they are lovers. Jake clicks a button and looks at more pictures. He then sees a familiar face, the picture of Dylan Jones and Nathan Turner and other U.S. Marines. Jake then gets up, grabs a file, looks at the list of witnesses that he has questioned, and finds Dylan Jones's name. Jake grabs the phone. Jake, to the operator. Hi Betty. It's Jake. See what you can find on Dylan Jones. D-Y-L-A-N Jones. Int. New York PD, Jake's desk/operator room, day. Betty puts him on hold. Jake types Dylan Jones on the search engine. A list of Dylan Jones comes on the list. Jake clicks Dylan Jones that has to do with U.S. Marine crop. The picture of Dylan Jones in a U.S. Marine uniform appears on the screen. It reads born in Boston, Massachusetts on September 23, 1974. Graduated in 1999 with a degree from Naval Operational Medicine Institute. Betty, there is no record on Dylan Jones. Mickey, do you have his address? Pause. Waiting. Then. Betty, 1929 Georgia Avenue, Manhattan, New York. Jake writes it down. Jake, what about Nathan Turner? See if he has a record. Jake waits. Then. Betty, Mr. Turner was arrested back 2002 for first-degree assault and second-degree sex offense. But the charges got dropped. Jake, thanks. Jake sends Dylan Jones information to the printers, gets up, puts on his jacket, checks his pocket for his car key. It's not in his pocket. He removes files and finds it on the table. Jake picks up his key, comes up to the printer, grabs the copy, and walks toward the direction of the camera. On the soundtrack, music comes. Int. Jake's car, moving, day. Jake is behind the wheel driving. He dials Mickey. He is not answering. Jake seems a little bit concerned. Maybe something happened to him, or could he be with his daughter? He thought about calling his daughter but changes his mind. He thinks Mickey is professional. He won't leave work and hang out with Emily even though she is an angel of God. They are so close to catch the suspect. EXT Nathan Turner's house, day. Jake comes driving and park his car in front of the house. He gets out of the car and comes up to the door. It is open. Jake takes out his gun, opens the door wider and enters, drawing his gun. Int. Nathan Turner's house, living room, day. Jake comes up to the living room and finds Amanda Parker. She is lying naked inside a painted pentacle, lit with candles at each corner. Her eyes are removed, her mouth is cut to ear in a leering smile like the Black Dahlia. On her chest, "Don't bear a false witness against your neighbor," is written in Hebrew. Jake checks her pulse if she is alive. She's still alive. Jake gets up and calls 911. Jake says something without a sound. He then hangs up the phone and walks toward the exit. EXT Nathan Turner's house, day. Jake exits and looks around the neighborhood. Int. Nathan Turner's house, day. Jake enters back. He comes up to the crime scene and checks Amanda if she is still alive. She is gone. Jake gets up and looks around the house. Int. Nathan Turner's house, day. Kevin and Homicide from New York Police Department and Forensics Luke and Jody collect evidence. Dr. Grant is present. Toby takes photos of the body. Jake have words with Captain Carter. He then turns his eyes and sees the book, Leo Tolstoy's Anna Karenina, that Dylan Jones was reading to Amanda at the hospital. Jake excuses the captain and walks toward the exit. EXT Nathan Turner's house, day. Jake exits the house, walks to his automobile, opens the door, gets behind the wheel, starts the car, and drives away. EXT Dylan Jones's house, day. It's exclusive house. Jake comes driving and park his car in front of Dylan's house. He gets out of the car, walks up to the entrance, and rings the bell. Int. Dylan Jones's house, day. Dylan comes up to the door rolling his wheelchair and opens the door, revealing Jake. Jake, good afternoon. Dylan, good afternoon. Jake, can I come in? Dylan, please. Dylan opens the door. Jake enters. Dylan closes the door. Dylan, what is it? Jake, I came to ask you few questions regarding to Amanda Parker. How long have you known her? Dylan, I have known her for a while. I met her at the University of New York. Why did you ask? Jake, I found her dead at her house. Dylan, I'm sorry to hear that. Dylan seems he's deeply touched. There's silent moment. Jake then. Jake, do you know a man named Nathan Turner by any chance? Dylan seems tranquil. There is no sign of panic. Dylan, yes, I know him. We were in the same platoon. I got shot in Iraq by a sniper and became parallelized from waist down. A year later, he and a team of Marines ran into a landmine in Afghanistan. 5 died and he survived. But the mine severed his spinal cord. He was told he can't walk. But Dr. Eric Nicholson at the doctor's hospitals treated both him and me. His injury was an error on spinal cord stimulator. He was able to walk at no time. But I was told I have to wait for my turn. It's not first comes first serve basis. I'll be back. Let me see where I kept my phone book. I'll give you his work address. You can talk to him. Dylan wheels down his chair to the kitchen. Jake sees the ladybird beetle tattoo on his neck. But nothing registers in his brain. Jake looks around the living room. We see all kinds of artistic and religious paintings throughout the house. Then, out of nowhere comes Dylan with a poisonous syringe behind Jake. He is not paralyzed. He has been faking it all this time. As soon as Jake turns around, Dylan stabs him in the neck. Jake takes out his gun, but he is too weak to pull the trigger. The drag hits his nerve system like a snake bite. The world spins around his eyes. He collapses and hits the floor. Int. Church, night. We are in the church. There is candlelight everywhere. Emily is tied on a wood with Rob. She's naked and badly scourged. There's barbed wire around her head, deep into her forehead skin. All her nails are removed, fingers and toes. Dylan, who is wearing a black hooded gown, is in the middle of torturing her with a whip, flagrum, that has lead balls and sheep bones tied into leather thongs like the Passion of Christ. We see a cross and vicious nails on the floor. Jake lies unconscious down the floor with his mouth covered with duct tape. But not for long, he comes out of it and looks at his daughter. Jake tries to get up. But his hands are chained to the chair at the front row. Beside he's too weak to do anything. The drug has gotten the best of him. Dylan, God created the universe over a series of 6 days, resting on the 7th day. On the first day God says, let there be light, a big bang, the universe appears. Dylan scourges her. Emily screams as her skin peels from her flesh, blood splatters everywhere. Jake tries to unchain himself and save his daughter. But there is nothing he can do about it. Dylan, let's assume time is illusion. You know, all those light years can be explained by divine incantation, and come to the 2nd day. On the 2nd day, God creates an expanse firmament to separate the waters above from those below, the cloud and the oceans. He hits her more. Emily screams. Jake tries to get up and stops Dylan. But he can't. Dylan, on the 3rd day, God commands the waters below to recede and make dry land appear, and fills the earth with vegetation. You know, all those carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids, and RNA, and DNA, the fundamental chemical blocks of life. Dylan hits her more. Emily cries. Dylan, God then puts lights in the sky to separate day from night to mark the seasons, a bright orange ball that consisted of mostly hydrogen and helium. Dylan hits her harder till her blood splatters on his face. Emily screams. Dylan in between hitting her. On the 5th day, God creates sea creatures and birds of every kind and commands them to procreate. On the 6th day, God creates land creatures of every kind. He basically watched life evolve from one form to another form, till man and woman formed in his image. God gave them dominion and cared over all before he decided to rest on the 7th day. Dylan stops hitting her. Emily is inches away from passing out. Dylan, I know what you're thinking. God works in the mysterious way. He then unties Emily. She falls on the floor. Dylan, then what happens? Satan and his angels rebelled against God in heaven. God and his angels fought Satan, who had exalted himself as a deity. Brings Emily to the cross. God by his almighty power overcome the strength of Satan, defeat Lucifer and his angels and cast them down to hell. Lies her on the cross. Does God really exist? Is he the ultimate good? Devil and fallen angels will be eventually saved. Pause, takes a big nail. I know you think I am psychopathic. Once Bertrand Russell said 3 passions have governed my life. The longings for love, the search for knowledge, and unbearable pity for the suffering of humankind. Love brings ecstasy and relieves loneliness. In the union of love I have seen, in a mystic miniature, the prefiguring vision of the heavens that saints and poets have imagined. With equal passion I have sought knowledge. I have wished to understand the hearts of people. I have wished to know why the stars shine. Love and knowledge led upwards to the heavens. But always pity brought me back to earth. I long to alleviate the evil, but I cannot. And I too suffer. Places the nail on her wrist, grabs the hammer and hits the nail into the wood through her wrist. Pow! 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 Emily screams in pain. It's easy to hate than to love. Love takes everything you got. 1 Corinthians 13:4. Love is patient, love is kind. Takes another nail, places it on her other wrist. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud. It is not rude. Hits the nail though her wrist into the wood. Pow. Emily screams in agony. It is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered. Pow. It keeps no record of wrongs. Pow. Pow. Love does not delight in evil but rejoices with the truth. Takes a big nail, holds her feet together, places the nail on her foot and hammer it into the wood, through her feet. Pow. 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 Emily screams in excruciating pain. It always protects. Pow. Always trusts, always hopes. Pow. Always preserves. Pow. At least that's what they tell you. Dylan comes up to her lips and kisses her passionately. He then grabs a remote control and presses a button. The cross gets up from the floor, lifts Emily, and hangs her in the air. It's like the Passion of Christ. The only difference is Emily is female, all her toe and fingernails are removed. He placed barbed wire around her head instead of crown of thorns. The cross is on the air instead of standing on the ground. Dylan takes out a match and light the candles. There must be hundreds of them. Dylan, in between lighting the candles, I know you think I am the devil. But if you think about the concept of good and evil. Take Charles Manson and Ted Bundy, and all the serial killers versus the world-leading scientists who believe life came out of nothing. Close up, Emily. She's still alive. We see blood pouring out of her wrists and feet and falling on the floor. She's drenched in blood, head to toe. She doesn't look like the Emily we have watched throughout the movie. She looks more like a martyr saint. Jake looks at his daughter with a dagger in his soul. He tries to free his hands so he can get her down from the cross. Dylan, they sit at their houses, read books about matter and antimatter, learn how to split atom, build atomic bombs, drop it in Hiroshima and kill millions of innocent people. You look at both incidents. You think it's the end of the world as we know it. But evil has conscience. Charles Manson and Ted Bundy and most serial killers don't know what the fuck they are doing. They are like kids playing with toys. But the men, who built atomic bombs and dropped them in Japan, knew the weapons that they designed have the potential to kill every single living thing, and start life from the scratch. Emily is going through a lot of pain, crying as her life hangs on the cross. Jake can't bear it. Seeing his daughter in pain, a tear comes out of his eye, and falls on the side of his face. Dylan, in spite of millions who have died from natural disaster, floods, earthquake and others, is it good versus evil? God versus Satan? Light versus darkness? Heaven and hell? Chaos and order, creation vs evolution and survival of the fittest, you know? Like the Nazi when they placed the Jews in the concentration camps, when they burned them in the gas chambers, they didn't really think all Jews are responsible for the crucifixion of Christ who died for our sin, but what is the most intriguing part is the conscience behind their action. You see, the Jews have been interbreeding within their ethnic background and producing offspring that look like the Three Stooges. God takes the form of the devil. The devil takes the form of Nazi and decided to shake things around, which led to the Jews to be scattered into every corner of the earth and breed with the rest of the world. Even though they are chosen people by God, they still have to follow the rule of life. Dylan then takes off his gown and stands naked. Dylan, as ironic as it sounds, I am 0.25 of Jewish who came from the long line of Ashkenazi Jews who left France during the Second World War and migrated to the US. My great-grandmother, not a die-hard Jewish, she converted to Christian after she married my grandfather, but that's as far as it goes. My convection to the Jewish or the Ten Commandments, or if I am a straight descendant of Abraham, or whether I am related to Christ through the messianic bloodline of Jesus and Mary Magdalene or not. In fact, none of those things matter. The law of universe, natural selection, the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. There are out there to blind us from the truth, our precious existence, the rise of consciousness. It's not how you bow or glorify the gods that brings eternal salvation to your soul, but it's how you distinguish yourself from the rest of the prophets. Buddha, Muhammad, Jesus Christ, Moses, Isaac Newton, Confucius, Albert Einstein, and others, and how you stand above God the Creator. Dylan comes up to Jake and removes the tape from his mouth. Dylan, do you believe if I tell that I am the Messiah, the one who will fulfill the prophecy, the first, second, and the last coming of Christ, the mystical aura of the universe? Jake says nothing. Dylan turns around, takes a spear from the table and looks at Emily on the cross. Dylan, I know it must be hard to see your daughter on the cross. But I am sorry she will have to die. She must pay for my sin. I coveted her beyond anything else in creation. Jake collects all his strengths, lifts the whole row of chairs from the ground and frees himself. It's one of those moments like the mother who lifts a car and rescues her trapped child. We have no explanation. Jake charges toward Dylan in fury. Dylan puts down the spear and takes the gun that happens to be on the table and shoots Jake 3 times. One bullet hits him on the chest, the second bullet hits him in the neck, and the last one hits him in kneecap. Jake falls on the ground, bleeding. There is a silent moment. Dylan then. Dylan, how did that happen? I am amazed by your strength. I thought for a second it was one of those divine intervention things. You know, when God comes out of heaven and make the impossible happen. But he forgot about this gun. Or maybe it's one of those moments like the mother who lifts a car off and rescues her trapped child. You see, we are wired with a self-preservation switch. When we see danger, the brain shuts off the self-preservation switch. So, we can strap up all the strength in our muscles and lift an astonishing weight. Picks up the spear. Anyway, I want you to watch when I stab her heart with this spear of destiny, and drink her blood. She will be the part of me forever. When Dylan is about to stab her heart, the church door opens. It's Mickey. He's alive. Mickey enters with his gun. As soon as Dylan turns, Mickey fires and shoots Dylan in the chest 6 times. Dylan falls at chapel. Yet as he goes down, he fires a couple of wild shots. One bullet catches Jake in the chest. Another bullet hits a gas lamp. The lamp falls on the candlelight and sets the garment on fire. Mickey then quickly rushes to Jake and Emily. He doesn't know if he should take time and help Jake, who is bleeding like a sheep that is beaten by a wild wolf, or go to Emily. Every cell in his heart tells him, get that girl down from the cross and save her life at all costs. He takes his shirt off, puts the shirt on Jake's neck and stops the bleeding. Jake doesn't look like he's going to last another minute. Jake points at his daughter. Jake, nothing but blood comes out of his mouth, get her down. Mickey runs to Emily to save her life, but doesn't know how to get her down. He turns his eyes and sees the remote control. He takes the remote control and presses it. It doesn't work. He then grabs the hammer that Dylan used to nail her. He pushes the table toward Emily, and gets on top of the table. Mickey checks her pulse to see if she's alive. She is alive. Mickey then removes the nail from the wood. She dangles down. He quickly holds her, takes out his belt, and ties her arm back on the cross, so she wouldn't fall. He slowly pulls the nail from her wrist and throws it away. Mickey gets down from the table, takes the rope from Dylan's gown, and gets back to Emily as the church continues to burn. Mickey ties the other arm on the cross, removes the second nail from the wood. He slowly pulls out the nail off her wrist, and throws it away. Mickey gets down from the table. He turns his eyes and looks over Jake. Jake is not breathing. Mickey collects his composure, turns to Emily, removes the nail from her feet and throws the nail away. Rivers of blood pour out of her feet. Mickey gets back on top of the table. He slowly removes one of the ropes, his belt, from her arm. She dangles in the air. He holds her. Mickey removes the other rope and carries her down carefully as the church continues to burn down. Mickey checks her pulse again to make sure if she's alive. She's not breathing. He gives her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, CPR. The church is about to go down in flame. There are tears in Mickey's eyes. 2 pair of tears escapes from his eye and fall by his cheeks. Mickey wipes them away with his hand, gets up, and comes up to the table. He removes the tablecloth, covers Emily's naked body, lifts her, and carries her toward the exit as the church continues to burn down. EXT Church, night. Mickey exits, carrying Emily. He comes up to a safe ground and places her on the grass. He continues to give her mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Miraculously, she shows a sign of life, open her eyes and take a deep breath. Mickey kisses her on the lips, gets up, and runs back to the church. Int. Church, night. Mickey enters. The church is on fire. He comes up to Jake, picks him up, carries him on his shoulder, and moves toward the exit as the church goes down in flame. EXT Church, night. Mickey exits carrying Jake, comes up to the safe ground, and puts him next to his daughter who is lying on the grass unconscious. Mickey comes up to Emily, rips the piece of the tablecloth, and begins to tie around her wounds. In the background, we see the church burning down to the ground. Mickey holds Emily's next to his heart to keep her warm. We hear firefighters' alarm and see orange and blue and red light from the distance. Mickey looks at Jake, who is lying on the grass dead, then turns his attention to Emily, looks at her. She is sleeping in beauty. Mickey kisses her on the temple as tears fill his eyes. EXT Cemetery, day. It's the funeral of Jake. It's a sad day. Jake's casket lies under an American flag at the gravesite. Many police officials and politicians come to pay respect. His ex-wife Kate is present. Lisa is present as well. Mickey is in his police uniform. A corps of riflemen raises their rifles and fire again and again. Mickey's eyes are filled with tears. He closes his eyes. A tear falls on the side of his cheek. He wipes it away with his hand. EXT University of New York Hospital, day. Emily lies in hospital bed, sleeping. Her wrists and fingers are wrapped with bandages. Mickey enters the room with the American flag, comes up to the bed, and puts down the flag next to the bed. Mickey looks at her eyes for a long second. He tenderly caresses her cheek with his first 2 fingers. Mickey then bends over and kisses her on the forehead. Emily opens her eyes and looks at Mickey. Emily softly, Mickey. His heart fills with joy, just hearing her voice. Mickey, under his breath, what's it, love? Emily, where is my father? Mickey doesn't say anything. Emily knows that her father is dead. She sees it in Mickey's eyes and begins to cry. Mickey, I'm sorry. She turns her eyes and looks at the American flag that's lying next to her bed. She remembers what her father has told her: if he dies, he wishes she had the flag that's on his coffin. She collects every straighten she has in her muscle, reaches her hand and takes the flag. Mickey helps her. She holds the flag close to her heart firmly and continues to cry. Mickey gives her his hand. She takes his hand. Mickey kisses her on the forehead. She wraps her arms around his neck. They kiss. Mickey then part his lips. Out of nowhere, he produces a diamond ring. Mickey, will you marry me? Emily, yes. He tries to place the rings on her finger but her hand is wrapped around with medical dressing. He then takes out his cross necklace, removes the cross from the necklace. He places the ring on the necklace and puts it around her neck. They kiss more intimately. At the door, Emily's mother Kate stands and watches everything with her sparkling eyes. Mickey turns his eyes, and looks over Kate. Mickey, hi. Mrs. Smith. Kate, you can call me, Kate. Mickey, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I should. She interrupts him. Kate, you don't have to apologize. I had never seen her so happy. She told me you are her life. Mickey says nothing. Kate walks up to her daughter. Kate, everything will be all right. She sits on the edge of the bed. Kate, I am proud of you. She kisses her on the forehead. Kate looks at the American flag that Emily is holding. Kate, I am sorry. I thought I was going to lose you. That's why I did say anything. Emily, it's not fair. Kate, under her breath, I'm sorry. Kate kisses Emily on the temple. Kate, I'll be back. Let me go get the nurse. Kate gets up from the bed and turns to Mickey as she walks toward the exit. Kate, keep your eye on her. Will you? Mickey, softly, I will. Mrs. Smith. Kate, you can me, Kate. Mickey, softly, okay, Kate. Kate gives him a beautiful smile and exits. Mickey comes up to Emily. He looks at her eyes for a bit. Mickey, I'll never let anything happen to you again. She gives him her hand. He takes her hand and kisses her on the lips. They kiss. Emily, I love you. Mickey, I love you too. They kiss more intimately. EXT Wedding Chapel, Day. It's a small beautiful wedding chapel. Mickey, who is wearing a black tuxedo, and Emily, who is wearing a breathtaking wedding gown, stand in front of a minister. We see about 50 guests and family members. Captain Carter is present, so does Jody and Kevin. Mickey takes the ring from Luke, who is his best man. Minister, we are gathered here in the presence of these witnesses to join this man and this woman together in matrimony. The contract is a most solemn one and not to be entered into lightly, but thoughtfully and seriously with deep realization of its obligations and responsibilities. Join right hands. Mickey and Emily join right hands. On the soundtrack, music plays melodiously. Mickey and Emily do their vow. We stay with them for a bit and cut to the end. Mickey places the ring on Emily's finger. Close up, Mickey and Emily. They kiss. EXT Wedding Chapel, reception, later. Mickey and Emily dance in the middle of the crowd. Kate dances with Luke. Close up, Mickey and Emily. They kiss French. They then part their lips and continue to dance. We stay with them for a bit. EXT/int. Mickey's convertible, street, sunset. Mickey is behind the wheel. Emily is in the passenger seat. They are driving in the middle of nowhere. Emily turns her eyes and looks at Mickey, who is lost in thought. Yet Mickey catches her eyes. She gives him a beautiful smile. He places his hand around her shoulder, gets her closer and kisses her on the lips. They kiss. She rests her head on his chest. Mickey cuddles her as he continues to drive with one hand. The end.